In the world of AlphaGuard, the Demon Lord was on a roll, conquering everything, but now he's just bored out of his mind. Then, boom, he spots a squad of angels heading his way. He's stoked, never thought the big guy upstairs would step in personally. Michael, the Seraphim, is all. We can't let you run the show anymore. And then, it's on. Epic battle time. For 3 days and nights, he goes solo against all the angels. In the end, he's the last one standing, totally beat up but still kicking. Feeling a bit worn out, he spots Ishtar, the demon army captain. She gives an angel a face kick while the MC's like, why the betrayal now? Turns out she couldn't rebel before, but now she's eyeing heaven and earth. He cracks up at this nonsense, wondering if she really thinks she can take him down. The traitor's shocked he's still acting tough and orders all demons to attack him. Another fight kicks off, but this time he's not strong enough. Even though he dishes out some serious damage, his fate's sealed. Now, we see this dude's got skills, pulling off a self-reincarnation move. He lands in Tokyo, where dungeons are popping up, you know the drill. A Cyclops is causing chaos, smashing war tanks. Before it can harm a kid, our guy swoops in to save the day. With one punch, he makes the creature's split personality show up. He plays it cool, and turns out he's an S-rank hunter. Skipping the boring stuff, everyone knows about dungeons and hunters. Let's get to the juicy bits. A kid's watching TV, thinking about the hunter era. He's bummed because being a hunter's all about genetics. If your dad's cool, you're cool. But if he's a dud, well, you get it. And apparently, the kid's dad's a dud who comes home and roughs him up. After a rough night, not the fun kind, the kid's phone starts glowing weirdly. Under a tree, a boy's defending his buddy from bullies. The orphanage's goal is to send talented kids to hunter's school, and soon, a girl takes her test. Later, Yuzuki starts protecting the young boy, making him feel lame for needing her help. Yuzuki, dubbed a genius from day one, gets sent to hunter school super early. Knowing this, she tells the boy she can't protect him anymore, saying the weak have their own way of fighting and to live smart. Then, she walks away, leaving Hiroto feeling weak, but he knows she meant well. Still, her words cut deep. Time passes, and a group is in a beginner hunter training dungeon, a must-do for future hunter school students. Hiroto's in that group. With a healer and a support mage, two veterans force the newbies to agree on their reward terms. Hiroto thinks those two are as annoying as ever, but someone yells for them to hold up, saying rewards should be based on merit, not just handed out. Before the boy can keep arguing, he gets a gut punch. They start beating him, asking how he can be so cocky, acting like he's better. Suddenly, Hiroto tells them to stop, but he freezes, remembering Yuzuki's advice to live wisely. Then, he starts thinking he's really pathetic. The man keeps kicking him while his buddy tries to stop him, saying if the boy's useless, no one can crack the treasure. The young guy says he'll handle the boy once they're out of the dungeon. Then, the group moves deeper into the cave, not realizing they're being watched, until a bunch of goblins jump out of the shadows, charging at them. The veterans whip out their swords and take down the goblins. One dude's totally losing it, yelling at the mage to speed up his magic game. Mage grabs his staff, ready to back them up. Meanwhile, the two young guys are busy taking down goblins. Then, most of the crew jumps in to help out, except for Hiroto and his buddy, who know they'd just be in the way. As mentioned before, there's a big gap in how fast people level up. Eventually, the squad wipes out all the goblins. The guys start griping at the mage, saying he was too slow and asking if he wants his reward cut again. Hiroto walks up to this kid, giving props for standing up to those two, and the kid says in a situation like that, he had no choice. He adds that everyone was risking their necks, even if it was a newbie dungeon, and it's not fair to hog the reward. The kid also mentions he needs cash. Hiroto's curious about that, and the kid spills that he wants to start a non-profit hunter guild because the current one ignores the poor. Then he asks Hiroto if he knows how many lives could be saved with dungeon potions, because these potions have some wild healing powers and work on some untreatable diseases. The kid says he heard the potion costs a fortune. He reveals that it could have helped his big sis, but he couldn't snag one because he was broke, making him think the potion doesn't reach those who really need it. Hiroto says the kid's pretty awesome, just as he thought, and asks for his name. The kid introduces himself as Akira Tachibana. With that, the two boys introduce themselves. Soon after, a veteran spots a treasure chest in the goblin's nest and asks Akira to unlock it. The kid gets pumped to finally have his moment to shine. Then the young guys try to rush him, but he tells them to chill, because if the trap goes off, he's the one in danger. The veterans turn away, cursing the kid. Nearby, the mage says there shouldn't be deadly traps in a beginner's dungeon. While Akira's focused on the chest, the others are chilling. Hiroto thinks the place is safe, since no one's ever died there. Suddenly, a spine-tingling scream echoes. Looking ahead, they see Akira, who probably triggered the trap and got skewered by spears. Then, the ground starts cracking, and a massive hole opens up, swallowing everyone. Hiroto wakes up, wondering if that was a trap. Then he sees Akira, already lifeless in front of him, leaving him shaken, as it's the first dead body he's ever seen, and he realizes the others will see him as weak, making him terrified of reliving that awful experience. After a bit, they get up. The healer freaks out seeing Akira dead and bolts in fear, leaving her veteran fuming at her cowardly move, and he hits the mage. His buddy's also ticked off and tells them to quit the drama. Then he says the kid was just a dumb thief who died alone, and asks if there are any more issues. Scared of him, the young guys stay quiet. Another guy says they only lost a treasure chest, and claims the group's attack power is unchanged. Then they decide to head back to where they were. One young guy asks if Hiroto's got the rope, and he says he'll grab it as soon as possible, and the kid does, but he can't focus because of his dead buddy. After leaving, the mage cries, saying the dungeon was for beginners and no one should have died. The healer suggests it might be a dungeon paradox. A veteran asks if she means when the dungeon's difficulty suddenly gets weird. The girl says she heard rumors it happens every few years. Right after, the guys laugh, relieved the kid was the one who got picked off since he didn't affect their fighting power. Hiroto, though, feels uneasy about them mocking his buddy. Still, he starts worrying about the theory of a dungeon paradox. Then the group keeps moving, and the healer suddenly stops. The kid's curious about what's up, and the girl says she felt something underfoot. Suddenly, the ground starts shaking, and a paw emerges in front of them, until a pack of wolves charges at the group. The veterans are totally freaked out, knowing they can't handle those beasts. Those creatures? Silver wolves, rank D difficulty. Yikes. One dude's all, these wolves shouldn't even be here, man. The mage is like, and there shouldn't be a trap summoning monsters in a newbie dungeon. The crew's panicking, knowing they can't outrun those shiny fangs. What's going down is a full-on dungeon paradox, no cap. As the name hints, a wild chain of attacks is coming for the hunters. The long-haired dude's like, what do we do now, bro? And his buddy gives Hiroto a psycho stare. No chill. Thanks to training, the kids learn about monsters in the beginner's dungeon. And silver fangs, they target the weakest link, brutal. The guys start cracking up, saying they'd bail, except Hiroto. The chubby one tells the boy to run the other way, LOL. Scared, the kid's like, are you for real right now? The dude tells the mage to zap the boy, using him as bait, but it won't work if he runs with them. Hearing that, the mage is sweating bullets, and Hiroto's still scared, asking if he'd really do it. Tears in his eyes, the kid's like, sorry, my bad. Hiroto asks the healer to help him convince the others this ain't funny. The girl agrees with them, saying she doesn't want to die. Mood. The boy's like, we'd survive better as a squad, duh. And his two pals start bawling, saying sorry. Hiroto's like, what are they even saying? Then they zoom past him, leaving him in the dust. Seeing them ditch him, the boy's like, do they really think apologizing makes it okay? Hiroto starts running from the wolves, thinking this world is so not it, where the weak get wrecked. And that includes Yuzuki too. Then, the wolves catch up to the boy, making him scream in pain from all the bites. The boy's like, am I really gonna die here? He wishes he wasn't someone who needs saving anymore, but someone who can protect too. The kid's frustrated he can't do anything yet, making him want to be strong even more. Nearby, his phone starts glowing all weird. The wolf pack notices and, for some reason, bails, leaving Hiroto hurt on the ground. A message pops up on his phone, saying a strong power wish was detected, and access to Hiroto's soul is complete. Then, the phone glows super bright. Along with the boy's body, Hiroto's panel shows up, and his life bar, which was at 0, fills up again. Also, he gets a new ability, Lit. After a bit, the boy wakes up totally healed, and his clothes are shredded. Apparently, his new power brought him back to life. The boy's shook he's still alive, and curious how all his wounds vanished. Then, he grabs his phone, realizing it's all he has. The boy sees Demon Lord application on his screen and wonders what that's about. Hiroto's confused because he doesn't remember downloading it. Then, he spots the blood on his clothes, reminding him of the nightmare he just survived. Those memories make him feel queasy. The boy's like, I can't even with what just happened. But being alone means he was ditched, and it wasn't a dream. While grabbing his boot that came off during the attack, Hiroto decides his top priority is to survive and bounce from there. The kid starts creeping through the cave, hiding behind columns. Doesn't take long before he finds a bunch of KO'd goblins. The boy figures his ditching pals did this, but one goblin's still kicking, and it jumps on him, biting his neck. Ouch. They hit the ground, and the goblins got him by the neck, while the creature gives him a nasty glare. Then, the monster starts wailing on him. Goblins are weak, but Hiroto's getting wrecked by a one-armed one, making him realize he's still below even this weakling. Then, the goblin lands a hit on his eye, but his power kicks in again. After a certain time, unconditional and limited effects are granted within a time frame. The goblin gears up to attack the kid again. But before anything happens, the boy's eye starts glowing like a disco ball, and in seconds, he's all healed up, like magic. The monster's totally shook by this. Then, it charges at the human again, but Hiroto's ready, and he lands a punch right in its eye. The creature backs off, writhing in pain like it just stubbed its toe. The boy seizes the moment, grabs a rock, and smacks it in the face. A panel pops up, saying the boy took down the monster, and that the goblin variant got absorbed by the demon lord's body through the app. With that, the info panel about the boy updates, leveling up all his skills, including his health bar. Hiroto's like, whoa, what's going on? Meanwhile, the group that ditched him is running away, and one of the vets gets checked out by the same app as Hiroto. The protagonist is shocked to see the young man's stats, getting even more confused about what's up with this game. Then, the young man senses something lurking in the shadows, and wonders how he knows that. Soon after, Hiroto closes his eyes, feeling the presence of a nearby monster, and the boy thinks about those rumors that thieves can sense danger. Then, the protagonist stands up with a rock and throws it, drawing the monster's attention to where it landed. Turning around, the creature sees the boy charging at it and smacking it with another rock. The pig starts squealing in pain. Hiroto takes the chance and keeps hitting the creature. The boy thinks his ambush worked, but it wasn't a total win. Since it's clear, orcs are tougher than goblins. Goblins are rank F, orcs are level E, and those wolves were rank D. Knowing this, the boy gets that even though his ambush worked, victory wasn't a sure thing. Then, Hiroto figures if he used that rock with his current strength, it wouldn't hurt the monster, and decides to attack from a smart spot. After a bit, the protagonist finally takes down the orc. That green panel shows up again, saying a special bonus was given to all stats. With that, Hiroto levels up from 2 to 3, boosting his stats to 7. The boy's still puzzled about what's going on. While checking the panel, he notices his strength is a bit higher than the other stats. Then, the protagonist picks up that rock again. His hands start shaking with power, and in seconds, the rock shatters. The boy's jaw drops, seeing his strength level up. Hiroto wonders if this is trainee-level strength from Adventurer School, and finds it weird since he's got low aptitude. Seeing that panel, the boy questions if it's real. Some bats on the ceiling start getting hit, and the one attacking is the protagonist. Thinking about how he learned a lot from that mysterious message window, the boy gets that defeating creatures activates the Demon Lord's ability. Then, Hiroto takes down another orc with ease, as goblins and orcs are muscle types, giving bonus strength stats. The bonus from bats is for agility. Mana comes from defeating skeletons, and constitution from taking out a golem. Then, the boy opens his panel again, now at level 4, with most stats between 10 and 9. Even knowing he's leveling up fast, he didn't expect to jump 2 levels at once. The boy decides to head back to the dungeon and try to reach its deepest part, but he finds out he can't go there without permission. The young man's bummed because he wanted to take down the Silver Fang there. A window pops up, saying he has a new mission starting 10 seconds after conquering the beginner dungeon. Hiroto's like, what's happening? The panel disappears. A noise echoes in the cave, and when he looks back, the boy sees that pack of wolves. The beasts don't waste time and charge at the boy. The protagonist grins, thinking this isn't just a dungeon-level fight anymore. Hiroto checks his agility stats and realizes he's not in danger yet. The wolves start surrounding the boy, who stays super alert, trusting his sixth sense. One of the animals attacks, but the protagonist dodges it easily. Seeing that, Hiroto gets hyped, realizing he's getting super strong. Thanks to his evolution, the kid can now keep up with the speed of the Silver Fangs. Right after, he charges at one of the wolves and lands a solid kick. But, surprise, that wolf's acting like it just got a tickle. Hiroto figures out he's gonna need a weapon to do any real damage. Next thing, the wolves circle him again. The kid's super annoyed with this whole situation. He swings at one of the wolves, but it dodges like a ninja. Then, bam, the wolf knocks him to the ground. The other wolves see their chance and start piling on him. And just like that, our hero gets taken out again. But then, his special ability kicks in. His life bar goes back to full, no biggie, because the Demon Lord's life force got transferred to him. One of the hands a wolf was munching on starts glowing, and so do the other parts of his body. In no time, the kid's back to full health. Hiroto opens his eyes and realizes he's floating. But Gravity's like, nope, and he hits the ground, and acts like he's not surrounded by a pack of hungry wolves. The wolves charge at him again. His ability kicks in, bringing some serious pain tolerance. His body parts start glowing again. And, once more, Hiroto's back in action. But he's still facing the wolves, feeling kinda stuck. While getting attacked, he thinks about how having a body that won't die is a real headache. Like, for someone who's always getting hurt, dying would be a relief, but for immortals, that relief never comes. So, immortality is the ultimate bummer, and now he's living that nightmare. The kid keeps getting knocked down, but his ability keeps bringing him back. After another resurrection, he realizes his pain doesn't change a thing, no matter what they do. Hiroto hits the ground and punches a wolf in the face, but he knows it's pointless without a weapon, so he decides he needs something sharp. He remembers Akira's body, and that's why he came back here. He bolts towards it, and pulls out a sword stuck in it. A wolf tries to sneak up on him, but he spins around and counters it. Hiroto grins, seeing his move worked. With one wolf down, he decides to take on the rest, because it's time to wrap up this messy fight. In an interview, a guy says to level up as a hunter, you gotta hunt solo first, then take down a high-level monster. Then he asks his buddy what she thinks about a newbie taking out 100 silver fangs, because that would be epic. Back in the cave, Hiroto wipes out all the wolves, and lets out a scream that echoes everywhere. His special ability kicks in, leveling him up, and he even scores a Giant Slayer title. After that, he levels up overall, boosting his stats. The kid's left, scratching his head, not getting any of it. He decides to check out his new title, which adds 5% HP at each level. Hiroto thinks if that's true, it's a sweet bonus to snag in no time. But he gets all thoughtful, unsure if he can trust that window. Then he spots a bell symbol on his panel and hits it. A new panel pops up, asking if he wants to tackle a higher-ranked dungeon with tougher monsters from other dimensions. He's shocked, since he hasn't even hit the deepest part yet. He remembers the beginner dungeon's deep part was linked to another dungeon before. He looks at the wolves he took down, amazed at how much stronger he's gotten, and that he even snagged the Demon Lord effect. But it's still a higher-ranked dungeon, with tougher beasts. And even though he can't die, he still feels pain, making him wish to avoid that mess again. Hiroto turns to leave, but hears someone calling him. He instantly thinks of his old buddy. He asks the panel how much time he has left with this ability, and it shows he's got 32 days left. Then Hiroto starts calling himself a dummy, because he's been living like a total slacker this whole time. In frustration, he starts hurting himself, while wondering if he could really keep living this way. Then, that glow pops up again and his wounds magically heal. The main dude takes a deep breath and says anyone who doesn't step up won't have a future. Right after, the boy yells he's down to try that higher-level dungeon, and then that glow surrounds him again, zapping him away. Meanwhile, in a house, two old-timers are having a blast. One mentions he's seen loads of dungeon mishaps. His buddy says it's still wild, since it was a death in a newbie dungeon. Suddenly, everyone in the crew cracks up. One guy points out it hasn't happened in a decade. The chubby dude stops laughing and says it's a bummer. His buddy hands him a drink, saying even the strong get shook seeing someone they know bite the dust. The man takes the drink, telling him not to be dumb. Then he mentions an inspector from the hunter school will watch their mock battle next week. The boy says that kids should join their squad, and the chubby guy says he'll make him his rival later. Then they laugh while the man moans about not being the best, not noticing the app open on one of the phones. Hiroto's clothes are shredded, clueless about how many times he's died. A wolf jumps from the shadows, chomping his arm. But in seconds, the beast is toast, and his wounds are healed. With that takedown, the boy's skills level up. It didn't take long for him to hit the deepest room of the high-level dungeon and face a giant bug. And, as expected, he had more run-ins with death and revival. But eventually, he took down that beast. A panel pops up, saying it was searching for the ultimate way to power up the player. Now he's at level 15, with all his stats over 20. Then, the boy returns from the dungeon to his world, realizing he surpassed a student hunter's level without noticing. In the real world, the chubby guy asks his buddy if he's heard the news, and he says he already knows about Hiroto. They laugh because he made it back alive from that mess. Soon after, they realize their public mock battle is safe, as the boy won't join their squad. Someone walks in, asking if they haven't heard yet. The guys are puzzled about what he's on about, and the young dude says there's a new rule that you can only try the mock battle once, leaving them shocked. Hiroto's sitting on his room floor, thinking about losing his memories after the high-level dungeon and how people found him passed out in front of the orphanage. He starts thinking it was all a dream, the easiest way to deal with it. Then, he grabs his phone and opens that app, thinking there are only two possible answers after coming this far. Looking at his stats, he wonders if his head's messed up, or if it was all real. Then, someone knocks on his door, and he goes to answer it, finding that skinny senior who wants a chat. They meet in a warehouse, and the man says what he wanted, waiting for him to invite him to be his rival in the mock battle. By reflex, the boy shakes his hand. The man says the young dude can't do any more mock battles that day. Then, he grips the boy's hand tight. With a threatening look, he says he'll make him remember that pain. But Hiroto feels nothing, leaving the senior baffled, wondering if the kid's faking it, as he used a lot of force. The main dude knows it's his pain tolerance skill. Right after, he lets go of the man's hand, thinking about how he feared him last time, but knows compared to the wolves, this guy's tiny. Then, Hiroto starts to grin, which ticks off the man, who charges at him. But before anything happens, the young dude's instincts kick in, making him see everything in slow-mo. With that, Hiroto dodges the hit super easily and counters with a punch to his opponent. After getting smacked, the dude's all, "What just went down?" Hiroto's like, "Whoa, did I just do that?" While the guy's wondering who this kid is, Hiroto's thinking, this dude ain't weak, he's just super strong, and he's curious about how much stronger he needs to get. Then the guy gets up, super mad, grabs Hiroto, and demands to know what just happened because there's no way someone like Hiroto could have landed a punch on him. He says he'll let it slide if Hiroto spills the beans on his secret move, and adds that Hiroto's too weak to pull off something like that. Hearing this, Hiroto's ticked off because he could totally make this guy pay for past stuff, but he decides to chill because he doesn't want to be like him. Hiroto tells them to cut the drama. The guy's all, "Hey, you hit me first. Why you acting all innocent?" Hiroto grabs the guy's arm, putting some muscle into it, saying stopping is the best for both of them. The skinny dude lets go, and Hiroto starts to leave, but the guy's like, "Hold up." Hiroto says he won't mess with him anymore, and expects the same in return. Then Hiroto bounces out of the warehouse, leaving the guy alone, who starts raging, kicking stuff. Back in his room, Hiroto decides to draw his own blood because they all gotta give blood to check their health and hunter status. Later, he hands his sample to the doc, saying sorry for being late. As he's leaving, he realizes something. If they check his samples, they might notice his power-up. Hiroto starts feeling uneasy about it. Meanwhile, the guys with his crew getting all worked up, saying Hiroto must have pulled some trick because there's no way he could have hit him otherwise. His buddy tells him to chill out. The long-haired dude wonders if it was some rare dungeon loot, but the guy reminds him it was a beginner's dungeon. Nothing fancy there. Hearing this, the skinny dude's even more curious about how Hiroto got out of that mess. The other guy says they need to teach a lesson to anyone who underestimates them, and the guy who got smacked asks if he's trying to steal his revenge. The annoyed chubby dude grabs his buddy's shirt, saying they're having this dumb convo because he wants to handle it solo. Then he mentions there's a body check before the mock battle, so Hiroto can't pull any tricks there. The guy says the kid's not their enemy, but his buddy's still bummed. After that, the chubby dude tells his pal not to worry, because after the mock battle, they can take him down again. With creepy looks, everyone thinks the real fun's about to kick off. In a lab, a scientist checking those blood samples. Suddenly, something on his screen freaks him out, and it's Hiroto's file. Another scientist like, "What's up?" and comes over. The guy shows her Hiroto, who hasn't even started hunter school but is already high level. The woman is amazed by this kid. Seeing his boosted stats, the scientist wonders if this is what happens when people hit the dungeon paradox. Then, the guy is curious about how to report this to the higher-ups, because Hiroto was just level 1, and now he's level 15. But the woman says there's no need to report it since it happened before school, so they're not obligated to tell the country. Her colleague's still skeptical. The woman explains that the dungeon paradox is where weird stuff goes down. She mentions Hiroto's got an F-rank aptitude, meaning he won't grow much, and walks off, asking to skip the boring paperwork. The scientist's still puzzled. The woman says the world's changed since monsters showed up, and now, everything's getting harder to figure out. She adds that dungeons and hunters are the same. In a cafeteria, a bunch of people watch Hiroto chow down on a massive plate of food. The kid rolls up to the cook, asking for seconds, and she's all, "Why not just take the whole pot, dude?" Someone's like, "Whoa, this kid can eat." Then, out of nowhere, this stunning lady shows up, asking to sit with him. Hiroto's like, "Never seen you around here. Who are you?" She's all chill, saying she's a top instructor at the hunter school. She's curious if any promising kids showed up in the battle today, and jokes about her face being forgettable. But the older sis remembers her. Then it clicks for the main dude. She's the one who chatted up his buddy during the battle. She mentions there are tons of schools, and if she doesn't act fast, someone might get snatched by another place. She's seen the kid every year, but this time, something's different about him. The boy just stays quiet. Then he shuts his eyes, saying it's not a big deal. The lady brings up the dungeon accident and how some survivors get cool powers. She asks if they can chat for a bit. She's all, "My gut feelings are never wrong." Hiroto's thinking she's from his buddy's school. The boy's like, "Sure, we can chat, just don't mind my skills." When she finds out he's low level, she's like, "Oops, my bad." The kid's all, "No worries, that's normal." But then she's like, "Being low ranked is tough, huh?" She hands him her card, saying to hit her up if anything goes down. She's got his back. The main dude's thinking there are two types of people, those who rob you and those who help, and he figures she's like his friend Yuzuki. Later, at the city's hunter arena, Hiroto's thinking about rumors of the military testing weapons there. The walls are made of special dungeon stuff, perfect for battles. He heads over to where everyone's at and bumps into those veteran guys again. That lady's there too, watching the action. In the arena, a big dude walks up to Hiroto, ready to start the battle. With a smirk, he's like, "I'm going all out, you're not leaving here alive." Then he jokes, "Back in the day, Yuzuki would have saved you, but she's not around anymore." He's all, "If you die, you'll be the second in our group to go." With a sneer, he hopes Hiroto meets Akira. Hiroto's ticked, seeing this guy trash talk his friend, and asks if he can fight without holding back too. The judge kicks off the fight. The big guy's like, "I'm gonna show off for the crowd, boost my career." Suddenly, he drops his weapon. The main dude's confused, wondering what's up. With a grin, the big guy's like, "Taking you out with a sword's too easy. I'm using magic. He brags about being a rare magic fighter. Hiroto realizes the guy was hiding his power in the dungeon and didn't help him. So, the kid decides to use magic too. The big guy laughs, asking what weak magic Hiroto's got. Hiroto powers up, boosting his mana. He creates this epic energy sphere. The crowd's blown away, some even freak out, because no one else can do that. The big guy's frozen, thinking Hiroto's bluffing. Then he throws a fireball at the kid. But Hiroto fires back, his attack swallowing the other's whole. Luckily, the big guy ducks, and the blast goes past, causing a massive explosion behind him. The crowd's going nuts after that epic power move. Meanwhile, this lady's on her feet, all impressed, wondering if that was some next-level magic. She then compares the dude to Yuzuki. She bounces, saying this year's got another top-tier rookie. Time flies, and the boy's chilling in bed, totally blanking on what went down after he used that power. That day, he made up his mind to hit up the same school as Yuzuki. The dude also got his advance payment straight into his account. Then, our hero dozes off, and gets whisked away to his subconscious. There, he bumps into a chained-up person. Hiroto's all, who even is this? Next thing, the boy wakes up, freaked out by his phone, because it says there's still 36 hours till the demon event kicks off. Suddenly, the app's glitching out, and the boy's shaking his phone, thinking it's busted. But instead of fixing it, the text gets even more scrambled. Hiroto's like, forget it, and tosses his phone aside, and wonders if it was some kind of event. Then, he jumps up, convinced the app's made him stronger, and decides he's ready to face anything if it means leveling up. On his phone, a message pops up, warning him to ditch the demon's request as soon as possible, or else it's organ contract time. Out of nowhere, a portal shows up on the screen, and inside, someone's watching with a grin. Then, the portal shuts, and another weird message pops up. The boy checks his phone and sees the words have changed again. Monsters in dungeons gotta be defeated regularly, or they'll break out, and cause what's known as a stampede. But there's still a ton about dungeons that's a mystery. And that city, for example, is tangled up with creatures for some unknown reason. In the car, the hero's like, isn't this the city where the total eclipse tragedy went down? The driver chuckles, saying what happened 10 years ago was a mess, but now it's under control. But the government ditched that area. Hiroto asks if that means only monsters get to live there. The driver says the only ones living there are the undead, along with folks like the boy who are into the hunter school. Then, the boy asks if all the undead weren't humans before everything. The driver explains that when the mana flow hit, it was so intense the dead started rising. Then, a zombie steps in front of the car and gets run over. The hero's shocked to see that. The boy says there's a lot the government could try, but they just bailed on the whole city. Then, he mentions if they don't take out the dungeon monsters, a bigger disaster could hit. Finally, they roll up to the dungeon portal. The driver lights a cig and says the boy can claim he's got veteran status, but there's still a level gap, as he thought. Then, the driver calls the boy a weakling with an F aptitude, and tells him not to get his hopes up about the hunter school. Then, Hiroto hops out and grabs the driver through the window. Desperate, the boy's like, I'm just a regular dude who hates violence. But the driver keeps getting pulled. Then, the hero yanks the driver out of the car. Suddenly, a massive monster stomps on the car, but the boy manages to leap away with his buddy. That thing's a Wendigo with a B-level subjugation difficulty. The two start booking it out of there. They hide behind a building, and the boy sneaks a peek at the chaos. Seeing the creature stomping on the car, the driver suggests they chill there for a bit, cause students gotta be back from the dungeon by 4, and mentions there's someone in that dungeon group called the Witch of the Burning Flame. Hiroto's like, is that Yuzuki? Then, the boy asks if the students can handle something like that. The young man replies that there are loads of people stronger than veteran level at a top school. Then, he says he doesn't know why these monsters are roaming here, but they'll be fine if they wait it out. The boy decides to clear something up and asks if the weapon in the guy's holster is real, and the guy says regular weapons are useless against those things. Hiroto whips out a dagger, saying if the dude's not going to use his weapon, he might as well hand it over. The driver wonders if the kid's actually planning to take on that beast. Hiroto's all, gotta fight, man. Then, the Wendigo starts sniffing around for them. The kid's like, guess we can't chill for 5 minutes? Huh. After a bit, the creature keeps wandering. The guy's like, are you nuts? That thing's a catastrophe-level monster. Regular weapons won't cut it. But the kid just grins, asking for the weapon. The young dude's like, you even know how to use that? These monsters have some kind of barrier on them, and people with skills have the same barrier. That's why only hunters can break through. Then, the kid asks for the weapon again. Before the guy can say anything, he feels the Wendigo's icy breath getting closer. The kid's like, hurry up, dude. Even doubting it, the driver hands over the weapon, asking what the plan is. Hiroto's like, I'll be the bait. Then, the kid asks if he knows the monster's tricks, and the driver admits he's clueless, just a student caretaker. The kid explains those things are probably sensitive to weapon sounds or explosions. Then, the kid figures if he hits the creature's white spot, he might do some damage. which means these things know humans have dangerous weapons. Then, the monsters start closing in. The young dude's like, "I'll shoot," grab their attention. And the driver admires the kid's guts, but doubts it'll work, because the kid's stats don't seem up for 2 monsters at once. Then, the guy grabs the kid, telling him to bail and leave him, since it's clear whose life matters more. Hearing that, Hiroto's like, "If I run, you're toast." The kid's tired of people sacrificing for him. Then, he bolts, shooting the weapon, drawing attention. And the monsters spot the human. The creatures try to hit the kid, but he dodges with mad agility. The kid turns a corner, the Wendigo hot on his heels, but it loses sight of him. Then, Hiroto pops up above, dagger ready. And he grins, first monster down. In a crystal cave, someone calls for Yuzuki. A kid's hyping up the girl's fire magic. The group's mage gets jelly, asking what they thought of her skills. They praise her too, but say Yuzuki's on another level. Someone tells the girl with her they could hit the dungeon's deepest part, asking if she's in. With a smile, she says yes, as long as they hustle. The mage is like, "Y'all don't get it, because no one's ever conquered that dungeon solo." Yuzuki admits there's a talent gap, but with hard work, they can do it. Hearing that, the mage is annoyed, saying she's full of herself for having an S-rank skill, and it must be nice getting strong with no sweat. The healer's like, "You don't know Yuzuki's the hardest worker in school? People even call her the witch who doesn't sleep, because she trains early and studies late." Hearing that, the witch is speechless. The kid asks why she's grinding so hard. Yuzuki's quiet at first, then spills she was bullied in the orphanage, and someone had her back. The healer's surprised anyone could scare her. Then, Yuzuki says during a test, she found out she had skills, and the boy who helped her was F-class. She was stoked he helped her, so she decided to protect others. The mage smiles, saying it's brave for a guy to save a girl from bullies, and asks why she doesn't team up with him. Yuzuki says everyone there has talent and can achieve stuff if they work hard, but it's impossible for him. Right after, the girl strolls up to the portal and boom, she's totally shocked by what's on the other side. Her squad tags along and spots that driver being chased by a bunch of Wendigos. Nearby, the main dude just KO'd one of those beasts with a headshot. Another monster shows up and charges at him, but he's got mad agility skills and dodges it like a pro. Then, he slides under the Wendigo, ninja style, and climbs right onto its head. He whips out his weapon and fires at the beast. But, plot twist, nothing happens. The creature grabs him and he's like, seriously. He's bummed because the weapon only made the monster bleed a bit. Right after, he breaks free and finally gets why hunters are a big deal. Hiroto then takes down another Wendigo. But, oh no, more show up. Meanwhile, Yuzuki's roasting those creatures with her fire powers. Her buddy's like, something seriously messed up here. The girl reaches the driver, asking where the bait boy went, and the guy points the way. Without a second thought, she bolts to help him. The main dude's chilling on the ground, surrounded by monster bodies. He takes a deep breath, saying it was as tiring as he thought. Because of that, he levels up to 17. Then, he gets up, saying he needs to get back to the car. Some goo starts oozing from the monster bodies, and suddenly, they start getting back up. Right after, a portal pops open in front of them. While walking, Hiroto's bummed because his stuff got squished with the car. A text pings on his phone, saying he's got only 12 hours left. Yuzuki's still sprinting, looking for the bait student. Then, she activates her power to sense enemies, and starts following a tracker. Only S-rank hunters can see that. She thinks it's like a monster game with dungeons and, to top it off, pop-up messages. Then, she grins, thinking it's a pretty wild story. Yuzuki thinks about how unfair the world is, and how as a kid, she thought she'd be a hero fighting evil. But now, she can't trust anyone. Then she thinks she can't protect anyone anymore. But the world's unfairness won't stop, and for that, she got the power to fight evil, so she can stop the weak from crying again. Soon after, she turns a corner and spots the main dude, who, in turn, is speechless, seeing his childhood buddy. Later, the crew's in another car with the driver and Hiroto. The boy's feeling awkward about the ride. Then, he mentions he didn't expect the bait boy to be from Yuzuki's past too, who, right now, is on par with hunters even before enrolling. The mage asks if the buddy was trying to use the boy in their group, and the guy's like, don't be silly. The only cool thing about him is his stats before enrolling. Soon after, he says the max a rank F can hit is level 25. The witches bum the main dude's weak because he was her type. The healer's like, you're awful for picking a partner based on hunter skills. The girl says it's different when he gets stronger with training, but she adds it's tough having a guy weaker than you. Hiroto's thinking how they're treating him like a basic rank F, as expected. Then, he asks Yuzuki what her deal is with the new student. The girl says he's super important to her. Then she shares they were like siblings and he protected her from bullies. With a grin, the guy jokes, saying now that boy's useless and can't protect her, and she says that's why she has to defend him. Then, Yuzuki tells Hiroto to come to her if he's training in the dungeon so she can help him. The main dude stays quiet. That guy wonders if she's mixing her public and private life too much. The young man reminds her she has a duty to her country and can't waste time on that useless person. Yuzuki's all, nah, that dude's the only fam I've got. They roll up to this massive building. As soon as they hop out, some guy's like, yo, let's hit up the student council room. We gotta chat. Meanwhile, zombies are just chilling in the city. Out of nowhere, the ground's like, crack, and splits open. Boom, a giant symbol pops up. Then, the creatures start shrinking. Until, bam, they explode. Blood drops start floating. They merge in the air, forming dark spheres. A monster starts popping out of one. And, surprise, it's a minotaur. More of them show up, forming a whole squad. A portal opens, and they jump through. In the Hunter School's training room, everyone's gathered for a mock battle. This dude grins, saying he's got to teach the newbie a lesson, claiming it's the secret to success, to keep students alive. The healer's like, this feels personal. Then the guy's all, even if the kid's rank F, his combat's D class. And it's wild to fight a Wendigo solo at that level. He insists the kid needs a reality check. The mage is like, count me out. That tradition's a nightmare. Then the woman asks if the genius got beat up too. Yuzuki's like, nope, no one was tougher than me back then. The witch bounces, saying she can't stand that girl. The guy grabs a baton, saying just the two of them are enough, because if no one's watching, he might get in trouble. Then he tosses the baton to the protagonist, telling him to get ready, and warns the kid he'll get some bruises, but it's for his own good. Yuzuki's like, hold up, and steps up to the guy, saying she'll take him on. The guy argues if they let it slide, the kid'll drag everyone down. The woman says training newbies with vets isn't pointless, but there's gotta be another way. The guy's like, we're using Hunter and school rules here, and as the disciplinary committee boss, he's gotta handle it. Yuzuki's like, this is beyond the committee's limits. Then she tells him to stop, because she won't let anyone mess with the weak on her watch. The room goes dead silent. The vet drops his baton and bails. The woman apologizes to her buddy, but explains that, at this school, aptitude's everything. Then she wishes him luck. Before leaving, she says the weak have their own way and tells him not to push himself. The boy's left alone in the training room, and wonders if he's the one to fix this chaos. Later, the kid's searching for his dorm, and someone calls out to him. It's that guy again, saying the kid needs guidance. Hiroto's like, do I just need to fight you? The guy's like, nah, you just need my one-sided guidance. Then the protagonist's like, can I start? The guy's like, go for it. In seconds, the kid's behind him, knocks him out cold. Hiroto catches him so he doesn't faceplant. Then he leaves him there and bounces. We see a kid named Kazuya being born. His parents are elite hunters, raised in a super safe bubble. The kid thinks he's meant to be special. One day, he bumps into a giant dude. The guy lifts him off the ground. The kid slaps the dude's face to defend himself. Kazuya hits the ground, gasping for air. Then he sees his slap sent the guy flying across the street, and he grins like crazy. With his new skills, he joins the elite school. Even there, he's still top dog, thinking he's God's favorite. But then, he meets someone even better, which means their skills are off the charts. Kazuya is all like, only Yuzuki can be his partner for the ultimate life. With a grin, he decides she's gonna be his, because she's special. Just like him, thinking she's the partner God set up for him. Later, Kazuya wakes up on the ground, confused. Somewhere else, a lecture's happening. The speaker says there's a sign of a stampede in the school's training dungeon. Everyone's jaws drop in shock. Then the guy says, as everyone knows, dungeons are still a big mystery. But gadgets show monsters are on the rise. The young dude warns if the mana stays high, chaos will break loose, and a disaster could hit anytime. But he says there's a way to stop it, by beating the monsters while it's still chill, lowering the mana to safe levels. Hearing this, students wonder if it's for real. But they remember the contract says they gotta help in emergencies. The young guy says he knows they're freaking out, but no worries, and spills that before teaching, they were ace hunters. Then he says advanced students will tackle the deep dungeon beasts, and tells everyone to gear up and follow their instructor's lead. Hiroto's nervous, it's his first day, and it's already wild. That girl shows up, apologizing to the main dude, saying he's got some bad luck. Then she says he should have been in the top class with the best first years. She suggests he go introduce himself there. The students gossip about the newbie with rank F skills and a special trait boosting his stats. They're shocked a guy who won't level up is there. Hearing this, Hiroto recalls his buddy saying hunter skills are everything. Soon, Yuzuki shows up, asking if the young dude's got a sec to chat. They leave, leaving Kazuya fuming. Outside, the girl says she senses a dungeon stampede coming. She mentions it's just a hunch, like a sixth sense. The girl says it might be her rank S skills. The boy's curious about what she means. Yuzuki explains senior students will handle deep dungeon monsters, while Hiroto and others fight at the entrance. The main guy says instructors already mentioned this and assures her it's cool. Then the woman says it's normal to judge him by data. Yuzuki says if God exists, She's basically a special being. Suddenly, the woman says if things go south, he should head straight to her. If the stampede hits, everyone will be in a frenzy. Then, the girl says the Reaper's scythe will still be lurking, but she promises her buddy there's nothing to worry about, she'll protect him. Elsewhere, some guys chat about the student mobilization, asking Urabe if they should bail. The dude tells them not to be dumb, quitting could get them expelled. One buddy reminds him hunters get paid well, but Urabe says no reward this time. Then, someone joins the convo, apologizing. It's Kazuya, saying he's confident in their skills. The boy asks if he's got something fun for them again. With a grin, the guy says he needs their help with some stuff. Then he says there's someone he wants gone. And everyone, with their own plans, teams up. Little did they know, this training would turn into a total disaster. An hour before, all students gather at the portal entrance. The man explains those entering the deep dungeon are the instructor, with mad combat skills, and selected students with Yuzuki leading. And the rest will stay in the outer dungeon, taking out low-level monsters, and says they can do it safely if they follow orders. Right after, this dude tells the first to third-year Class A students they gotta roll with the attack team to the deepest part, cause they're the top dogs in school. The students are shook to find out they're heading to the danger zone. Their entry time, high noon, 12 sharp. Out of nowhere, someone pops up, asking why they gotta dive so deep. Cause the creatures there are way too gnarly for them to handle solo. The man explains he's counting on them to back up the advanced team. And, to get specific, they'll be on medic duty, protecting the injured, or taking out any creatures that wander off from the squad. Then, the organizer says the outer dungeon layer is for students below Class B. Hiroto realizes it's just like his buddy told him, and he wonders if she's in danger too. The boy starts thinking that knowing someone he knows might bite the dust will mess with his sleep. Then, he figures Yuzuki's crew isn't exactly winning the luck lottery. But the man warns the main dude and that redhead won't join the fight. They'll stick with the attack team till the middle layer. The guy explains once the coast is clear, they gotta make sure no monsters crash the shallow layer, so the young ones are on lookout duty. The girl is ticked, asking why they can't join the fight since they're Class A2. The man says even in an emergency, they can handle it with the current squad. Then, he says even though they're Class A, they ain't strong enough. So, in this training, they gotta be picky about who to invest in. The girl wonders what he means by invest. The guy remembers those two have rank E and F skills, and because of that, they're seen as incomplete. Inside the dungeon, a bunch of creatures get roasted by the mage's flames. The commander orders the squad to get in position. Then, the students keep battling those things, taking them down over time. Until, bam, a bigger, badder version of those creatures shows up. A squad member grins, thinking those monsters are dreaming if they think they can win. Then, the creatures get kunai to the head, while that person keeps grinning, and calls the crew to join the fun. A gentleman watching from afar comments he expected nothing less, and says they have the lowest F rank cause of their attitude, but their strength is A rank level. Then, he says they should have been getting invites from the Hunters Guild. With that, they realize it's a waste of talent. The young ones roll up, calling him sensei, and the man corrects them, saying it's instructor. And the boy asks if their mission is subjugation, because they want to switch it up and do their own thing. The man gets annoyed, asking if he's going rogue again. Then, the young man says he's just being real, sticking with amateurs is a waste, and asks if it's cool as long as they keep subjugating. The gentleman says the young ones should be ashamed for their bad behavior, but they just say they'll do it their way. But still, the old man says no way, he's still the boss here. Kazuya shows up, telling the instructor to chill, and warns those boys have top-tier skills at school. Then, he says it's not smart to treat them like regular students and asks to lead them to form a command unit. The instructors decide to roll with it. With a grin, he says the instructors can count on him. Soon after, the young man bounces with the boys, advising their targets in the intermediate layer. Urabe rolls up, asking if he'd really introduce them to his dad if they follow orders, because his dad's the big boss of a major hunters guild in the country. And Kazuya says he'll keep his promise, but they'll all be part of the Black Dragon Fang Guild, and he'll handle the dirty work for the guild. Hearing that, the young ones crack up. With a serious look, Urabe wonders if taking people out is part of the gig, and says as long as he gets paid, he's cool with that kind of job. Kazuya's all, yo, if that's the deal, I've got some epic news for you, dude, cause our target's chillin' with someone in the middle layer. With a grin that screams villain vibes, the young dude's like, dead folks can't spill the tea. Then he spins around, saying Urabe and his crew can go wild with Hiroto's buddy. Meanwhile, in the middle layer, the squad bumps into some Wendigos. Yuzuki's like, watch this, and slices one of those beasts in half, no sweat. But, plot twist, there's still one left standing. The girl busts out a move called Air Step, letting her walk on air like it's no biggie. In no time, she slices the other creature in half too. Everyone's jaws drop, totally blown away by her mad skills, while the main dude's just chillin', watching from a distance. someone rolls up, saying they expected nothing less from the school's top girl. It's that red-haired girl, totally impressed that Yuzuki can take down 2 Wendigos like it's nothing. She even says Yuzuki could lead the attack squad, and the main dude's just silently nodding in agreement, but he's also wondering if she's going a bit overboard. Then the girl goes, "Hey, I'm Mirano," and offers a handshake, saying he can drop the formalities. Hiroto's not too keen on turning his back on a stranger, but he introduces himself anyway. Then he asks Mirano about the dude in silver armor, and she says Kazuya is handling Class B in the shallow layer. Hiroto's like, "You sure you want to shake my hand?" Because back at the orphanage, he got a lot of flack for his rank F skills, and it seems the school's no different. But Mirano's like, "Chill, no worries about that," leaving Hiroto all surprised by her chill response. Then she says she's low rank too, so no need to stress over dumb stuff. Hiroto's thinking she seems pretty cool. After a bit, it's just the two of them on watch, making sure no monsters sneak out. Mirano's like, "If I spot anything, I'll go report it." Then they hear a noise echoing through the cave, and a massive shadow looms behind them. It's a minotaur, which is super weird, because they shouldn't be in this dungeon. The girl's all freaked out, wondering if it's too much for them to handle. The main dude's like, "You really gonna run and report?" And she's like, "Even if I wanted to, there's another minotaur blocking my way." Hiroto whips out his dagger, saying they gotta handle this themselves. He charges at one of the beasts, but Mirano's like, "Hold up." She tells him not to risk his neck for her, and asks to let her handle that monster. The minotaur tries to smack her, but she dodges like a pro. Mirano seizes the moment and lands a bunch of spear strikes on the beast. An axe flies her way, but she dodges it like it's nothing. Hiroto's mind is blown, watching her dodge with barely any effort. Then she sneaks behind one of the minotaurs, ready to attack again. She charges at the horned beast, but it just grins, unfazed. The main dude realizes her attacks aren't cutting it. But then, out of nowhere, Mirano lands a hit that makes the minotaur bleed. Seeing that, the other monster freaks out and bolts. Hiroto's curious how her last attack pierced the minotaur. Mirano explains that humanoid monster's weak spot is the throat. Hiroto's all, "Your martial arts are lit," and she's like, "That's why I'm a Class A student." Then she asks if he knows Etosai, and he's curious if she means the sword master. She says it's not just sword skills, there's a legend about his spear technique too, but she's still piecing together her family's history. Mirano's super proud of her samurai roots, and her hunter skills are still rank E. She spills that she studies every monster's weak spot. The main dude, shocked the instructor overlooks her, despite her martial arts level, and she's like, "Yeah, I think about that a lot." Suddenly, she starts yelling, calling that guy a total idiot, and cursing everyone born with mad skills, also shouting for equal rights for all. Hiroto's jaw drops at the scene. The girl takes a deep breath, says it feels good, and asks if the boy wants a go, but he nopes out. The main dude starts thinking how cool this girl is. Then, Mirano says she trains so hard she bleeds, but still feels like they're dissing her ancestors' moves, which makes her super mad. The woman admits she can't level up her strength, but she's still the top dog in the first year right now. Then, Yureib's crew rolls up on the young ones. The boy says even though the girl's rank is E, her martial arts are fire. The girl claps back, asking if he gets the limits of talent now. Yureibi says if the first year keeps leveling up, she'll lose her top spot soon. The girl gets ticked and asks what the boy's doing there. The young dude explains they're only there cause of their boss. Kazuya shows up, ready to settle things with the main guy. The boy jokes that accidents happen in the dungeon, and there's nothing handier than that. Hiroto wonders if the dude's out for payback for last time's knockout. With a grin, Kazuya says dead folks don't spill secrets. Yureib tells the young ones not to think it'll be a quick end. They were told not to give them an easy out. Mirano thinks the sitch is bad and heard rumors about that crew, but never thought they'd stoop so low. Then, the main guy's curious about what they'll do with his buddy there. Kazuya laughs, saying those two seem to be getting along. He asks what the young dude thinks about letting them mess with the girl right in front of him. Hearing that, Hiroto gets mad and charges, landing a punch on his rival's face. Just before that, Mirano's ready to fight to protect the boy, but in a flash, she sees her buddy land a hit on Kazuya. Then, in a split second, the main guy's behind Yureib, striking his neck. Hiroto decides to focus on the rest, taking them all down with one hit each. Mirano's blown away by her buddy's speed. After that, the young dude finishes off all the boys, leaving the girl totally speechless. Meanwhile, deep in the dungeon, a hooded figure's surrounded by monsters. Then, he starts some kind of ritual. Speaking in a super weird language, the undead bodies start getting squished, and the Wendigos too. Seeing the chaos, the strange dude seems to enjoy it. Suddenly, he gets crushed himself. The whole place turns into a sea of red goo. Green lights start popping out of the blood, merging into one big light. Then, it zooms down a corridor. Behind a door, there's a lab full of capsules with trapped creatures. And among them is the 6th celestial demon lord, Vasha Valtine. That green energy zips into the lab, right into the Demon Lord's chamber, waking up that beast. Meanwhile, in the dungeon's shallow layer, that energy starts forming something, until the 6th Demon Lord takes shape with armor that's subjugation level A. When that level shows up, all local guilds bail on trying to take the dungeon with just their crew. It's got the power to make a guild bounce instantly, and making students fight is just dumb. Basically, it's the start of a big mess. Meanwhile, the group takes out a bunch of creatures. One of the young dudes says he was nervous when they got the emergency alert, but thinks it was no biggie. Then, he says they were important even without slaying monsters, because they were on lookout duty. Suddenly, they hear a noise from the cave and turn to see someone in armor. Meanwhile, the main guy and his buddy nab the dudes who came at them. Then, Murano mentions she heard the boys got the strength of a veteran hunter, but his real power is beyond student level. The girl gets curious if he'll finally spill the beans on his power, but the young dude says he can't do that. The girl asks why and even wonders if he's a secret agent or something, and the main guy says it's nothing like that. Then, that knight shows up, making the kids wonder if it was some kind of super rare monster. Murano's all, whoa, never seen or heard of anything like that before. Hiroto, though, remembers Yuzuki saying she thought a stampede was coming. So, he checks his stats panel and sees his agility's up, thinking it might be a danger alert. That knight whips out his sword and charges at the kids, but the boy dodges like a ninja and pops up behind the knight, ready to take him down. Then, poof, the knight vanishes and reappears behind Hiroto. Hiroto dodges again, but gets a little scratch, making him realize his speed and combat skills just leveled up big time, and he knows he's got to get serious if he wants to win this fight. Then, Hiroto charges at the knight. He pulls out a tiny bag and chucks it at the knight. Inside, there's some spicy red pepper and mandrake mix from the dungeons, which goes boom with fire. Then Hiroto casts a flame spell, causing a massive explosion. But the armor's still shiny and untouched. Hiroto peeks inside the armor, spotting a skeleton chilling in there. The skeleton tries to attack, but Hiroto blocks it with his dagger, sending it flying. Now, he's got to fight with just his hands. The monster goes on the offensive, but Hiroto grabs it and lands a punch, knocking it down. He seizes the moment and finishes off the skeleton, and he lets out a big sigh of relief after the battle. Murano's amazed, seeing her buddy bust out some judo moves. Hiroto turns to her, saying his hunter rank is F, so he tried everything, even judo, to get stronger. Then, with a grin, he says he's giving it his all. Meanwhile, somewhere else, another knight is causing chaos. The students are freaking out, wondering what that thing is. Then, the monster wipes out the humans. The students are getting more and more scared. A scientist shows up, telling them to chill and act like hunters. She says it might be one of those random dungeon accidents. The boys ask if she's sure about that. She says she called another guild for backup and all they need to do is hold the line until help arrives. Quickly, some warriors form a defense line. The girl tells everyone to fight for their lives. Then, she mentions that Instructor Godai is there. Hearing that, the kids feel a spark of hope. But then, they're shocked when the woman gets hit on the head. At first, everyone's just stunned. One boy says it's cool, they still have Instructor Godai. But when they look, they see him down on the ground. Then, he gets finished off with a single stomp. All the students start screaming in terror. Meanwhile, deep in the dungeon, another knight is causing mayhem. Yuzuki's ready to jump in, but someone stops her. It's a buddy, saying not even the instructor can beat that thing, but she might have a shot. He says he believes she can do anything. Yuzuki thinks if she uses her special ability, she might have a chance, as it doubles her stats. The healer knows the cost of her using that power, thinking it'll shorten her life, but she's their only hope. He starts begging her to use her life to save them. Yuzuki thinks it's not proven her life is really at risk, but they believe it because a student said so. Seeing her ready to fight, the others thank her, while she looks at them, thinking they're selfish. Then, she activates her ability, and flames cover her body. Yuzuki says she'll lead and asks everyone to back her up with all they've got. As she draws her sword, she thinks about her role in all this. Meanwhile, Murano mentions the dungeon is run by the school. Why is there a skeleton in armor just chilling there? Weird, right? Our hero suddenly remembers his buddy's warning and tells his friend he's worried about Kazuya. He thinks he needs to dive into the deepest layer, solo mission style. Murano chuckles, finding it funny. He's worried about the so-called strongest kid in school. She insists she can help, but if she tags along, she'll just be a spectator. So, she decides to hang back and watch the show. She shares how she's always tried her best since she was a kid. With tears in her eyes, she admits it feels kinda silly. Then, her phone buzzes, announcing a strong desire for power has been confirmed, and her access is complete. She's like, wait, what? She wonders if something's off. Maybe it's a virus? She jokes. Realizing what she said, she quickly adds, not that I was on any sketchy sites. Murano asks if he can promise her something before heading to the deepest part. She wants him to promise he'll come back. She then offers to treat him to a coffee at the school cafeteria when he returns. Hiroto grins and agrees, imagining their coffee hangout. Then, his stats panel pops up. He notices his agility stats are different and realizes 10 knights are heading his way. He decides to hide his friend to keep her safe. Mirano asks if he's sure about the 10 knights. He confirms but can't explain right now. Hiroto insists it's too dangerous for her to come along and asks her to wait. She just hopes he'll be okay. Then, the knights show up. One charges at him, and he barely dodges. Hiroto's stressing, fighting 10 knights at once. He dodges attacks but doesn't see another enemy sneaking up. He takes a hit, realizing he's in deep trouble. The knights gang up on him, leaving him in bad shape. Hiroto's getting frustrated. On the ground, he keeps talking, even as the knights stare him down. One wonders why the locals are crashing their party. Then, a panel announces the Demon Lord event is starting, and the player will be transported to the location. Suddenly, Hiroto's fully healed and opens his eyes. He's facing a massive shadow. It's a giant creature. Another window pops up, saying this is the tutorial's start, and his opponent is that huge monster. The beast charges, destroying part of the city, but Hiroto's protected by some shield. He's confused about what just happened. The window explains that if he dies, he'll revive in the same spot, and to get the skill, he must defeat the creature. It also says there's a 10.5 meter safe zone around him, and he can chill there as long as he wants. Suddenly, he gets a sword that can cut almost anything, except the creature's scales. The panel advises him to use his time wisely, then disappears. Hiroto checks out the sword. He wonders if his opponent is the crater-making creature, and the sword can't even cut dragon scales. Seems useless, right? But then he realizes he has a body that won't die and a sword that cuts almost anything. With that, he hatches a plan. He spots the dragon flying near the shield. Hiroto wonders if he can pull it off and thinks maybe he should just hang out until time's up to avoid any mess. Okay, buckle up, because this story's about to get wild. So our dude realizes if he gets sent back to where he bit the dust, things are going to be majorly uncool. He starts smacking his own face, wondering if he's totally lost it. Then he remembers, oh yeah, the app gave him mad skills and levels. But plot twist, he's not feeling any stronger. Bummer, right? So, he grabs his sword, all fired up to take on this beast. He bolts out of the safe zone, charging at those monsters like a boss. The dragon's all, not today, kid. But Hiroto dodges, climbs up its arm, and leaps for its head like he's in some epic action movie. But then, chomp, the dragon swallows him whole. Yikes. Inside the beast, he's still kicking, remembering his undying body and sword that slices through almost anything, except dragon scales. Go figure. So he's like, guess I gotta stab my way out of here. But being in a dragon's belly, not exactly a spa day. His body's feeling the burn. Luckily, his healing factor's got his back. Still, he's melting and healing on repeat, like some twisted video game glitch. He starts yelling for help, but no one's answering. Minutes tick by, and his mind's about to snap. In his head, he's like, why'd I pull such a dumb move? Maybe because he craves power, or maybe he just wants Yuzuki to notice him. But he knows she thinks he's weak sauce. So, he decides, no way he's giving up. Meanwhile, the dragon's just chilling, flying around. Then it feels something funky, like its insides are doing the cha-cha. Suddenly, a blade bursts out, slicing it open like a piñata. The dragon crashes down, and Hiroto pops out, already healing up. A screen pops up, saying he's hit his growth cap, and extra XP's just gonna chill there, no leveling up. For slaying the beast, he scores some sweet rewards, like a 10-point strength boost. Then it's like, yo, you're going back to where you started. Flashback time, Yuzuki's gaming, where heroes are always epic. Hiroto's all, I'll be the hero, you can heal. She's like, why am I always the healer? And he's like, fighting's a dude thing. Plus, I don't want to see you hurt, even in a game. She smiles, and he's all flustered. He tells her if she's ever in a jam, she can call him. Fast forward, Yuzuki's now a big deal. She's living her dream role in the game. But she's like, being a white mage was chill. This hero stuff's heavy. Meanwhile, she's battling knights, wondering what's up with them. She's wiped after taking down one monster, but there's more. She's thinking maybe she's not cut out to be a hero. Scared, she's like, I'm toast. No backup, just her. Her hands are shaking, and she realizes she's scared because she's been too busy being what everyone wants. She drops her sword, kneels as the knights close in. She's calling for help, even shouting for Hiroto. A monster's about to finish her, but bam, someone swoops in, taking it down. She's speechless, remembering Hiroto's promise to always help. She's wondering how his weak skills got him here. Hiroto's taking out knights left and right, leaving her mind spinning. But watching him, she finally gets it. With a grin, she's like, why didn't you get here sooner if you're so strong? He's like, I ran as fast as I could. Then he busts out the dragon-slaying skill. A knight tries to attack, but Hiroto just catches the blade with his fingers. No biggie. After that, the young dude whips out his dagger and slices his enemy like he's cutting a birthday cake. The boy's mind is blown, like, whoa, that was easy peasy. Hiroto's brain is buzzing, thinking he needs that app to beat all these baddies, and he's like, what even is this thing? The girl chimes in, saying it looks like the enemies got totally wiped out, along with all their squad. The main guy's like, yeah, those peeps on that floor are toast, but he's itching to know what went down with the others in the shallow layer. Then, the girl whips out this gadget that's super handy in dungeons with 0 bars, but crickets, no one's answering, which means they all got KO'd. The boy's like, hold up, there's still one person left standing. Then, the young dude rolls up to where he left his buddy, but she's MIA. Hiroto's like, she must have been snatched, and drops that goblins are all about kidnapping gals. He turns to Yuzuki, saying they gotta find her before it's game over. The girl jumps in, saying she's tagging along, cause she wants to help anyone who might have made it and feels safer with him. She then gives his shoulder a pat, saying she's counting on him. After a bit, they're both shook by what they see, cause Mirano's down for the count right in front of them. Seeing that, the main dude's brain flashes back to Akira, another buddy he lost, and that promised the girl made to grab coffee when they got back, but now she's gone. With that, Hiroto's eyes are burning with pure rage, and Yuzuki's yelling, worried about her friend. Right after, the boy goes berserk, slicing through all the knights like they're butter. The boy's thinking, how did this all go down on his first day at school? From that mission, there were 271 down and only 2 made it out. After a bit, Hiroto has taken down most of the knights, leaving just 1. Yuzuki's shouting, telling her buddy to chill, while the boy's eyes are leaking tears. With that mess, the hunter school shuts down. The bigwigs said they could switch to another school, but it's up to them. So they're cool to start working as hunters, which means they're totally free now. Soon after, the young peeps are strolling through a park. Yuzuki's asking what the boys' plans are. Hiroto's straight up, saying dungeons give him bad vibes. Not just cause of the monsters, but the humans are trash too. The main dude's like, yeah, those people are the worst, but he still wants to chat with the ones who made him feel alive. With a sad face, the girl nods. Then she asks if he'll spill why he's so OP, and why he wanted her to say she took out the monsters on that mission. Yuzuki's curious if it's a secret he can't even share. Hiroto's thinking it's not about trust, but he can't spill the beans on a power he doesn't get himself. Plus, if he says he's stronger than the girl with the top student title, the hunters would label him as a mystery ranker. The main dude's like, he just wants to keep himself and his crew safe. Then, the girl reminds him she already said she'd team up with him, but he says, sorry, not interested in squads for now. Hiroto asks his buddy to keep his secret. Yuzuki's like, no worries, and jokes she'll be happier if he saves her quicker next time. The boy grins, saying he sprinted as fast as he could. After that, the 2 young peeps walk off, cracking up. Later that night, the main dude's snoozing in his room, until his phone's like, ding, mission time, and it's go time. Soon after, the young dude zapped away. A screen pops up, saying someone has to bite the dust to win. Hiroto clocks there's someone else there with him. Turns out, it's Moreno. Another screen says both players know the deal now and attacks are a go. Both the girl and the main dude feel super awkward seeing each other, cause now, they gotta go all out to take each other down. 7 days ago, Hiroto was wrecked after finding his friend's body, but after he left, he got zapped away. She's taken to a coliseum. Confused, she's like, where even am I? A panel pops up, saying the link with Lucifer is a go, and boom, she's got the Morning Star power. The girl's totally shook seeing this. Then, the screen hints she can take out the other player, and she's all, what's that about? Suddenly, across the arena, a light flickers, and slowly, a body starts forming, until, bam, the main character shows up. Both are like, whoa, it's you. Marino says those dark knights took her out, and when she woke up, she got this mission. The boy asks if she knows about the Demon Lord app, and she's like, you mean that virus on my phone? The boy's shocked there's someone else in this mess. The girl's curious about what's going down, and Hiroto spills the tea about the app. In a lab, someone walks in, asking how things are rolling. His buddy says the boy's the top pick, but so far, they're just chatting. One guy says this is Snoozeville for the audience and suggests stirring things up without messing with the fight. In the arena, Mirano's like, can't believe what my buddy said. The boy's like, same, but I'm getting crazy strong. The girl's wondering what to do since one of them has to lose. Then she's curious if her buddy also didn't die. The boy thinks Mirano's power and her comeback are different from his, wondering if their apps aren't the same. But he figures there's no point in overthinking and tells her if 3,600 seconds pass, it's a draw. The boy says they just gotta chill and wait it out. But then the screen warns the fight ends only when one's out, leaving them super annoyed. Then, both get a smack on the ears. A panel says a tie's detected and penalty time's on. Seeing blood, the boy's like, is this the punishment? Then he starts feeling weird, wondering what's up. Mirano feels off too. Her eyes change color. Then she acts like she's controlled, saying she must take him out or else. Seeing this, the boy's like, what are you on about? But soon he's acting weird too, and says she's right about the whole kill or be killed thing. They both get ready to rumble. Mirano makes the first move, using her Morning Star power, but the boy dodges it like a pro. Hiroto thinks if he gets hit, he's toast. But no way he's getting hit. He recognizes her skills, like spear moves and martial arts, but their stats are way different. With a smirk, the boy tells her to quit the fight. Suddenly, she lands a punch on his face, but he's like, that was weak. Just like Yuzuki back then. Thinking of his friend, he snaps back to reality, realizing they're really in a death match. Then he's controlled again, but he fights it. Distracted, he gets attacked by Mirano. Then Hiroto regains control and starts pleading with her to listen, but she keeps hitting him. With no choice, he kicks her away, and she snaps out of it, apologizing. The panel's back, telling them to finish each other off, but the boy's mad, saying no way, and she agrees. They earn the title, Those Who Defy the Will. Hiroto wonders whose will they defied, but figures it doesn't matter now, just the powers do. He asks if Mirano got a title too, and she says yeah. Hearing that, he goes quiet, thinking it's just like what he got. Then he asks if she wants to go down together. She's shocked. Hiroto says he's suggesting it because he doesn't want to end her, and it's better than just waiting to die, so he's taking the lead. The girls all chill with it. The boy gets why they got the title, but those powers, they bug him. Since they didn't follow orders and bailed on the mission, he's like, do we really need powers if we're cool with dying? Then he's all, these apps are just like a game. Just like when he last went after the Demon Lord, dropping hints for a path no sane person would take. Hiroto's like, there's gotta be some game in this duel too, because you can totally feel someone's vibe behind it. And in that app, someone's betting on their fight, and he wouldn't even be shocked if it's true. Mirano's like, what's the plan? The main dude's like, the title and powers gotta be important, maybe a clue or something. Then he hands a spear to the girl and asks if they should try to bounce. Hiroto's like, not enough proof for that. Then, the arena door starts opening, and the guy's like, guess I was right. They head into the corridor, and the main dude's like, looks like we're on track. Then they start sprinting, cause time's ticking. Because of this, they start getting penalties, losing HP bit by bit. Later, Hiroto and his buddy keep running straight, taking hits as they go. The boy's stressing cause their health bar is dropping fast. The girl's like, we've got less than 10 HP left. And the boy's like, yeah, this is bad news. Hiroto thinks their wounds aren't too bad, but there's still a ton of blood. Mirano's like, wanna turn back? She got a message saying no penalties if they do. The main dude's like, why bother? We just end up fighting each other. The girl's like, I know, but we're toast if we keep this up. Then, the boy spots a light, and they decide to book it towards it. But Mirano trips. Hiroto's worried and tells her to hang on. They're almost there. The boy decides to carry her because he's not dying here. Even so, he keeps taking penalty hits. Because of this, his HP drops to 1. The main dude's like, this crazy app made him make wild choices thanks to those mystery folks. It's like being in a nightmare. Then, the boy takes another penalty hit, losing all his life points. But somehow, he gets 1 more HP. The boy jumps up, yelling, and keeps carrying her to the light. Once through the door, a window pops up saying both players survived and got the title Those Who Rebel Against the World. Meanwhile, the app guy's like, most people voted for them to escape, and it's been ages since he's seen such a big voting gap. Someone's like, was that cool? And the guy's curious if he means the last-minute save. The guy's like, chill, they didn't start with full HP. He says the arena fight was their doing, and he just played fair. Later, the main dude's chilling in his room, messing with his phone, while Mirano's taking a bath. The boy's wondering what kind of app that was. The girl comes out, thanking him for the shower. Hiroto's like, how are your wounds? And she's like, no injuries since waking up. Then, the boy remembers the titles they got, and thinks these 3 titles are somehow linked. Mirano's like, she doesn't think the app people are bad. The main dude's like, what's she mean? The girl's like, they made it to the end of the corridor, and someone left them a way to dodge fights. Mirano's like, she read a manga where the master doesn't trust humans, goes on a rampage, but still wants to believe in them. So as long as players keep their cool, no one has to die. But in that story, everyone just does their thing, and more people keep biting the dust. Hiroto's just glued to his phone, right? He tells his buddy he thinks the app's not as cool as she thinks. Meanwhile, Yuzuki's chilling in her room, thinking the window in front of her is like a game. She wonders why only rank S folks can see that panel. Then, boom, another window pops up, telling her to take out Hiroto and Mirano. She's freaked out, wondering what the heck that was. The panel's all, do you accept this mission? Back in Hiroto's room, he's telling his friend the app's not what she thinks. And she's all curious, like, what do you mean? Suddenly, a window pops up, saying she's got 10 days before meeting the Death Pursuer. Mirano's like, what's a Death Pursuer? The main dude says they dodged having to take each other out, but they're still under control, you know? Time flies, and the dude's on the phone with someone. It's Yuzuki, asking why they're being targeted. He's like, I dunno. Then he spills the tea. Mission starts in 10 days, Then they gotta survive 24 hours. Since she bailed on the mission, she's probably on another one. Then he asks if only rank S hunters can see those windows. She says she read it in the hunter's guide. He figures app users like him and Mirano can see it too. Hiroto's like, any idea who took the mission after you bailed? She takes a deep breath, thinking he's definitely up to something. He says it's better if she stays clueless, but she's like, you can tell me. Back to hunting, Yuzuki says the mission's probably going to another rank S hunter. She mentions an organization of rank S folks called Demon Lord Hunters. She's still a student, so she's not in yet. She says a member told her the names because rank S can beat the Demon Lord in the game. Hiroto's like, the app and the org both have Demon Lord in the name. No way that's a coincidence. He starts asking a ton of questions about monsters, windows, and the app. He thinks maybe it's all connected. Yuzuki's like, why'd you go quiet? He thinks the mission's with another rank S hunter, the Death Pursuer. But right now, they gotta keep their identities and powers on the down low, especially from high-rank hunters. She's curious how Mirano, who got KO'd in the dungeon, is back, but he keeps that under wraps too. Then Yuzuki asks if he needs an ID on the hunter who vanished in the dungeon with Mirano's traits, and he's curious if she can do it. She says dungeon rules are set by the government for hunters, but it's a lawless zone. As long as it doesn't mess with the outside world, the government stays out of it. She says IDs of vanished hunters should be handled by them. Yuzuki asks if he was at the train station, and he says he was, because they never know when the enemy will strike, so they're always on the move. She asks for his address, saying she'll send what he needs tomorrow. Then she hangs up, thinking he believes telling her the truth would be a hassle. She wonders if she's not trustworthy. Later, the boys are strolling in a mall, and Mirano's like, we can't live in a hotel forever, wondering about their cash flow. Because when they got back, the main dude got her a new phone. Hiroto's all chill, telling her not to stress, because he's still rolling in cash from that last dungeon mishap payout. Then he's all, yo, we're hitting up the dungeon tomorrow so you can start stacking that cash. Suddenly, he remembers his buddy's epic skill move. Out of nowhere, he loses track of her. Finds her totally zoned out, staring at a bunny plushie. Hiroto rolls up, calling her to bounce. He starts chatting about the route they gotta take in the mall, but she's still vibing with that plush. Soon, he notices that Pink Bunny is everywhere and wonders if it's the new hotness. Meanwhile, Marino's still in a trance over that bunny. Seeing this, he's like, you want that thing or what? She just beams at him, all sweet. Hiroto's thinking. At first, he thought she was cool, then interesting. But now, he's low-key thinking she might be a bit quirky. After snagging the plush, they get back on track. His phone starts buzzing, and he's wondering if it's Yuzuki hitting him up. But nah, it's the app saying he got a gift. And a message from the Demon Lord Alpha Guard. The gift? An SS rarity sword that gets beastly with human blood, turning into a god-slaying weapon. Plus, he unlocked the item box, so now he can stash his stuff. But he's not too hyped about that. He's all about the bloodthirsty sword. Mirano notices he's glued to his phone, so she asks what's up. Hiroto just shrugs, saying the app's got some whack taste. Meanwhile, in a dungeon run by the Hunter School, a squad's battling one of those knights. The swordswoman sneaks up and lands a hit that knocks off its helmet. Everyone's shook to see it's an undead. The mage tries his holy light move, but the skeleton keeps swinging at his crew. The boy's like, there's no purifying this thing. His buddy says undead hate fire, then blasts the monster with flames. Totally roasts that creature. The crew jokes it took 5 rank B peeps to drop that thing. A girl asks if her buddy can solo that night, and he's like, nah, one-on-one ain't enough. Then someone says there's a bunch more inside and wonders if they can handle it. The boy suggests calling a rank A hunter, but that's a no-go, because the association won't send a rank A for a subjugation. They laugh, saying the association only cares about their budget. The swordsman asks for a sec to think, cause dungeon deaths are high from random stuff. Right then, another monster shows up, but this knight's armor is white, not black. In a flash, it moves and stabs a crew member, freaking everyone out. The shield guy tries to block, but the knight's sword gets through and takes him out. That boy's like, call a rank S for this thing. But before he can finish, he loses his head in the fight. Then someone shows up laughing, asking if that means it's rank S difficulty. This dude's got no armor or gear. The knight swings its axe at him, but it doesn't even scratch him. Then he hits the knight. The crew's blown away. Then, the boy hugs the monster and crushes its armor with just his muscles. Totally wrecks that knight. The boy watching says that dude's special, cause he's rank B level, but with rank S skills. Even though he's new, his skills match top rank A hunters, and soon he'll be rank S. Hearing that, the guy thinks the kid's not wrong, but even he can't one-shot that thing. So, he used the shop feature only rank S folks can use and bought an item with his credits to help in the fight. Right after, a window pops up offering a mission to take out Hiroto and Mirano, with credits as a reward. Seeing Hiroto's name, the guy wonders if he's one of the kids who survived the dungeon incident, but he grins, saying taking out a kid for 5,000 credits is a breeze, decides to take the mission. Already dreaming of all the cool stuff he can snag, the dude heads to the shop to check out the goods. But, plot twist, the top-tier God Slayer weapon is already gone. He's like, who's got the creds to snag that? A rank S baller. His crew rolls up, all curious, asking if something's up, and he's all, nah, nothing major. Then he's like, so, that night, is he rank S tough? The squad's like, yeah, probs. Grinning, he's like, sweet, my plan's gonna work then. The kid spills that a rank B squad ran into a mega monster and got wiped, except for him. Hearing that, the squad's all shook. Then the dude's like, let's cash in everything we've got. Cause, duh, they're top-tier rank B hunters. The kid's like, dude, quit joking, you'll get busted. They'll see your loot. But before he can finish, the dude covers his mouth, saying he's got this item box skill, storing stuff in a secret space. Then he's like, got a bunch of junk that does that to stay hidden. The dude then takes out the kid in front of his friend, leaving her totally freaked. Then, with a creepy grin, he's like, want to turn you into cash too. He grabs the girl, saying he loves causing chaos, especially with the ladies in this wild place. After taking out the girl, he laughs, saying death's coming for Hiroto and Murano. Later, the hero and his buddy meet a lady, and she's like, heard you're house hunting together. The boy's like, yeah, looking for a 2-bedroom crib. Then she's like, your budget's 30K each, but for a 60K mansion, that's a steal. But if it's a love nest you're after, we can work something out. Hearing that, they're all blushy. Suddenly, someone's like, what's this couple talk? Murano turns and sees Yuzuki right there. The girl's like, I get the whole safety thing, but didn't know about sharing a room. The hero tries to explain, but she cuts him off, handing him a bag. She's like, here's what you asked for, plus some basics for Murano, made of myself. Then she's like, fine with secrets, but no lies. And don't treat me like a sidekick in your romance. Then she bounces, leaving things super awkward. In a building, the hero and Murano check out a panel. Hiroto's like, got Yuzuki to see it was a mix-up, no need for drama. The girl's like, did she get mad because she thought he lied or misunderstood? Then she's like, maybe Yuzuki feels the same way she does. The hero notices her staring and asks what's up, but she's like, nothing. Hiroto's like, gotta dodge the Death Stalker, need to level up for better odds. His hunter ranks F, meaning he's maxed out. But by taking down new monsters, he can power up with his gluttony skill. He remembers Murano doesn't have gluttony, but she's got room to level up. Plus, her martial arts are epic. He's impressed how her attacks didn't hurt the Minotaur cause of strength, but her tactics rocked. With her skill, they can tackle high-rank monsters and level up faster. Murano's like, knew finding a quick-level dungeon was a long shot. The hero's like, gotta level her up, so they need to conquer a monster-packed dungeon. But the dungeons rank F hunters can hit have tough conditions. The girl's like, ranking up takes ages. Heard it's a month for rank F to hit rank E. So, only 2 options left for them. Alright, so first up, there's this plan to sneak into a Hunter Association's dungeon. But that's a no-go because it's totally against the rules. But hey, there's a backup plan. Meanwhile, someone else pops up on the same floor as them. It's that dude who's been hunting the newbies. Our main guy then shows his buddy the other option, which is a mining mission in a chill dungeon where the candidate gets to be the porter. The girl's all surprised because porter means being the one lugging stuff around in the dungeon. Hiroto explains that if they hit up the conquered dungeon, there'll be 2 squads, guards and porters, and they'll be mining magic stones. Murano's like, yeah, but there's no treasure left in the dungeon. Plus, it's the guards' gig to fight monsters, so there's no chance for them. With a grin, the boy points out there ain't no rules saying a porter can't take down creatures. Right after, that hunter's thinking if he doesn't hit up more dungeons, his rank's gonna stay stuck. Both the man and the kids are about to bump into each other. But before that can go down, someone calls out to the man, stopping them from meeting. A young dude shows up, hyping him up for soloing a dungeon. And because of that, he's now a rank A hunter. Hearing this, the man wonders if he should hit up the reception to make it official. The boy says nah, no need. He already hit up the vice president of the Hunters Association, and the man's gonna be recognized as a national treasure. After that, he says it's clear the young dude's gonna get treated differently now. Tommy was all hyped about being a national treasure, and he's thinking how his strength's been rank A for ages. Later, the main guy and his buddy are in a super secure spot. Then they hear some drama. A man asks a boy on the ground if he didn't say in the recruitment that the porter had to be a girl. The young dude apologizes, saying if he did that, it'd look sketchy. Then, that guy walks up to Murano, complimenting her looks, and teases her, calling her a rank F weakling, useless in a fight. So the least she can do is let them enjoy her looks. After that, he points at the main guy, saying he's gonna cut his reward in half. The boy's like, you can't do that, or no one's gonna work with them again. And the guy just says they're all useless. Then, out of nowhere, he slaps the girl and asks what she thinks about doing some services. The girl grabs Hiroto's hand, asking him not to make a scene. Mirana then says if the man doesn't stop, she's going to report him to the association, and he just laughs it off, saying he was joking. After that, he mocks them, calling them useless again. The man announces to everyone that inside the dungeon, it's a lawless zone, and one of his buddies mentions that violence is on the rise, so it's best to keep things chill. A young dude tells them to cut the nonsense, because it's time to make some cash. Inside the dungeon, the crew battles a creature. The main guy thinks if it keeps up like this, there won't be any danger, because these folks are rank C hunters, but he can't say their vibe is cool. Then, the whole place starts making weird noises. Even the ceiling starts caving in on them. Hiroto checks if his buddy's hurt, and she says she's good. Suddenly, there's a roar. Turning around, the group spots Cerberus, the Hellhound, with an S-level difficulty. Everyone's like, why is there a Cerberus here, when this dungeon's supposed to be rank B? One of the guys thinks he should get someone to distract the beast so he can bail, even if it's solo. Then, the main guy pulls out his sword he got earlier and remembers it gets stronger by soaking up blood. With that, the boy figures it's a perfect time to test it out. The young dude wonders if he can do something with that sword, but he doesn't think it's smart to show his true power here. Hiroto then says he'll be the bait and tells everyone, including Mirano, to bounce. But the girl's not feeling that plan at all. The guys comment they dig what the boy's doing and leave, dragging Mirano with them. The girl starts yelling for her buddy, saying she's gonna fight too. The protagonist mentally says sorry to his buddy because they came here to level her up, but he knows this beast is way too OP for her right now. With everyone out of the way, the protagonist can finally go full power mode. The doggo charges at the human's back and tries to chomp down, but the boy dodges like a ninja. Hiroto's shook because even with that massive bod, the creature's got mad speed. Then, the young dude grabs another sword from his inventory and yeets it at the monster's head. Hiroto's frustrated because he thought he leveled up, but that thing didn't even flinch, and this just proves the Cerberus is tougher than those knights. Right after, the doggo charges again, and the boy's like, bring it on. And with one epic slash, he slices the monster in half. After the win, Hiroto's thinking about how he wondered how strong the system's weapons were, but he never thought they were that OP. The protagonist scores 5 strength points thanks to his gluttony skill, hyping himself up that he can't lose to any enemy. But then, the protagonist's like, something's gotta be off, since that app always drags him into life or death drama. Then, he starts thinking about getting that weapon right when he's about to be hunted by the death pursuer, and he wonders if it means he won't survive unless he lets that sword drink some human blood. Right after, the protagonist hears a noise in the cave and, looking back, spots a dude. The boy freaks out, wondering if he got caught. That guy, in turn, asks if it was the boy who did all that. Hiroto's like, what do I do now? And then he introduces himself and asks the guy's name. The man says he's Murakami Shingo, an S-rank hunter and the 4th best in the world hunter ranking. Hearing the guy's S-rank, the boy's spooked, thinking he's the death pursuer. Then, the man starts pulling something from his suit, making the protagonist even more on edge. But Murakami just hands over a card, and the young dude's like, huh. The boy then asks if he's a newbie hunter and explains it's a thing to show your guild license when meeting someone new in a dungeon. Hiroto checks the card and sees the guy's aptitude is rank A. Then, the boy remembers Yuzuki saying only S-rank folks can see the window, meaning this guy is not their stalker. The man also peeks at the boy's card, finding out he's rank F, and jokes that the young dude had it rougher than him. Right after, he's curious about who did all that. The protagonist makes up a story that when the Cerberus attacked, someone swooped in to save him. Hiroto's sweating because he's just spouting nonsense and doubts the guy will buy it, but instead of catching the lie, Murakami says it was another job of X. The boy's curious about what he's on about, and the man tells him to ignore it, just talking to himself. Then, the young dude asks why an S-rank hunter's in a basic dungeon like this. The man says it's because of the dungeon accident, and spills that there have been many accidents before this one and there's a clue here. So, he decided to do some detective work. The protagonist's curious about what he's talking about, and, once again, the man says he's just talking to himself. Right after, Murakami decides to bounce. But before leaving, he says maybe it's fate they met here. And he mentions the dungeon accident happened because a monster that usually doesn't show up just popped out. Then, he says he knows it's tough, but asks the boy to steer clear because something's fishy. The boy's like, thanks for the heads up. Then, he checks out the stats panel, realizing that even without a system alert, he knows this guy's strong just by those numbers, comparing him to an absolute beast, making him realize his strength isn't there yet. Murakami, meanwhile, thinks about how he's seen this before, and figures there are signs an unknown hunter used rank A or even S power, and it can only be X's work. Then, he starts suspecting the young dude, but soon drops it, thinking a force that can wreck a place like this must be rank A, so no way someone with rank F skills could pull that off. Meanwhile, in some building, a bunch of people are chilling. At the table, there's the Hunters Association boss, Oyamada, with Murakami and a dude named Takeshi. Suddenly, there's a knock on the door and the old guys all come in. A young dude named Takato from the biggest entertainment agency around walks in. He's all, "Sorry, I'm late. Was busy filming a drama." Oyamada's like, "What do you think being a hunter means?" Takato's all, "It's a way to stand out." The president's not having it, and Murakami's like, "Chill, dude." But the old guy's fuming, saying young folks are too cocky, asking what they think he is. Takato's all cheeky, "Maybe they think you're nuts." Murakami's over it, tells the president to save the speech, they're wasting time. Oyamada kicks off the Rank S Hunters meeting, talking about the Demon Lord problem. Takato's curious, like, "What's that about?" The old guy explains they gotta talk about the Demon Lord's hunters. With a grin, Takato's like, "So, not about the app then." The president's confused, and the boy's like, "Nah, nothing." Annoyed, the old guy's like, "Did you make a chat app for us?" And the young dude's like, "Something like that." Then, Oyamada says the meeting's about the old National Diet Building, aka the Nagata Dungeon. It's one of the 7 big dungeons, and countries are trying to tackle it, but no one's got it yet. When the 7 big dungeons showed up, all of New York got swallowed. The old guy's like, "We can't mess this up, it's about our country's pride." He also mentions the new generation's doing its own thing, reminding everyone the Hunters Association's in charge of planning. Takato's like, "I'll let the others know," but he asks if the old guy's jealous of them, rank as hunters, because he's second in rank just behind Kuju Ayako. Murakami's like, "The rank leader never shows up, and the new gen's a headache." Then the young dude's like, "Stop disrespecting the Hunters Association," and he agrees. Takeshi, who's been quiet, asks about the Artemis School incident. That guy's Kazuya's dad, who hears the investigation on his son is done. The young dude's mad, saying his son would escape danger because he taught him, being rank S since forever. Plus, his son's got an artifact to sense dangerous demons, so no way he's dead. He says there was a fight in the dungeon, and that's why his son couldn't escape. Takato remembers 2 survivors from that incident, saying if he's right, those who fought his son are probably gone too. Takeshi's like, "If the Hunters Association does nothing, I'll investigate myself." Then he's like, "It's sad. The Hunters Association's useless." He stands up, saying he'll start with the 2 survivors. The young dude thinks about how precious his son's artifact was, and someone probably took it. And maybe whoever did it wanted Kazuya's fancy gear. Furious, he decides if the culprit's alive, he'll find and deal with them. Meanwhile, a team gathers in the old Artemis Hunters School dungeon. Murano's like, "Don't leave me alone like last time." The countdown to the Death Stalker is 6 days and 12 hours. Inside the dungeon, the girl's like, "Never thought I'd be back here." And Hiroto's like, "Same, but we can level up fast here." The dungeon's efficient cause after that incident, tons of demons showed up. There are also Black Knights deeper in. The boy thinks he can boost his stats by taking down lots of demons. And after Murano levels up, he's all about hunting those Black Knights too. The main dude tells his buddy they're gonna play it cool as ports for now, but when the time's right, they're out of there. The girl's like, "What about food though? We're stuck in this dungeon for 5 days. Hiroto's got it covered, saying they've got the item box. He spills the tea that he did some digging and found out the box can hold like 2,000 kilograms. Plus, time's frozen in there, so no moldy sandwiches. Yay. The dude says he splurged 500,000 on food, so they can chill as long as they want. Then he jokes about blowing all the Hunter School cash and swears he won't let any of that grub go to waste. The boy's thinking, with folks on their tail, he better be ready. Out of nowhere, someone rolls up, saying sorry for the Cerberus drama. It's that young dude from their squad. The boy's like, "All good. We all made it out alive." Later, the crew takes a snack break. That sneaky guy from Hiroto's old team is spying, telling his boss the prep looks solid but asks if he's sure. The boss says he saw a hunter, now rank S, using a similar trick. He tells how the boy whipped out his sword from thin air. In the end, Murakami, the hunter, handled the Cerberus. Then, the young dude says the hero pulled out that weapon when he was about to bite the dust to save the girl, and it's definitely not normal. His buddy says it's just a hunch, and the boss says he's just guessing based on the storage trick. With a sneaky grin, he says if they off the hero and the weapon's a dud, they can just blame it on a dungeon oopsie, like always. Then he says they could sell that weapon for mega bucks. Plus, the one using it is rank F, and stats say that boy's a flop. The young dude decides they're gonna take him out. Hiroto tells the boy he didn't think they'd hire them twice in a row. The young dude says the pay's sweet for such a chill gig. Then the hero says they set up a base camp in the middle layer, and the boy says it's a must for long trips in the deep layers. But he adds that beyond the deep layers, it's pretty chill. Hiroto wonders if it's too soon to call it safe. The boy says the sketchy part of dungeons is the deep layers, explored by a rank-a-hunter squad, and after the last mess, they upped the budget. And that includes them just chilling in the safe zone. So, even if they're just guarding the ports, they're getting paid to smack weak monsters. Then, He says they're setting up a base camp to help those struggling, so it shouldn't take long. The hero thinks it's just as he thought, with all sorts of chaos in the deep layers. Then Hiroto starts thinking about the last dungeon mess with the Cerberus, and another time, the Artemis Hunter school got wiped out. The boy realizes he got that app during a dungeon mess. He wonders if it's all random, or if someone's pulling strings. Then he figures the best move for him and Marino is to level up in the dungeon and get stronger. That boy notices the hero acting weird and asks what's up. The hero says it's nothing major. Then the break's over, and they're back on the move. The warriors face a giant monster, a dungeon worm, rank C solo, but in a squad, they're rank B. Then, worms start dropping from the cave ceiling. The shield warriors try to block them. Then, they make a gap for the mages to attack. The close-range fighters rush in. These folks are all veteran rank C hunters, and there's this dude in a red jacket just vibing, standing out like a neon sign. Our main guy, just chilling, watching the chaos unfold from a safe distance. Then, out of nowhere, he whips out a dagger, leaving his buddy totally bamboozled. A worm drops from the ceiling, aiming for the dude like it's got beef. But before it can even touch him, a knife comes flying in, taking it out. The red jacket guy's all curious about who threw it, and Mirano's like, whoa, didn't see that coming. Hiroto's all, yo, if a dark knight shows up, we're toast. The girl laughs, saying knights are only on the deep floors, so no stress. But the boy's like, we're heading to the intermediate floors soon anyway. The main dude's like, let's pretend we're lost and hit the deep floors. Mirano cracks up, and the guy's like, what's so funny? She jokes that he's still trying to do their job right. Hiroto grins, saying they should at least earn that advance payment. Then the boy's like, hey, some folks fell into a hole. Might be hurt. He calls the squad to check it out, because they've got healing potions in their bags. From a distance, two dudes chuckle, watching their targets drift from the group. At the Hunters Association, Tommy was now a legit rank A hunter. He's thinking how lucky he was to use that trick before the system spilled the beans on the target's location. He figures the quicker he takes out his targets, the better, and knowing their spot is a win. Once you hit rank A, you get access to the computer system, meaning you can snoop on any association member. Checking out the main guy's info, the hunter finds out he's working as a port in the old Artemis School dungeon. The man jumps up, all hyped, because he's finally found his prey. This bald dude rolls up to the young crew, saying one of their members vanished in the last battle. The boy's like, yeah, I don't see him anywhere. Then the man says his buddy might croak if they don't find him, and the boy's like, if that's the case, let's split up. The young dude calls Hiroto to roll with him, and Mirano can tag along with the other guy. He explains that after saving their group member from the crevice, they'll help find his buddy. The main guy waves goodbye to his friend, and tags along with the boy. Suddenly, a bunch of dudes pop up, surrounding them, and Hiroto's like, what's going on? This blonde-haired guy shows up, remembering the sword the boy pulled in the dungeon that day. He says it's the same sword, the current, rank 1, Kuju Ayako, used back in rank B days. Plus, she had that dope storage ability. Then he says whole buildings could get wrecked with one swing of that sword, and he was shook the first time he saw it. Hiroto's like, does this hunter really have rank S skills? The guy's like, she hit the top of the rank at 20, so yeah, she's rank S. Then he mentions the only rank aptitude hunters left are a bunch of old dudes. Hearing all this, the main guy realizes rank S hunters are tied to the same app system he uses. He figures if the sword can wreck buildings so easily, it means the hunter probably powered it up with human blood. The main guy's like, what's this got to do with anything? And the man says he wants that weapon, even if it means taking out the boy. Hiroto's fuming, wondering how many people he's off for selfish reasons. The guy smirks, saying he lost count after 20. Then the main guy's curious about Mirano. The man says his bald buddy wanted first dibs on her and prefers being alone with her. Hearing that, the young dude's raging. He thinks even though the girl's got mad martial arts skills, her levels and stats are still low. Then he starts reminiscing about his buddy, and pulls out his sword, saying it seems the app folks really want him to be a hitman. The guy's curious about what he's on about. Hiroto explains he needs to take people out to power up his weapon. After that, he's all, I know I'm not some god or whatever, but if those losers show up, I'm not holding back. But then, the dudes crack up, calling him a joke, saying they won't hold back either, especially against a weakling. Boom, the protagonist vanishes, and, in a flash, he's right in front of one guy, smacking him with his sword. Everyone's like, wait, what? Cause this dude's rank F, so he shouldn't be that strong. Hiroto's all, you guys know how epic my sword is, right? Didn't you suspect anything? Then, he charges again, and one guy tries to hit him, but his sword shatters. The young dude seizes the moment to finish that guy off. Afterward, he's like, did you really never think I might be dangerous? He tries to hit another guy, but that dude dodges, and he tells his crew, even if that kid's got a sick weapon, he's still rank F. But before he can keep talking, he gets whacked. Hiroto's like, nice dodge, but you're still in my zone. The rest of the guys are freaking out. Then the protagonists all, you underestimated me because I'm rank F, and that's why you lost. He starts walking toward them, making them sweat. That crew was all about causing chaos, stealing gear from the weak or trapping the strong. That's how they rolled. Now, they're feeling what they made others feel. Then, the boy pops up behind them, and the last thing one guy does is yell for help. Hiroto's thinking, heard that one before, from all the lives he's taken. Now, only the guy who lured him is left, and the protagonist's like, what were you gonna do? The boy's nervous, saying he was just gonna threaten him. And the young man turns away, buying that excuse, deciding to rush off to find Murano. That boy tries to be sneaky, pulling out poison and chucking it at him, but Hiroto dodges it without even looking back. The protagonist draws his sword, saying it's a shame, because he thought that guy was the only decent one. Then, he strikes that enemy, but he doesn't finish him, just like the other guys who get up and start running away. But before they can escape, a massive serpent shows up and gobbles one of them. Seeing this, they're like, why is there a cave serpent here? The boys all, the Cerberus thing was like this too. Why do these dungeon accidents keep happening? And they're all happening in this dungeon. Soon after, he notices the protagonist acting weird. That serpent whips its tail, smashing those humans. Then, a bunch of panels pop up for Hiroto, and he's like, weird. The system's counting those deaths as mine. The boy grabs his sword, thinking he better handle this fast. Without much hassle, he slices the snake into pieces. Then, he focuses on finding Murano, hoping she's okay. After a bit, he finds her, and she's already beaten up that guy. The protagonist's relieved she's alright. Then he goes up to her, asking what happened, and she's like, that guy attacked me out of nowhere. The girl asks if anything happened to him too. Hiroto's like, yeah, but I made them run. But they didn't get far, because a cave serpent ate them. Murano's shocked, because just days ago there was that Cerberus, and she's wondering why these accidents are happening. The boy remembers Murakami saying to avoid dungeons for a bit, because something's off. Then, he tells his friend maybe it's linked to the Demon Lord's app. The girl's like, how do we report this? It'll cause a huge panic. Hiroto says they gotta move to the next stage of the plan sooner than they thought, leaving his friend surprised. The young man's like, we had a wild battle, so it wouldn't be weird if 2 ports vanished. Then, he reaches out, inviting his friend to survive together. And the girl, without a second thought, is all in. Outside the dungeon, guards are on high alert, looking all serious. Then, out of nowhere, someone starts hyping up the squad. It's none other than the hunter, Tamiwa. He barges in, and the guards are like, whoa, dude, you can't just waltz in here. Flashing his card, Tamiwa's all, you know I'm a rank a hunter, right? But the guards are like, rules are rules. Even for you, bro. Tamiwa's like, seriously, you guys are just guards, and you're blocking me. One guard, sweating bullets, is like, rules are rules, man. We can't just ignore them. Then, with a flick of his wrist, Tamiwa whips up a crazy windstorm. And boom, one guard's out cold. Tomiwa's like, yeah, you be in trouble breaking rules, but worse if I don't handle those kids. Then he's like, guess I need a legit excuse. He's got a wild story ready, about a monster popping up in the dungeon, and how it wiped out everyone inside and out. The guard's freaking out like, dude, are you nuts? Tomiwa's like, tough luck, man. Dungeon accidents happen. Just give up. The guard's shaking. You're insane, man. Tommy was like, I'll take that as a compliment. Then the guard's like, there's already a rank A in there, just as strong as you. Tommy was like, whatever, I'm already rank S level. Plus, he's got this epic artifact around his neck. Then he grabs a soldier's head, grinning. He's like, no way a single rank A can take me. And he's ready to kick things off. But then, someone calls him. He's confused, thinking there's no signal in dungeons, but oh yeah, he's still outside. It's Takato on the line, and Tommy was curious why he's calling. He picks up, and Takato's like, about those 2 you're after. Tommy was wondering how they know that. Takato's like, we're Demon Lord hunters too. Want to join forces? Tommy was fuming. You trying to steal my prey? Inside the dungeon, the main dude's like, this is super sketchy. Murano's like, what do you mean? He's like, thinking about that, rank S hunter, what did they say at the cliff? Hiroto's like, she has a weapon that drinks blood, and it's way stronger now. Means she hit the dungeons and took out a bunch of people. Her name's Kuju Ayako, top hunter, super dangerous. Nearby, a group is chilling. The main dude shows up, tosses a backpack their way. Murano's like, you finished Port's job. He's like, yeah, we get fined if not. Then he's like, what's that vial? She's like, just a fee from the guy who attacked me. They decide to dive deeper, smash monsters, level up. Then he remembers a special person who was sick. He's like, isn't it weird how potions heal wounds and even diseases? She's like, they boost chakra, fix internal damage. Hiroto's like, potions are in treasure chests or dropped by monsters. Pretty common. Then he's curious, who's making all these? Deep down, green lights pop from defeated monsters. All that energy flows through a lab, and into Vasha Valtine's capsule, the sixth celestial demon lord. With that power up, the creature's eyes snap open. In a fancy spot, a woman plays an instrument. It's Kujo Ayako, and she's like, I can hear the sixth demon lord's music. And she's like, it's beautiful. Right after, it's mentioned they mess with those two from Artemis School. And guess what? It's sacrifice time again. The lady says this time they're definitely going to catch them. Then, the Dungeon of Beginnings will keep the beat going, and all the demon lords will gather in the old National Assembly Hall. After that, she asks the demon lord to play for this world and the others. Back on the call, Tamiwa asks if Takado's trying to swipe his prey. The young dude replies he's not planning on it, but he remembers the hunter took out a Hunters Association employee, and hearing that, he's speechless. Then, Takado tells the guy not to go overboard and warns they'll cover up the employee thing for him, so he shouldn't do something dumb like taking everyone out. The young dude mentions it was a message from Queen Kuju Tsuya. Right after, he says they won't mess with his hunt, but he shouldn't mess with their plans either, unless he wants the whole association as enemies. Tamiwa says he totally gets it. The young dude advises the hunter not to give his prey any time and to take them out as soon as he finds them. Hearing this, the guy says the young dude's underestimating him, since his targets are just rank F and E. The boy then says it's exactly because of those ranks they got that artifact. Then, he ends the call. Takada mutters to himself that Kujo is one irresponsible woman. Even though she had no ties, when she found out her bro was being hunted by Tamiwa, she didn't even flinch. The young dude wonders how she can let him die without feeling guilty. With that, he decides Kuju Tsuya is someone he doesn't want to mess with. Inside the dungeon, monstrous trees with a level C difficulty pop up in front of the protagonist and his buddy. Mirano's blown away by the number. It's like a whole forest. Nearby, a humanoid tree is chilling on a trunk, and unlike the others, it's got a level B difficulty. Then, the creatures move in with their vines toward the humans, but Hiroto whips out his sword and slices everything in front of him. His buddy's right behind, handling the plants like a pro. Mirano seizes the moment to charge at the queen, but she casts a spell, making stones float and zoom toward the girl. The girl dodges the attacks, even though they're trickier. Right after, she jumps, activating her special move, landing a hit on the creature's head, taking out even the trees around it. With that, the girl levels up. But there are still tons of trees, leaving the humans surrounded. Hiroto shows up with his sword, telling her to duck, and she does it fast. The protagonist then uses his weapon to wipe out those trees with one swing. Then, a tornado appears, sweeping up all the logs, and the girl's freaked out by that power. The boy reaches her, saying her Morningstar ability is insanely strong, like a one-hit wonder. Mirano asks if that's a bad thing. Hiroto tells her her level and stats are still low. Then, he explains she shouldn't risk it against a psychic opponent with her current strength, and the girl starts messing with her panel. The young dude thinks her martial arts are solid, but not for fighting tons of opponents head-on. And even for techniques meant for multiple enemies, they're based on one-on-one fights. Another issue is the girl's armor is as thin as paper. Hiroto thinks he can't let his buddy risk her life every time. Right after, a window pops up for the protagonist, telling him he learned a new skill, and he's shocked to find out Gluttony can do that. The boy remembers it was his first serious monster hunt. Then, he starts thinking about the skill he got to control vine tentacles. Hiroto calls his buddy to head back to the psychic assassin's nest they saw before, and she's curious why. The boy explains these monsters don't give much experience for their difficulty, and this time they'd skip them. The girl then asks if that wasn't already the plan. With a grin, the protagonist says experience isn't the goal, and he's got an idea. After that, the young dude activates this epic search power, letting him spot all the monsters. Next up, Hiroto busts out his skill to make a bunch of clones. The Tree Queen tries to smack him, but it's a total fail. Then, all the clones charge in, taking down all the baddies, even the queen. Mirano's totally blown away and says her buddy's a real beast. The guy's all. These enemies were weak sauce. That's all I had to do. Then a bunch of windows pop up, telling him he scored a new power, telekinesis, from the psychic assassin, and he's like, called it. Hiroto strolls up to a tree, asking if that's how it's done. Another window pops up with a mission offer, and he grins, saying he saw that coming too, but he decides to chill on that for now. Then, he asks Mirano to touch the tree and put her answer on pause too. Watching her follow his lead, he thinks their plan against the Death Stalkers going smooth and how sketchy it is. Tommy was wandering the dungeon because folks in the middle said his targets vanished in the chaos, and he's ticked those kids are so stubborn. Out of nowhere, a giant spider jumps him, trying to catch him off guard, but he squashes it with one hit. The hunter's like, for annoying me, I'll make my targets suffer before I finish them. Soon, he rolls up to a camp, saying hey to the crew there. Everyone's shocked, asking why he's there, and Tamiwa says he heard they were tackling the deep dungeon, so he's got a request. But before spilling the beans, he brags he just hit rank A. The guy's like, we knew that, and jokes it was awkward taking orders from him when he was rank B. Then, he asks if the hunter's planning another oops massacre and says now he's rank A, they can't pull that off anymore. And the hunter just grins, saying that's the plan. Then, he says he's after 2 kids this time. The dude says they'll help one last time because there's a girl involved. The guy then says they're still nuts. Everyone huddles up to hatch a plan. While Manhwa thinks about offing everyone there, he figures more help's better for the hunt. Meanwhile, the hero's smashing giant spiders with rank C difficulty. Then, windows pop up, saying he learned the spider's skills. The guy tests it, shooting webs from his wrist like Spider-Man. He's stoked it worked, while Mireno looks grossed out. Soon after, Hiroto says they've got all they need to help his buddy. Suddenly, Manhwa shows up, saying he's pumped to meet the kids. Seeing this, the hero wonders if that's their death stalker. With a grin, the hunter asks why the kid looks bummed. Then he asks if he really thought he wouldn't get caught before the event kicked off. Hearing this, the guy's sure this is their death stalker. And he's freaked, because this dude's power isn't far off from the rank S hunter he met before, making him realize this guy's bad news. Looking at Murano, he sees she's scared stiff. The guy thinks even if they fight right, they can't win. Tomiwa says his prey knows why he's there, and asks if they can start the fight already. Then, the hero opens the mission window from before. Mireno sees what he's doing and does the same. Soon, they both accept the advanced labyrinth challenge, and they get teleported. The hunter's left speechless, seeing that, while the rest of the crew wonders if that was some kind of power. Tomiwa then lets out a yell. He's so mad. The 2 kids end up somewhere else, and Mirano says her buddy's awesome for thinking of that, but the guy says it was just luck. Then, the hero explains he thought he could use that task as an emergency escape plan. Hiroto says he expected a run-in with the Death Stalker, but it was just a hunch without anything solid. Alright, buckle up, cause here's the remix. So, this girl's all, nah, it was a big deal. And she's convinced her buddy's got mad survival instincts cause you can't just wing it like that without thinking. Then she spills that when things go haywire, she just lets out a scream. The boy's like, wait, she just screamed? Hiroto gives his friend a pep talk, saying she's got the potential to level up, and the secret sauce for that is right there. In this cave, there's a bunch of ants, some caught in webs. One's the big boss ant queen, with rank S subjugation level. Boom. The hero jumps in, ready to rumble with her. The boy whips out his vine skills to snare the beast, but she's all, not today, and breaks free with her claws. Hiroto's shook by how fast she is, despite her size. Then he flips the script, using telekinesis to make her own webs trap her. With her slowed down, he goes vine mode again, and finally, he bags the ant queen. Murano's blown away that her buddy took down a rank S monster. Plus, he used the ant's webs to lock down the whole hallway. Then Hiroto's like, hey, you can finish her off now. The boy jokes they'd be toast if the vines and webs weren't stat-based. So, the plan's simple. He catches the queen, she levels up. If a new critter shows up, he's on the hunt. And then, rinse and repeat. With this, in hunter stats, the girl maxes out her skills. She's so hyped, she can't help but cheer. Her buddy's stoked for her. Later, the hero's chilling, watching the clock. His friend pokes him, saying chow's ready. The boy teases, asking if she's still in primary school. Mireno's like, nah, I learned cooking in my downtime, and serves up a masterpiece. Hiroto's impressed, giving props for her quick cooking skills. Then they dig in. The boy takes a bite, loving it, but wonders why she cooked. She's like, I don't want to lose. He's confused, and she says it's for studying. Still puzzled, he gives up trying to get it. Hiroto's just happy to have a buddy who's in the same boat, and the food's bomb. Murano's a bit flustered. She gets up, saying she'll grab water from a spring she found. Before she goes, she suggests he naps after eating. The boy realizes he's been sleep-deprived since helping her level up. He gets the HP's fixable with potions or magic, but sleep's non-negotiable. Then he crashes hard. Mirano gently pats his head. Later, Hiroto wakes up to the smell of coffee. His friend hands him a cup, and he's grateful. She suggests hitting the mall once they're free to chill. He's cool with it, but she's still a bit awkward. She mentions how people might think it's a date, and Hiroto's like, I'd hesitate if it was an invite, but it wasn't. She's annoyed, calling it a tough opponent, and he's like, what's up? She brushes it off. Hiroto's thinking how everything's awesome because they're both leveling up. They're both super stoked. Meanwhile, Takeishi gets a call from the front desk, saying Kuju Yuzuki's here, and he's like, let her in. He's pondering the idea of an adopted Kuju kid with a top-ranked woman, and recalls his son saying he introduced someone he'd marry someday. He muses they're not dating yet, but it's love at first sight. He remembers she's a survivor from the Artemis School incident and might have clues about Kazuya's death. Then Yuzuki walks in, and the young dude is totally mesmerized by her looks. The girl notices he's acting all weird and asks what's up. The guy just shrugs it off, saying it's nothing. A bit later, Takshi's all like, I totally get my son's feels. the young dude's on a mission to win her over, no cap. Meanwhile, in the cave, a light pops up in front of Tomiwa's crew. Just like the hunter said, something's about to go down. Boom, the main dude and his buddy show up. The guy's stoked to see the young crew. Hiroto's got some burning questions, starting with the lowdown on the Demon King's app. Just before they bounce back, the two dudes are chilling by a campfire. The main dude's I've done all I can. From here on, it's survival of the fittest. The girl is shook by her buddy's hardcore life skills, realizing he's on a whole different level. But maybe that's what having mad survival instincts is all about. Then, time's up, and they get teleported. Back in the now, Hiroto's still curious about the Demon King's app, but the guy's like, nah, not spilling the tea. The boy's like, what's the deal with the Demon Lord Hunters? With a cheeky grin, the young dude's like, not telling. The main dude's got one more question. Why are they targets? Tomiwa's like, taking you out benefits me. That's all that matters. Hiroto's thinking, rank S folks are wild, dangerous. And besides Yuzuki, it's safer to treat everyone as foes. The boy tells his buddy he's got this. Hearing that, the hunter's hyped to kick things off. Quick as a flash, the young dude whips out his sword and charges. But the guy blocks it with just his arm. No sweat. Then he yeets the boy far away, leaving the boy totally mind-blown. Soon after, Tomi was like, too bad for you, my skin's blade-proof. Hiroto's thinking, this dude's durability is off the charts. The hunter's like, you're a beast, but rank S hunters are even scarier. Then, the young dude grabs a massive rock and lifts it, making the main dude realize this guy's strength is next level. The young dude's thinking, if I go head-to-head, I'm toast. Meanwhile, Tomiwa's crew rolls up to Mirano, asking what's up. One of them's like, heard your rank E, let's go one-on-one. Hearing that, the girl charges, almost bonking him with her spear. The guy's annoyed because they were still chatting and tries to hit back. But the girl dodges like a ninja. Everyone's shook by her speed. Like, is she really rank E? Still, the young dude jokes, your moves are putting me to sleep. The attacks speed up, but the girl keeps dodging. Seeing this, the guy's even more confused about her deal. Then, the young dude realizes she's making just the right moves to keep up. Their battle rages on, and the guy's baffled because his stats should make him OP, yet she's reading him like a book. The girl keeps pushing forward, leaving her opponent salty because she's nailing every move. Soon after, the guy's cornered against the wall. Mirano activates her special move, but instead of hitting him, she smacks the cave wall. Boom, big explosion, and the young dude's sent flying. The girl tells the other guys they'd be smart to just give up. Meanwhile, the main dude and the hunter are still going at it. Tomiwa smashes a wall with a punch, and the boy's like, whoa, that's some serious power. Then, the young dude tries a sneak attack from behind. But with ninja skills, the young dude catches the blade with his teeth. The boy's relieved because if he hadn't leveled up in dungeons, he'd be toast. Then, the young dude decides if the usual stuff ain't working, time to get creative. Hiroto uses his telekinesis, launching daggers at his foe. But still, they can't pierce the boy. With a grin, Tommy was like, I've got HP and durability like an immortal, no biggie. Then, he gets all hyped because the boy finally realized he's kinda useless. The hunter then flexes an item called the Immortal Hero's Necklace, made by the system. Hearing that, the protagonist's like, guess I gotta use my genocidal god slayer ability. Suddenly, the young dude spots a rip in his enemy's clothes, and he grins when he sees it. After that, the protagonist activates his ability, making a bunch of clones. Each clone starts shooting webs. Then, he uses the vine ability to trap the guy. Tommy was like, dude, you really underestimated me. You think that can stop me? But before he can do anything, he's even more tangled up in those webs. Tomiwa starts laughing, saying he'll break free with his strength alone. However, the protagonist steps up, saying that's not going to happen. Hiroto explains that the hunter's power is based on the immortal hero Achilles, and his weakness is the heel. After that, the boy lands a cut right there. The young man wonders if the system used the Achilles legend to make that item, but he thinks it should work. Pointing his sword at his opponent, the boy says no matter how tough the guy is, this should stop him from fighting. Tomiwa, in turn, yells for his crew, telling them to use potions or healing magic on him. But he realizes all his buddies were taken down by that girl. Soon after, the hunter notices the young man was using the same sword as Kujo, but didn't use any sword skills. With that, the man feels the boy was holding back and still lost. After that, the boy freaks out because he doesn't think he can do anything against him. Suddenly, the cave ceiling starts to crack. Hiroto wonders if it's an earthquake. Mirano comments that the place might collapse. In that lab, Vashavaltan, the sixth demon king, opens his eyes. A new mission pops up, the monster. And so, he wakes up successfully. Suddenly, a light appears in his capsule. When the chase ends, the hunt for the demon king, Vasha's death, will begin. Until out of nowhere, a light appears on the battlefield, and a humanoid form of Vashavaltan emerges. The young ones instinctively feel the danger. That thing zooms past them while they're frozen. The monster approaches Tamiwa, leaving him terrified. Suddenly, the creature grabs the man by the head and lifts him. After that, the creature starts to melt and begins to merge with the hunter's body, who, in turn, screams in agony until a strong, bright light bursts out, making the boys cover their eyes. The protagonist then faces a monstrous version of the boy with a bunch of heads. Mirano notices the other guys were also taken, and she's like, "What even is this?" All those guys transform into knights in red armor. The monster snaps its fingers, teleporting everyone to a wrecked city. After that, it comments that giving toys to local creatures and asking them to resist fate was absurd. The monster then fires an attack that nearly hits the protagonist, causing an explosion. Seeing that, the creature thinks the current World Activity Terminal's performance is super low. The protagonist, seeing the destruction, thinks compared to last time, this is way more manageable. Soon after, Hiroto draws his sword, ready to fight, and then charges at the creature. However, another explosion happens, pushing the young man back. The monster says it was quite an extravagant toy, but without upgrades, it's just wasted treasure. Hiroto's shocked since even his God Slayer isn't working. After that, a window pops up, warning he can't use it consecutively. The boy then smiles, saying he's at a dead end. Suddenly, one of those knights charges at them, heading for Mirano. The protagonist quickly uses his vine abilities to trap him. The girl thinks the enemy's probably way above her level, but she might have a shot with that one-hit skill. However, when she moves to attack, she freezes, hearing a plea for help from inside the armor. By letting her guard down, the girl gets attacked, leaving the protagonist scared seeing that. The knight kicks the girl to get her off his sword. Awakened, Hiroto grabs his friend and asks if she's okay. With tears in her eyes, Mirano starts to smile and says there's no way to save her, as more complicated things are happening. And she says to survive, that's the only way. Immediately after, she says he needs to eliminate her. Hiroto's all puzzled about what she's on about. The girl reminds him that the sword gets beefed up by soaking up blood. She says if he offs her, his weapon level's up and his survival odds might get a boost, even if just a smidge. The main dude's freaking out, saying there's no way he can do that. Plus, taking someone out won't power up his sword. The girl says even if the odds are slim, there's still odds. Mirano then grabs her buddy's sword and goes for herself. The boy's totally in shock. The girl, meanwhile, says it's cool because he's got a stronger will to live than anyone else, and even if he's solo, he should keep fighting till the end. With a grin, the girl says she really wished they could hang out. Then, the main dude starts flashing back to the times he had with his buddy, until the girl finally takes her last breath. Hiroto calls her name, but gets nada. After a bit, the boy stands up and covers his buddy with a coat. A bunch of windows pop up, saying his sword's powered up. The boy thinks about how he tried dodging taking people out, but in the end, he lost something big, and that the system's got him hanging on by a thread. Right after, the young dude charges at the monster and threatens everyone with his sword. One of the armored peeps asks him to chill, saying they were just puppets. Even so, a level 3 tornado shows up, wiping everyone out, and the sword gets even stronger from all that blood. Standing there, the main dude apologizes to his late wife, as she risked it all to open that path and he'll keep fighting till the end. After that, he thinks there's only one sword move left, and if he whiffs it, he's toast. The boy then charges with his sword, and a massive explosion goes off, but the creature's still kicking and wonders what a weak body that was. Hiroto's frustrated, wondering if he still wasn't enough. The monster raises its hand and fires at the young dude, and he thinks about how he got stronger at the cost of someone precious, but couldn't do squat. On the ground, the main dude realizes any more fighting's pointless, but he starts yelling, not caring if it's lame, as he'll keep fighting. The monster, meanwhile, says it's pointless. Suddenly, the gluttony ability kicks in, and the sword gets the Morning Star ability that was Mirano's. Seeing that, the monster reaches out to attack again. But before it can do anything, the main dude charges while his buddy's spirit tags along. Thanks to the ability, a bunch of stars pop up. On the battlefield, only the boy's left. Crying, he thinks the system's Morning Star announcement means Mirano was telling him to live. The boy then starts shouting for finally getting it. A window pops up saying the player got plus 10 mental stats. Hiroto's mad, saying he doesn't need those messages right now. Then, he starts questioning why Mirano had to die and starts calling for someone, even if it's just a person from the app. Because of this, the boy gets the new title of World Avenger. Suddenly, a light shows up and someone starts materializing, saying they can finally chat. In shock, the boy asks who that person is. The individual says they're part of the app sent to be the main dude's buddy, and they're one of the Demon Kings, and that in the land they call the Third Parallel World. Ages ago, he was known as a Demon Lord. Right after, the man says the human must have loads of questions, but for now, he's got something to say, and asks him to listen up. But Hiroto's ticked and charges at the man, saying his buddy's dead and asking if that guy really thinks he'll stay quiet. But that being grabs the boy's blade with his hand. Then, he says he plans to respect the young dude's wishes as much as possible, but they don't have time for that. The boy then chills out and lowers his sword. The man gives props to the main dude for surviving the Deathstalker mission, and now he's in the app user's squad. Hiroto realizes there are others like him after all. After this, the young dude tries to talk about that game, but he's lost, making the man see the explanations not clicking. Then, he asks the boy to think of it as a pit of bugs. The young dude spills the beans that the rewards for this epic mission let him pick one of two options. First up, he can ditch the cap on his own levels. And the second, boost the level limit of his god hunter sword skill. Our hero's mind is blown, realizing his sword can get even more OP. Then, the guy mentions that unlocking the level limit can be done other ways, and that the sword's kinda special in this setup. But knowing himself, he figures leveling up by taking people out isn't really his jam. So, he figures the smart move is to remove his level cap. Then, he tells the kid he can snag his reward through the system window and to take his sweet time deciding. The dude then says it's time to dive into the main event, which is all about clearing that app. Hiroto's all like, wait, there's a way to stop this app? The young guy tries to spill the tea on clearing the game, but gets censored again. Right after, he says the big goal is smashing the cores of the 7 Foundation dungeons, and in Japan, that's probably the Nagatako dungeon. And he spills that he also wants to take down someone named Ishtar, one of the toughest core guardians, known locally as the Demon King. Our hero's curious about this Ishtar character, and the guy explains they've got some history, but now that he's gone all divine, revenge is off the table. Then, the young dude says they're out of time, so he's cutting to the chase. The Demon Lord then says the final rewards for clearing the app include 3 choices, first being the power to boost his divine status, but the second choice? Censored again. And the last reward is the power to bring back the dead, which totally grabs our hero's attention. The guy says there's still hope, and if the kid wants to end the app, they're on the same team. After hearing all that, Hiroto drops his sword and decides to roll with the Demon Lord's offer, shaking his hand, but poof, it vanishes. The young dude notes their time's up and asks if the humans got any questions. Wasting no time, the kid fires off questions, like what's up with the app, those monsters, and even what he is. Finally, he asks why they got the app and had to risk their necks. The guy puts a hand on the kid's shoulder, saying it's a survival game for the native species. Suddenly, the arm our hero lost in battle grows back, and the young dude tries to spill more tea, but gets shut down again. Then, he comments that he still doesn't have enough clout to meddle. Hiroto's like, what does that even mean? The Demon Lord says if he wants answers, he needs to level up to bring back his fallen buddy, because right now he's too weak to even chat properly. With a grin, the kid wonders what kind of nonsense that was. Our hero opens a window, thinking maybe boosting his level limits isn't the best move, and that Mireno's death was on him being weak. Even that being saw through him, and that's just sad. Right after, he picks the option to power up his sword. The kid then decides he's gonna hunt down those living off crime in the dungeons. Then, he grabs his sword, saying the dungeon shadows are calling. In a forest, a crew gets wiped out. Some dudes surround a girl, and one says it's a waste to offer. Another guy says if she plays nice, he'll make sure it's a quick end. In the end, it's survival of the fittest out there. Suddenly, a purple light flashes and slices that dude in half. Everyone's shook. Then, our hero shows up, saying once they chose the killer life, they signed up for the risk of getting wiped out. In the Hunters Guild HQ, Yuzuki's in her office saying something's fishy, just like she thought. Cause the missing people counts climbing, but only baddies seem to be vanishing. The girl figures maybe it's dungeon accidents, but there's still some sketchy stuff. Like for instance, fewer monsters in certain dungeons. Right after, someone walks into her office. It's Takeshi, who says sorry for barging in, and she says no worries. Even though the dude's all sorry, she keeps getting those cop-like gigs, even if they don't pay much. The girl just shrugs it off, saying she's cool with it and feels honored to help out. She even jokes about doing class rep stuff back at Hunter School. The guy grins, saying he can totally see her as a class rep, all responsible and stuff. She laughs, saying keeping the peace is more her vibe than slicing up monsters. Plus, no crazy dungeon missions for now, so she's gonna give it her all while chilling. Takeshi jokes it's like a volunteer gig that doesn't pay, so she can bounce anytime. But she says she's not all about the cash. Then, she calls the guy awesome, and he's all curious about what she means. Yuzuki explains it's the biggest Hunters Guild around, and yet they can just nope out of policing dungeons. The guy asks if she's heard of noblesse oblige. She explains it's about those with power having to step up, a fancy French saying. Takeshi says hunters like them have mad skills, so they should use them to help out. Then, she says she's stoked to be in the guild, and he's curious why. She spills that he's her dream boss. He laughs, saying compliments won't get her perks, but he's got good news. He tells her she's picked for the big Tachikawa dungeon mission with the black dragons. Later, Takeshi sneaks into a room, looking all shady, saying he's home. Turns out, the room's plastered with Yuzuki pics and a monitor to watch her. He jokes it's like she's right there. Then he says once they clear Tachikoa, they can finally be together. In his office, Murakami makes a call about the Kujo family in Kyoto. He hears they're just watching from afar. The caller says the Takakawa dungeon plans run by the old guard, like President Oyamada, leaving out the newbies. Murakami asks if the Kujo family or bigwigs are meddling. The Kujo family runs the country's politics and economy, and there's beef brewing between them and the old hunter crew. Murakami puffs his cig, thinking Takakawa's just a warm-up for the Nagatacho dungeon, and the outcome will shake things up. That's why Oyamada's scheming to sideline the new kids. Murakami sighs, saying the situation's getting sketchy. 3 months later, Tsuyako's in Kyoto for a meeting. Someone asks if they can still link the Takakawa abyss to another world. She says it's all about the founder's dungeon trick, and with the Kujo family's power, it's harder to flop than win. The 10th silent. A girl there says that's not what her boss wanted, and in Takakawa, she must wipe out the old sorcerers. Her boss wonders if the new gen can handle Nagatacho's abyss. The woman says supernatural powers have secretly run the country forever, and asks if that's not the Kujo family's way. The tent guy agrees, saying that's what the power's for. Then he asks about the other Kujo family member. Tsuyako says she doesn't get what being a Kujo means yet, but she's training hard in Tokyo. The tent guy says if she's doing well, it's all good. Then he finally steps out, shocking everyone. He looks like he's been around forever. Seeing him, the girl thinks it's the result of living long after 1,000 years. She kneels to show respect. The entity says she'll handle the Nagatacho plan and wipe out the old guard. Alright, buckle up, cause this story's about to get wild. So, there's this survival showdown going down in Nagatacho, and if things go south, the Kujo fam's power won't be the only thing on the line. No room for screw-ups here. The girl, she's all got it. But hold up, the big bad these days is the App Demon King. Yeah, you heard right. In the Hunter's HQ, this lady rolls up to Yuzuki, giving her props, and Yuzuki's like, wait, what? Turns out, she's up for the next rank S Hunter gig. Yuzuki's all, isn't this a bit early? The lady's like, nah, don't be humble. She spills that most hunters play it safe, but Yuzuki's been diving into danger zones, leveling up like a boss, and now regular dungeons are a snooze fest for her. Yuzuki's like, whoa, I'm kinda a big deal now, but she's still not sure she's got it all down. Then, the lady asks about Kyoto, and Yuzuki's curious if the Kujo fam's up to something. The receptionist drops that Takeshi's with the Black Dragons Guild, an old-school crew, and Kyoto might not be too chill with that. Yuzuki's like, the fam head said I can do my thing for now. She thinks she was going to be the Kujo fam's puppet post-grad, but now they're trying to run the whole show, and she's wondering why she's got this freedom. Suddenly, someone calls her over, and she's all, what's up? Turns out, Fuchu's in deep trouble. On live TV, these dudes are demanding their political buddies get sprung from jail. One guy at the meeting's like, some hunters are vibing with a group trying to flip the country, and they've already offed 100 prisoners. He warns if their demands aren't met, they'll start taking people out every 10 minutes. Yuzuki's like, most guilds are chilling at the Takakawa dungeon base camps. The guy's like, this was all planned out. Meanwhile, Yuzuki's checking out the group's profile, realizing even the cops and military would struggle. She asks if they expect her to storm the prison and play hero. One dude spills that 7 bigwig ministers got nabbed, and they're first on the hit list. He says Yuzuki's the only one with the skills to handle this. Yuzuki's like, why should I risk it for them? Then, another guy drops the bomb that a bus full of 30 kids got snatched too, and they're planning to swap between offing politicians and kids. Yuzuki's like, alright, I'm in. Fast forward, Yuzuki's at Fuchu prison. She's thinking she's not even top tier rank S yet. She hops the prison wall, knowing a head-on fight's a no-go, so she's sneaking in to save the kids. She knows a one-on-one with an S-rank hunter's a long shot, and if she bumps into one, it's game over. She crawls through a vent, wishing her buddy was there, cause it'd be a breeze. But she shakes it off, cause even with his weird skills, he's got limits. She thinks about how much she's leveled up since that crazy incident. Yuzuki peeks through an air vent and is shook by what she sees. In the room, there are people looking rough, and one dude's just chilling with a sword. She's like, what the heck is going on? 10 minutes earlier, in the prison, hostages are on the floor, freaking out from a gunshot. One health minister's ghost white cuz the bullet almost got him. A shooter pops up, laughing, saying he's always wanted to do that. After that, they roast the cops for thinking regular weapons could touch them, since they're hunters. The dude mentions how, as a kid, he dreamed of shooting one of those, and his buddy asks if he couldn't just go abroad to try it, and the guy's like, nah, it was just for kicks. Plus, you can't just go around blasting people in the countryside. His pal then remembers they were told not to off anyone just yet. The dude's like, yeah, I know, it was just to show they're ticked off. One of the kids on the floor bawling spots an open door nearby, and decides to YOLO it, making a run for it. That guy notices and says, according to orders, they can take out anyone who resists. His buddy, seeing that, wonders if he let that kid escape on purpose. The dude's like, he's always wanted to shoot a human with a gun. Meanwhile, that girl is sprinting for her life. But when she peeks back, she sees those guys chasing her. That guy can't aim for beans with his pistol, and his buddy's shocked, asking if he missed the minister on purpose. After that, the dude fires but misses and hits the wall, making him realize it's tougher than he thought. The little girl keeps running scared while that guy keeps missing. Suddenly, one of the shots grazes the girl's shoulder, and she hits the ground. But even so, she musters the strength to get up and keep running. That guy starts flexing because of that. His buddy tells him to take out that little girl fast, or they'll be in deep trouble if any hostage escapes. The dude tries to shoot again, but he's out of ammo. After running for a bit, the girl finally finds the exit. However, that guy charges at her with a dagger, saying this is more his vibe. The kid freezes, seeing him get closer. But before anything goes down, someone opens the door she was going to use to escape. It's the main dude, who tells the girl to duck. The girl dives to the ground, and Hiroto slices that enemy in half with his blade. With that, he thinks about how he only needs to take out 7 more to hit the big 100. The dude grins, saying he's got this in the bag. That kid is freaked out seeing all that. Right after, Hiroto opens a window and tosses a vial to the girl, and says it's a potion that'll heal her up instantly. After that, the main dude heads to where the other hostages are. The kidnappers are like, what's he doing here? Hiroto then stretches out his hand and uses his web powers to trap the guys who are like, who is this dude? The guy's like, you could call him a hunter assassin who takes down baddies. One of the men doesn't buy it and says he'll take out that kid. But before he can keep talking smack, the dude gets hit in the head by a blade. The main dude says they can't complain anymore when they're toast. Back to the present, Yuzuki watches all that go down. Seeing the webs, she wonders if there's a monster around. Right after, the girl realizes the person who was there is gone. She's worried because she doesn't know who that was, but figures he was someone skilled. After that, the girl decides to leave the duct. But as she turns around, she comes face to face with a rank S hunter named Hanazuhi, who doesn't seem friendly. Yuzuki thinks this is the worst case scenario since she wasn't expecting to meet a rank S hunter right away. But she figures if it's a one-on-one fight, she might have a shot. Suddenly, that person gives a friendly smile and asks how she's doing. He mentions he heard a rank S hunter join the mutiny, but never thought it was her. And the girl says he cares about politics to demand prisoner releases. Hanazuhi's like, nah, who cares about that stuff these days? The girl then gets curious about why he's doing this. The dude says they can only take people out inside dungeons, so he wanted to try it openly at least once. The girl, in turn, says even in dungeons, murder's a no-go. The dude laughs, saying she follows the rules too much. Right after, Hanazuhi asks the girl if she thinks he'll have issues if he takes out a Kujo family member. The dude then whips out his weapon, a chainsaw, and says it's a classic. Yuzuki tells him not to compare her to what she was a month ago. She's now a rank S hunter candidate, leveling up like a boss. Out of nowhere, the boy zooms forward, leaving the girl totally shook by his speed. Hanazuhi lands a kick on the girl, sending her flying like a superhero in training. The young dude fires up his chainsaw, saying it's time to start the dismantling party. At night, a bunch of soldiers are chilling in front of the prison. One of the kidnappers climbs up to the roof, demanding their wrong buddies get released. Suddenly, another boy pops up, saying it's his turn with a megaphone, and his buddy's relieved, because his voice is toast. His pal says to reach a noble goal, you gotta hustle hard. Then, the boy starts yelling too, asking for his crew to be set free. Suddenly, a web snags his back, yanking him back into the building. The boy screams as he's dragged down the stairs, like a cartoon character. When he finally stops, the guy's all, what just happened? The man realizes all his buddies are down for the count. In shock, the boy's like, how's this possible? We're rank A hunters. Then, someone shows up, saying political ideology's personal freedom, do what you want. But don't drag others into your chaos, dude. Meanwhile, Yuzuki's still running from that guy. With a grin, the boy asks if she knows why she's getting owned like this. He says it's a weapon made by the system, and she could have been stronger. But she didn't take any assassination gigs from the system. Right after, he says some people are picky, but no one says no to everything like she did. The boy also says he's used to chasing innocents or even kidnapping 10 kids. Yuzuki says she'd rather be eliminated than do that. Hearing that, the boy cracks up and says she's interesting, cause even with rank S, she tossed her privilege. Then, the young man asks if she's okay, cause she's about to lose a lot of blood. Hanazuhi says he's waiting for her to stop moving, he'd rather die than kill. Then, he asks if Yuzuki's heard of the dentist. He explains he's got a dentist kit and surgeon set, but no anesthesia. Right after, the girl turns, activating her sword's power. She thinks with that ability, she can boost her stats to epic levels. With that, she believes she can end the fight before she can't move. But the young man defends himself, mocking her weak attack. Then, he gives a wicked smile, saying he can handle that. Yuzuki feels the pressure, wondering what kind of power that is. Suddenly, her sword shatters. Hanazuhi laughs, saying she's defenseless. It'd be different if she took the system's missions. Then, the girl kneels on the ground. Her opponent's happy. She's finally stuck. Then, the boy starts looking for his blood pack and stimulant. Hanazuhi mocks, wondering if she'll still be beautiful without skin. The boy finds the kit, but before he can act, he gets a neck blow. Yuzuki's shocked to see her opponent taken out by someone. The girl asks who that person is. Hiroto thinks about how he expected nothing less from a system-made mask. Recognition blocking is no joke. But the girl recognizes that person as her buddy. The young man is surprised, realizing he can't fool his friend. Soon after, he removes his mask, revealing his true self. Meanwhile, Murakami crosses the Tachikawa portal, commenting on the Fuchu mutiny. The man wonders if it's the Nenejo family's work or just a coincidence. Then, he calls the Hunters Association, saying he heard about the prison incident and will handle it, and he'll do it solo, which is more than enough. In Fuchu prison, the protagonist explains to his buddy that the Demon King's hunters are dangerous. The girl says she gets him and what happened with Murano, and she wonders why he didn't spill the beans. Hiroto spills the tea about a friend getting booted out, and he's not about to drag her into this mess too. He's all, I can't handle this weight anymore, bro. The girl's like, should I spill the beans that I handled it? The boy's like, that'd be clutch. Better to keep it on the down low. Then Yuzuki's all, dude, you're always thinking about yourself. Out of nowhere, Murakami rolls up, jaw-dropping at Hanazui's body, a top-tier hunter, just chilling on the ground. The main dude's freaking out, thinking, this wasn't part of the plan, man. He suddenly remembers who that person was, realizing he's a big deal. The boy's brain is doing cartwheels, trying to figure out how he got out of the Cerberus jam, but he's gotten out of this time. The girl's like, yo, the prison mutiny? Handled it solo. The guy's like, wait, are you Yuzuki? And she's like, yup, HQ sent me on the double. Murakami's all curious, who's this dude? The girl's like, he's a rank F hunter. And the guy's like, why bring a noob here? Yuzuki explains it was urgent, thought he'd help with comms and getting hostages out. The guy's like, heard your power's off the charts, so beating Hanazuhi makes sense, but bringing a weakling is risky. The girl's like, he volunteered, no pressure. With a grin, the boy's like, heard you're into wild dungeon runs, guess the rumors are true. The main dude's thinking, phew, Murakami didn't clock me this time. Then the guy's like, let's bounce, let the cops handle this crime scene. Suddenly, the boy goes for the guy, but he dodges like a ninja. Murakami's like, was gonna chill if you didn't react, but here we are. Then he's like, did you take out Cerberus? And why pretend to be a low-rank hunter? The guy's like, spill the tea, I'm all ears. Yuzuki's like, why is he attacking out of nowhere? Murakami's like, 2 reasons, I know him, and because of her. He's like, no way she took down Hanazuhi. The hunter's like, why hide your power? Everyone knows about the Tachikawa dungeon. Then the guy's like, we gotta team up now. Disappointed you kept this secret. The boy whips out his sword. Can't let this slide. You're a wild card in the Fuchu mutiny. Murakami's like it or not, you're coming for a full checkup. We'll find out who you are. The guy's like, you coming with us? Hiroto's thinking, my power's beyond rank S. A full checkup will blow up my cover. The main dude's bummed, thinking all his Demon King dodging will be for nothing. Then he's curious. What if I say no? The young guy's like, I'll use force if I gotta. A little tussle doesn't scare me. Suddenly, Murakami vanishes, living up to his god of speed rep. The boy's dodging like crazy, barely keeping up. Then he tries to hit back, but the guy blocks it like it's nothing. Murakami's like, whoa, didn't see that coming. Yuzuki's just standing there, mind blown by the speed, seeing nada. Then the boy tries to web him, but the hunter dodges like a pro. The guy's like, whoa, this kid's got monster moves. Then he slices the silk with his sword. The guy's like, weird power, but you're too slow for me. Suddenly, vines shoot from the guy's back, and Hiroto's like, this should do it. Murakami's like, time for my ultimate move, can't touch this. Seeing that, the boy's jaw drops, realizing his opponent's not messing around. Then, the dude charges at him, but poof, the kid vanishes right in front of his eyes. Our hero then whips out his epic move, creating a bunch of clones and going full on stealth mode. Seeing that, the guy's like, whoa, this combo is next level dangerous. At that moment, Murakami's all, where'd he go? Can't even sense him. And then, he busts out his ultimate move. After that, the sneaky clones start getting sliced in half. With his god of speed skill, anything nearby gets whacked. The power's simplicity is its secret sauce. After that, the real Hiroto gets hit. That's exactly how Murakami climbed to the top. Yuzuki's thinking, yep, 4th place in the hunter rank, not surprised. In that showdown, even if Murakami couldn't spot the hero, he didn't sweat it, because his attacks hit anything close. In the end, Hiroto's got no choice but to unleash his green energy move, Phoenix Return. That power wraps around him while Murakami gears up for another charge. He definitely feels something's off, because Hiroto's not looking hurt. But the hero just went all out with his skills. As expected, an S-class ranker is so beastly, Hiroto's sweating bullets. Murakami's also thinking, what now? Can't win by holding back, but don't want to go too far. Meanwhile, Hiroto's considering using his Morning Star move. Both know if they don't get serious, it's game over. In a flash, they're ready to throw down. But before they can, someone yells for them to stop, and it actually works. Yuzuki's shouting, "What are you even doing, hero?" Remembering the Tachikawa dungeon, she says Hiroto's gotta cooperate and explain. Their enemies, the Demon King's hunters, so they gotta team up. Even though it's wild, someone with F-level skills seeing the status window explains his power. Rumors are buzzing about the new gen focusing on the hero because of the situation. Hiroto asks if that's enough of an explanation. The Hunter Association's got records of similar cases. Murakami says those cases were all E or F level, just like Hiroto and Murano, so the hero asks what happened to them. Sadly, they're not around anymore. The association tried to protect them, but they bailed, and even Murakami couldn't get the deets. President Oyamada tried to gather info, but all he knew was they could see the window and had crazy powers, which basically means they vanished. It's said the Kyoto Kujo family at least knows their names. Meanwhile, the girl apologizes for not being able to help more. Murakami doesn't care if Yuzuki's tied to the Kujo family or not, since they're already against them. So even if Hiroto was used in the Tachikawa dungeon, it'd be under the guise of being a traitor. Honestly, Murakami figured they needed someone like him, but using him would limit his potential. Anyway, Murakami says his view's different from the association's way of doing things. After chasing, seeing the hero's power, and confirming no human casualties, he gets who Hiroto is. So, being straight up, Murakami asks Hiroto to join his guild. The Shikama, or Scythe of Death, is one of the biggest guilds around, so from Hiroto's view, it's a sweet deal. But his mind's changed, so he says he's not interested. Murakami takes it well, like he saw it coming. Anyway, Hiroto makes it clear he'll still join the dungeon raid, and Murakami promises to keep it on the down low. So, the hero just turns and walks away, leaving his buddy super curious. After all, the plan's already set. In the end, the hero realizes his power's only at a strong hunter's level. With what he's got now, he can't really protect himself. But tackling tough challenges has been worth it. His old habit of running ends tonight, because once he beats the next challenge, it's time to strike back. In Tokyo, over in the Nagata district, our hero's chillin' on top of this totally abandoned building, deep in thought. Hiroto knows what's up ahead, the behemoth, the guardian of the place, all thanks to the kaiju's monstrous vibes. But Hiroto's not some Ultraman or dude with a giant robot, so he's all about running for his life, honestly. Too bad, doing what he wants isn't on the menu, because his mission's got him heading straight to Nagatacho. In this district, the dungeon's a no-go zone, super dangerous, and Hiroto's got zero backup. Anyway, his mission's all about heading straight to the entrance. If he can just get that monster out of the way and get inside, mission accomplished. Up ahead is the Tachikawa dungeon, rumored to be the biggest, baddest one in the whole country. Right now, except for the new gen hunters, every top-tier S-rank hunter, and the main guilds are gearing up for a massive mission in the deeper layers. But even though this dungeon's called the toughest in the country, it's a ranking that leaves out the world and the 7 great progenitors. Back in the day, S-rank hunters from everywhere tried to take on these progenitor dungeons, but not a single warrior managed to beat the guardians at the dungeon doors. The only time it worked was when elite hunters from all over, lured by a fortune worth billions, teamed up. Only America pulled off the logistics, and they not only beat the guardian but also explored the place. Still, what happened to those who went in is a whole other story. In Nagata district, Japan, even with loads of S-rank hunters, a big attempt to beat the guardians flopped hard. Same day, same time, over at the Tachikawa base camp, a guy's banging on the table, yelling about some intruder in Nagata district trying to go solo. Back then, there were reckless folks wanting to make a name with epic feats, but not anymore. A young dude asked the president what to do, but knowing even the strong would bite the dust, they say to ditch the intruder. The young guy can't believe a guardian can't be soloed, but the president's all like, they'd need at least 2 top 5 ranked, plus 5 S-rank hunters. Obviously, they'd need some backup too. Seeing this, the young dude starts sweating about the challenge, but that's exactly why no one, except the US, has been so gutsy. And now, after the chaos in Fuchu, having an intruder in Nagata just made things worse, to the point where the director's fuming, because his orders got ignored. Even without saying it, Murakami's on the same page as the president. He remembers the brave ones from back in the day, but thinks now the danger's common knowledge. Finally, seeing his buddy deep in thought, the president calls him, and that's when a possible answer pops into his head. When it comes to taking down the Nagata Guardian, the heroes studied every past attempt like a pro. This monster is estimated to be 50 meters tall, making it a tough cookie to crack. To bring it down, at least 5 top-ranked S-class fighters are needed. But the one stepping up to the plate is just one person. Hiroto's been all in for months, ready to take this beast down. His stats are off the charts, and his stance screams he's ready to rumble. Hiroto's already tackled all the dungeons he could, leveling up with gluttonous abilities. Sadly, he's hit the ceiling, and removing his level cap's the only way forward. He's done everything he can, and just thinking of Murano reminds him that running's not an option. So, Hiroto, who spent months with his eyes on the Guardian, is ready to kick off this life-changing fight. It seemed all soft, because at first glance, it looked like a slow, dumb beast. But then, bam, the horror behind it hits fast. Hiroto is sprinting through that abandoned concrete jungle, trying to cook up a strategy. Using his magical web ability, he traps the beast's hand, but it just gives away his spot. Hiroto knows this won't cut it, so he ducks into a building, making the monster stomp the place, trying to bury him alive. No chill. Its feet smash through the roof, and Hiroto's mentally cursing this monster's persistence. Alright, so check this out. Our dude's sprinting like he's in a video game, but then, boom, he whips out his sword to fight back, stopping any rubble from crashing down on him. Finally, the monster smashes through the building's walls, charging at the first thing that moves. But wait, it notices something weird. Its legs are totally stuck in that same magical web from before. While the monster's trying to get in, our hero's already wrapped the whole building in these webs. He spent the last 3 days setting up this epic trap, so no way the beast's going anywhere. But if he doesn't hustle, the enemy might just wreck everything and mess up the plan. So, the hero fires up his binding rope, chains of purgatory, and every other trapping skill he's got. All these powers hit their max and then combine into a mega prison. Even if he didn't know this would happen, the monster's legs and arms are trapped, like, super well. Even in old stories, the best fighters always aim to lock down the limbs. But the damage they took from using all their strength was so bad they had to bail and never come back. Knowing this, our hero's not about to make the same mistake and is already sprinting to finish the monster off. He stabs his sword into that tough shell, but the beast's so huge, his sword's like a toothpick poking a giant. Even trapped, the monster is still trying to go wild. But that's no surprise, there's a reason the subjugation team was scared and ran away. Anyway, the hero kicks in his Death Runner skill, making a bunch of clones. Plus, he throws in some nasty, poisonous, and corruptive magic that, when combined, triggers the ultimate poison. This trick solves the big body problem by attacking from the inside. The poison forms a tiny sphere that the monster accidentally swallows. Then, after getting it inside the beast, Hiroto backs off. He's tried tons of methods, but just putting poison on the outside didn't do much, unlike forcing it inside. Finally, this plan's flawless, and as expected, it kicks in when the beast screams in pain. Its screams are deafening, and it crashes back to the ground after thrashing around a lot. Now the hero thinks all that's left is to wait for it to finish itself off. But then, the monster's neck starts to swell, and suddenly, the mega prison shatters. Not just the prison, but the hero's hopes too, since the monster just got back up. In this case, the hero doesn't just stand there, he uses another spell to attack from behind. He also moves in on the enemy and, from above, uses gravity manipulation to make the monster super heavy. The creature's weak spot is its legs holding up a massive weight, so focusing on gravity was the right call. The monster's eyes are blazing with rage, so much that the hero figures it's wondering how someone so small is giving it such a hard time. But the hero's been saying from the start, he spent months with one goal, to take it down. If it comes to this and still doesn't work, Hiroto's ready to bail. The monster, though, isn't giving up and starts building up a dense energy in its mouth. It fires a massive magical laser that obliterates everything in its way. Hiroto can't believe it. If he takes it head-on, he's toast. But using the enchanted sword skill seems like a way out, so he activates Divine Annihilation with breaking limits. If he loses this power clash, Hiroto's gonna be nothing but ashes, so he puts all his will into fighting back, and crushes that monster's energy beam with an even stronger force, which slowly gets closer to the monster until it finally breaks through, slicing its neck and taking it down. All that's left are pieces of that guardian and a worn-out but victorious hero. At least that's what he wants to think, because suddenly, the guardian's hand starts moving again, trying to crush him. Even without a head, the monster is still kicking and has enough power to cause trouble. In a flash, the hero dodges, but he sees another hand way too close for comfort. Sadly, the attack lands, maybe because he wasn't ready, and the hero gets tossed, taking serious damage. His bleeding makes it clear to Hiroto that he's dealing with a deadly wound. He's been pierced by debris, so he needs to use the Phoenix's rebirth to pull out what's hurting him and heal up. Just one hit was enough for the hero to almost check out for good. He'd already busted out all his top-tier moves, and the Phoenix's rebirth was a one-time-a-day deal. Plus, he was out of juice for Divine Annihilation, so Hiroto was feeling pretty stuck. His heart's racing like a cheetah on Red Bull, and the monster's still itching for a brawl. Hiroto's bracing for the worst, but then, out of nowhere, the Guardian bites the dust again. and this time, Hiroto's gluttony skill kicks in, giving him a sweet resistance boost. His mission to ditch the level cap was also a done deal, which meant the monster's comeback was just a last-ditch effort. Anyway, Hiroto's totally wiped out. A bunch of message windows start popping up in front of him. The system's going off like a level-up party, with statuses flying in like confetti, which, honestly, feels like a victory dance for beating all the top S-class in the country. After a bit, Hiroto's not even hyped anymore, just confused, cause the windows keep coming. He figures it's all the XP he's racked up turning into levels. So, who knows how high this is gonna go. At some point, he notices his stats are almost maxed out. Then, he's thinking his stats are going through the roof. He remembers a game where a weak character got super OP real fast. He's seen stuff like this before, but nothing like what's happening now. It's so wild, he wonders if the Demon King's app is for the underdogs. In the Tachikawa camp, rumors spread like wildfire about the Guardian's fall, but Murakami's not buying it. He's already got a suspect in mind. The president's all curious, but another soldier says they can only credit it to some mystery hero. The president's shocked but also kind of bummed because they prep for sacrifices and someone just breezed through. If this was the new gen's doing, their rep would tank. Murakami's starting to doubt the hero did it solo. Then, he reminds the president about the association's no interference rule, which flips the script, cause breaking it would put the new gen in their pocket. Same day, same time, over at the Black Dragon Fang Hunter Guild, Yuzuki's just strolling with a dock in hand, until breaking news grabs everyone's attention. A reporter's talking about finding the Guardian's body, and it's a big deal since the last time was during the U.S. gig. It's a major win, but no guilds claiming it, and the association's still mum. Even the newspaper's expert, Miyamura, can't crack this one. But for Yuzuki, there's no mystery in a Guardian getting wrecked, cause her heart's yelling Hiroto's name in her head. At the Hunters Association HQ, everyone's chatting until someone with a shady vibe rolls in. He hands a guild card to the receptionist, who's kind of thrown off, cause it says rank C and 26 years old. But from her gut feeling, the dude doesn't fit the bill. She figures it's a fake ID, cause everyone knows the new gen's dungeon crazy. On some level, it bums her out about the association's slump. Choosing not to call him out, she takes the card and just asks which dungeon he's hitting up. But Hiroto says he's heading to Tachikawa, the toughest dungeon in the land. Everyone knows only the best tackle it. Even though there are smaller gigs like carrying stuff, no one steps up. The girl's ethics make her wonder what a rank C's doing there. But the hero's all, I don't care. He promised Yuzuki and Murakami he'd join the raid. Plus, unless he takes on a high-level dungeon, Hiroto knows he's not leveling up anymore. At the camp near the Tachikawa dungeon, everything's chill, but Hiroto's sneaking around inside. He's stressing about his power boost since his muscle stats are off the charts, but his dexterity's up too, so it's all good. Suddenly, someone pops up asking if he's really seeing a rank C hunter there, and they can't resist roasting the mask the hero's rocking. The guy says wearing a mask is no biggie and he's seen dudes like him before. Alright, buckle up, cause this is gonna be a wild ride. So, this dude's face was all scrunched up, basically saying, nah, rookies ain't welcome here, cause even rank Bs get treated like trash. Straight up, he told them low-level peeps were just a pain in the neck. He pointed out a squad up ahead, clearing the path. Those were the big shots, rank S hunters. In the main crew, there were 2 rank S hunters and 1 A. With powers so epic, they made a coward in a mask look like a joke. Oh, and the young dude? He proudly said he was a rank A in that squad. Murakami, though, totally stole the spotlight, breaking the convo like a pro. He rolled up, saying they had a meeting, and in 2 hours, they were diving deep. Murakami said the boy's skills were going to be super clutch. But plot twist, the boy he meant was the masked cook, and the hunter was shook. Being lower ranked, the hero just went with the flow, following orders. The hunter was all, why'd Murakami pick the cook? His brain was like, they must be childhood buddies, total nepotism. But Yuzuki caught the dude's shady look and shot back a glare that gave him chills. Hiroto was quick to ask if his buddy told Murakami he should join the raid. Honestly, it wasn't shocking, because the guy admitted they needed his muscle. Hiroto wanted to know how his boss saw him when they clashed swords before. Murakami was like, dude's a monster, no other way to put it. Hiroto's stats had doubled, so he wasn't sweating a loss anymore. Still, he knew he had to stay sharp, because he might face a bunch of foes. When asked, Murakami said President Oyamada would be on the front lines. To Hiroto, this mission was a chance to check out the rank S's power, so he could gauge his own. Out of nowhere, a darkness monster popped up, with a bunch of vampire-looking dudes. Murakami called them liches and red-eyed vamps, all high-level baddies. That young guy from before tagged along, even though he was benched. He thought it was the perfect time to prove himself. He wanted to take down at least 2, but something snagged his feet, and bam, a vamp was right there. He got a massive cut on his back, no time to dodge, and the other hunters felt bad for him. Hiroto yelled, that's what happens when you act all reckless. But Murakami knew better. Even a sneak attack shouldn't have dropped a rank A like that. It was clear those monsters had powers on par with rank S hunters. Knowing this, the hero figured he might need to switch up his game plan. This could be the perfect moment to flex his boosted power. As agreed, the other hunters stepped up. Murakami and Yuzuki were ready to handle it, while Hiroto kept his secret identity on lock. Outside the dungeon, a young dude was chillin', pulling a card from his coat. The Kujo family's dungeon setup was all set. Yuzuki and he wouldn't die. Or if they got close, the system would hit pause on the attacks. The young guy didn't want to mess with the Kujo family, cause controlling monsters from afar was straight up scary. In his head, the family reaching out felt like a divine sign. Anyway, the big deal was if the dungeon's difficulty spiked, even Murakami would be caught off guard. Back at the action, the vamps were ready to throw down with the hunters. One went for Yuzuki with a punch that left her impressed. The worry was clear on her face, but she kicked one back like a boss. But exhaustion was creeping in. An elder vamp should be a match for a top-tier rank B hunter. But against rank S hunter Ishizuka and her, it was holding its own. For the rank A hunters, one tried to take out a vamp like usual, but it just popped up behind him. Luckily, a tanker swooped in to save him from getting wrecked. A mage raised his staff, ready to unleash a fiery spell of doom. And boom, he cast it, torching all the evil beasts, causing a dungeon-shaking explosion. Only one arm of the vampire gets chopped off, and guess what? It just grows back like a lizard's tail, but way creepier. There were 11 rank A hunters, but they were still getting owned by just 2 baddies. Yuzuki suddenly snaps out of her thoughts when those 2 team up to sneak attack the leader. But, turns out, that was the worst move ever. Murakami's nickname wasn't just for show. He slices them up like he's making a fruit salad. The hunters kinda saw it coming, but the vampires, totally blindsided. Even Yuzuki thought it would take more than one slice to finish the job. With Murakami in the mix, the battle flips, showing off why he's one of the country's top dogs. Getting back in the zone, he yells that they can't let more people bite the dust, so he tells all rank A hunters to vanish. Except for Yuzuki, they're all sent packing. Hiroto, meanwhile, wonders if Murakami's noticed the same thing he has, especially since, while checking out the monster's stats, his eyes scream that at least 20 more like the last 2 are on their way. The Lich seems to be the mastermind behind this monster parade. He's got a scythe and swings it around like he's in a horror movie, giving the hero major creeps. One of those swings sends a deadly light blast flying. Hiroto knows touching it would be game over. The blast heads for a huntress, but Hiroto dives in, saving her just in time. She thanks him, but there's no time for chit-chat. Later, after a quick escape, healers patch up the wounds. Hiroto sits alone, deep in thought. Murakami comes over to thank him for preventing another loss, but he mentions he didn't plan on leaving him in the thick of it. The hero catches the vibe and pops a real question to Murakami. During their fight, Murakami said he wasn't going all out against him, so Hiroto asks if he's now giving it his all. Sadly, Murakami admits he's right. Yuzuki, overhearing, asks her boss what the plan is. The monster's strength is way off the charts now, so Murakami calls for a retreat to report back to camp. They both agree, but they need Hiroto's input, who's suddenly MIA. By now, Hiroto's already sprinted far from the crew's hideout. He's convinced they can't handle these monsters, so he heads solo to the nest. Hiroto skips the small talk and charges at the Lich. Sword in hand, he slashes through everything, proving solo's the way to go. Vampires try to trap him, but he slices them down like it's nothing. One tries the same trick that took down a rank, a hunter, hiding in the shadows, but gets split in 2. With a clear shot at the scythe, the Lich swings an aerial slash, but Hiroto's ready for it. Dodging easily, he points out that repeating moves won't cut it. Then he uses his spiderweb skill to trap everyone, since they don't know his powers like he does. Far from the chaos in the Tachikawa dungeon, a woman sips her tea, suddenly interrupted. A weird black crow lands in front of her, grabbing her attention. She mentions she's chilling in a cafe in Daikanyama, not the best spot for surveillance. But the crow says she knows they're always watching her. She's trying to tell her stalker to find a better hobby. To the crow, she's a major threat, so her wishes don't matter. Even with an incomplete app, she's got the potential to outdo the master. Plus, he checked the coast was clear before reaching out. Finally, she says there's no need to be so uptight, she won't fight back, and asks about Tachikawa. The crow replies that the place is ground zero for all the accident experiments, and if it flops, years of work go down the drain. In the girl's way of seeing the crow, whether it flops or not didn't matter, so she asked if she'd get in trouble for having rebellious thoughts. Anyway, even if things went south, as long as they had the new gen, Nagatacho would be chill. The whole point of these past experiments was to control the abyss whenever they wanted. But one thing should never slip your mind. It was all about controlling the dungeon or, in other words, the monsters chilling in it. A tech that gives a leg up over countries dealing with these disasters. And later, it'll be a tech so powerful it could rule the world. This would be a way to boost the Kuju family's clout. So, even though she was held for this, the girl told the crow she'd just keep it cool. Back on the battlefield, a bunch of monsters are taken down, and one of them, staring at the jailer of its buddies, starts shaking in its boots. Hiroto says it just had rotten luck, as he wanted to flex his own strength. For the next round, he wants to face the monster with just his basic stats. Then he tells the vampire to come at him, but his vibe is so intense it freezes it for a sec. Naturally, the monster snaps back to attack the boy. It tries to throw everything it's got to take down the hero in one hit, but when it zooms past him, it feels the damage meant for Hiroto and drops defeated. Hiroto beat his enemy without even using his sword skills, so it was pretty clear he was the top dog there. Still, being the strongest didn't stop him from getting a surprise visit. Both Murakami and Yuzuki showed up, and neither could believe Hiroto took out all those monsters solo. Hiroto says, yep, not trying to be all mysterious, so his pals say it's epic. No matter how you see it, Murakami doesn't think these enemies are beefed up like the others. Still, he thinks it's wild that Hiroto doesn't get swamped by so many. Plus, from the cuts on the bodies, most were sliced in one go. Murakami started to think the skill the boy showed before wasn't just luck. So, he says Hiroto's skill really went beyond rank A and hit rank S territory. But Yuzuki sees the whole scene differently. Murakami hinted the enemies were weaker, but maybe they were the same as before. Even so, even for someone like Murakami, taking down so many beefed-up monsters would be impossible. Then Yuzuki gets the chills thinking about how strong Hiroto might be. This idea meant something beyond normal happened, and she couldn't blame the boss for tossing out the unbelievable. Still thinking that, Murakami says the boy's a prodigy and asks again if he wants to join his guild. Meanwhile, as said before, the hero says he's not interested, making the hunter laugh for getting turned down twice. Still, Murakami makes it clear that whether chasing after girls or recruiting talent, he's persistent, and somehow Hiroto knows this. Anyway, if he ever joined a guild, it'd be this one, so they shook hands on it. Later, that glasses-wearing young dude chats with a president about Murakami being alright. Plus, they both know the so-called rank C hunter in the raid was using a fake ID and a mask to hide his face. To make it worse, when tested quickly, his hunter skills were marked as rank F. Oyamada can barely believe Murakami would be so sloppy to give a prime spot to such a drag. To be fair, the young dude quickly says that even though the group was big, they didn't have many S-rank hunters. But it didn't matter the situation, it was still a bad call. The president, on the other hand, remembers the boy also added Yuzuki to his crew. But since her strength is rank S level, the young dude said it wasn't an issue. Anyway, Murakami's pick could only be seen as favoritism. When part of the Tachikawa attack squad, the hunter's voucher skyrockets and can go even higher if they're good looking. In this case, the leader's assistant jokes that Murakami might have a thing for boys, but Oyamada quickly shuts her down, saying such things shouldn't be said even as a joke. Anyway, the glasses-wearing young dude remembers Murakami picked a weakling for the front line. All three squads would dive into the dungeon depths to fight alongside his team. Alright, so this young dude's all like, yo, cutting our defense is basically playing dodgeball with a beehive, but Oyamada's just chillin', deep in thought. Even with the Kuju fam or the Gov breathing down his neck, the Prez knows Murakami's all about that meritocracy life. Oyamada's got no beef with his buddy, but he's super curious about the real deal behind this recruitment gig. Flashback to camp, our heroes all. Why am I in the VIP attack squad? And everyone's like, wait, what? Turns out, there's already a deal in place, and for our hero to level up, he's got to tackle those hardcore dungeons. To boss up in the future, he needs to peep the S-rank hunter's skills. Knowing he's got the juice to show his true power would make things way easier. But Hiroto's plan? Keep it low-key, like a ninja at a library. He straight up asks Murakami to keep him on the DL, but Murakami's already spilled the beans. Hiroto's got F-rank skills, so the dude's curious about what led him here. Murakami's got a soft spot for underdog stories, but he doesn't dwell on it. Murakami's all about telling the hero's epic tale. If he shines, it's not just about clout with the association. He'd be a legend. Plus, joining Murakami's guild means being the right-hand dude, which is a win-win. People say the strong can either bully the weak or show mercy, but Hiroto's not buying that mercy's Murakami's only game. Since getting the app, Hiroto's lost stuff, but gained a radar for people's true colors. That's why he's still on the fence about joining. Not being a full-on guild member makes him wonder if he can stick around. Oyamada's and Daido's squads are all members, but Murakami's open to newbies. S-rank hunters usually join big leagues, but Murakami's guild isn't top tier, so it's got few S-rankers. That's why Murakami's keen on having the hero on board. Then, bam, everyone gathers for the attack squad lineup announcement. Murakami's squad gets stuck in the back, and he's not happy, calling out Daido. Turns out, they found out about the F-rank kid with a fake ID on the team. Daido's like, it's hard to trust with this sketchy sitch. They thought it through and decided they couldn't mess up. So, only Murakami's and Oyamada's squads made the cut. Hiroto's worried and asks Murakami if he should bail. But Murakami's like, nah, and wonders if Daido's having a laugh. Daido's cracking up, explaining the rumors about Murakami picking the kid for weird reasons. But Daido doesn't buy it, seeing the grossed out reactions. He jokes that ditching the kid would solve all the drama. Daido's still laughing, teasing Murakami about looking love-struck. Before bouncing, he tells our hero to give it his all. In his book, even a small fry should try hard not to drag others down. As Daido leaves, he's thinking he's either lucky or got a solid excuse. Thanks to this twist, he managed to keep Oyamada's squad away from Murakami's. Last time, few powered-up units showed, and Murakami would have crushed them. But now, Daido's got a plan to unleash chaos and take them out, pleasing the Kujo fam. After all that, the raid on the Tachikawa dungeon kicks off. Even though it's a tough zone, the country's top hunters are ready and organized. So far, no super monsters have shown up, and while some got hurt, the healers are on point. With barely any scratches, they found the boss room before even hitting the last floor. First up, Oyamada's crew rolled in, and right after, Daido swaggered in with his squad. Meanwhile, Murakami's team got the stay outside gig as backup. Their job? Stop any bad guys from crashing the party, even if they weren't sure it'd happen. Murakami's all, hey, hanging back is important too. Yay, no. The boss was dubbed the Lifeless King, but had a sidekick, Carmilla, the Queen of the Night. She was lurking on this floor, ready to stir up trouble if she showed up. Still, the hero's like, nah, she probs won't show, but feels guilty for being there, unlike the hunter. Even though Hiroto's skills are rank F, his pals totally underestimated him, which Murakami thinks is the real issue. Naturally, everyone's curious to see Hiroto do his thing. Finally, the heroes all think those squads can handle the boss. Murakami hints Hiroto's worried about Yuzuki. The hero spills their childhood buds, shocking everyone, making them wonder if there's more to the story. Hiroto repeats his question, and Murakami's like, they'll be fine. But he adds, if the boss is like the last monster, it could be a mess. The crew ran into a bunch of undead, but none were beefed up. Plus, the hero didn't sense any danger, like he could chill. Murakami apologizes. Hiroto's like, nah, my bad, but the hunter's bummed. He wanted to see everyone's jaws drop when the hero flexed his skills. After all, he'd be the guild's super rookie, and Murakami wouldn't mind some fame. Suddenly, the hero's speed stat spikes, giving off major bad vibes. He senses something nasty from the gate, not just bad, but epic disaster level. Thinking about his childhood friend, Hiroto starts shaking. He calls Murakami, begging to hit the final floor, even solo. Hiroto tries to explain, but just says it's a gut feeling. Murakami thinks it's just emotions talking, so he says no. But if it's some secret power warning, he's down. Actually, Hiroto was tracking the boss's status, but couldn't spill, so he blamed his instincts. Luckily, Murakami's not the type to be unhelpful. Before they could move, someone showed up. From the back, Carmilla was coming, like, beat me first if you want to pass. Rumor had it, Carmilla was as strong as Murakami. So, he apologized to Hiroto for not granting his wish, needing everyone for this fight. It was the smart move for a leader, but Hiroto just drew his sword and leapt at the Queen of the Night, leaving her stunned. Before the team could react, he sliced her in half like it was nothing, clearing the way. Murakami was shocked, but now mixed with a bit of fear. Inside the boss room, chaos reigned as Hiroto and the guild leader raced to the fight. Murakami was out of breath, blown away by the hero's insane speed. He was proud of his speed, but couldn't keep up. The others lagged so far behind, they just stopped running. Anyway, the hero calls Murakami, sensing danger, and says he'll go solo. He vanishes, showing his speed wasn't maxed out. Murakami felt the pressure, seeing himself as a snail compared to Hiroto. Hiroto taking down Carmilla with one hit made it even crazier. Murakami thought if the world knew Hiroto's true power, the hunter game would change. This time, he wasn't scared, but hopeful for the future. Finally, at the boss battle spot, its heavy energy weighed on the attack squads. It showed up as the king of the undead with an SSS difficulty level. Alright, so picture this. These top-tier hunters, all S level, are totally bailing, feeling super embarrassed by this epic monster they're up against. The monster's all, oh, you want to run, and goes for the attack, but bam, out of nowhere, this insane firepower smacks it right in the face, like a knockout punch. The flames start to chill out, and it all ends up in the hand of the one who threw it. That's the president's power, and he's seriously ticked off at the new gen for not stepping up. He torches the whole boss with a fire tornado, but the monster's like, nah, and starts coming out of the flames. Then it just drops an energy beam on itself, scattering everything. This king's got mad regen skills, no doubt, but the president's still fuming, ready to wipe it out for good. So, they throw down in this epic battle, and it's so intense, it kind of bums out the squad. Sadly, the president takes the first big hit, and he's bleeding. Then, The cavalry finally shows up and freezes the beast's feet. Oyamada's not a fan of Daido's vibe, but their powers together are annoyingly awesome. Fire and ice, man, it's a killer combo against the king. The president knew if they shredded it and burned it to bits, it couldn't bounce back. Daido's all, yeah, our combo's annoying, and hints at ending Oyamada. Yuki Hamajo's thinking, even with their clashing skills and personalities, these vets are solid when they team up. But after they wreck the monster, Daido drops a weird bomb, saying it's time to say bye to the president, leaving everyone puzzled. Daido's like, I'm bummed, but yeah. The president's like, wait, you retiring? Daido's all, yup, kinda. Then, with a snap, he breaks free and says he's got to take out his old crew. Black smoke creeps across the floor, and he warns the real threat isn't the boss. Turns out they cooked up something wild, and now there are 50 souped-up vampire baddies. These vamps rush Yuki, who's thinking they're the beefed-up ones Murakami talked about. But one sneaks up, and Tatsuya tries to warn him, but too late. Yuki's down but alive, and his pals are getting surrounded. Things go from bad to worse, and those vamps start closing in on Yuki, making it clear he's next. Oyamada's yelling for his crew, but a vamp's coming at him. The president's busy, but he fires back, landing a solid punch on the monster. Even with all his strength, it's not enough, but his anger fuels his power, feeling underestimated. He takes down that vamp, calling it a weakling. Despite the win, Oyamada knows he can handle 5 tops. If he pulls off a miracle, maybe 10. But there are way more. Yuzuki's there too, freaking out over the chaos. She's smart, knows they're toast at this rate. Desperate, Oyamada asks Daido what's up. Daido grins, asking if he's heard of Shikigami. It's like a monster tamer, super easy to get. This tamer controls and powers up monsters, usually a Kujo family thing. The plans to tame the whole dungeon, past disasters had crazy monsters that shouldn't have been there. Daido spills the beans, and it all clicks. The old gen hunters were against the Kujo family, so it all ties together. Oyamada's like, does the girl know anything? But she's not convincing, saying she doesn't. She insists it's wild seeing Daido do this. Anyway, Daido's like, it's curtains for the president, but Oyamada's not buying it. Alright, buckle up, because this story's about to get wild. So, Daido's all pumped up, gathering his vampire squad, and orders everyone to be wiped out, except the prez and this girl. Daido's been holding a grudge against Oyamada forever, all cause of his snooty face. Things were looking pretty grim, but then, bam. Yuzuki gets a surprise from someone who totally confirms her bad vibes. Suddenly, there's a glimmer of hope, because Hiroto finally shows up on the battlefield, ready to rumble. Prez spots Hiroto and is all like, yo, is Murakami here too? But Hiroto's like, nah, not yet, which leaves everyone scratching their heads. Oyamada's first thought, Carmilla's here, and the dude's bailed like a scaredy cat. Daido's all smug, saying even if Murakami shows up, it won't change a thing. He also tells the prez their chat's over and warns Yuzuki he's got plans for her after the chaos. Kujo fam's orders were clear. As long as he doesn't offer, he can do whatever. Yuzuki's brain's doing somersaults because the Daido she knew was a good guy, fighting the baddies. But Daido spills the beans, saying he hired her because his crew thought she was cute. And shocker, he was only nice because he was into her looks. Daido's feeling free, finally getting that off his chest, thanks to the Kujo fam's power trip. For Daido, showing his true colors is the ultimate fun. With this bombshell, Yuzuki's shocked for a sec, but then she's all fired up with hate for her ex-boss. Daido's like, how's it feel knowing a bad dude's gonna do whatever he wants with you? But then, Hiroto jumps in, saying he's got a question. Daido's all ears, curious about what this so-called coward's got to say. Hiroto's talking about the rule of the strongest, and before anyone can blink, he wipes out all those super vamps in one swoop. His move, Divine Annihilation, maxed out. As the dust settles, Hiroto asks if that's what Daido meant, but Daido's too stunned to reply. It was a total smackdown of those 50 S-rank vamps. They weren't just beaten, they were sliced like paper, totally embarrassing. The ones under witchcraft had no choice but to charge, even if they were scared. It was like they were marching to their doom, accepting their fate. The shadow of the F-rank loser was gone, replaced by a godlike figure. Oyamada's mind's blown, doubting anyone like Hiroto could exist. He even questions if the world could handle someone like that. Daido's losing it, yelling for the hero to reveal himself. Hiroto calls out to Yuzuki, noticing she's a bit spaced out. When she snaps back, he recaps the sitch. All the S-rank allies are toast, except Oyamada, and she nods. Hiroto gets it. No more hiding needed with this crowd. Since small dungeons are no longer a challenge, he ditches his mask. Showing his true power to the association is key now, because he's strong enough. With that in mind, he introduces himself as Hiroto Ijima, the F-rank hunter. Sword in hand, he charges at more of those super vamps. Daido sees him taking out the closest monsters, realizing what's next. In seconds, Hiroto's above him, and Daido sees his end coming. But Hiroto remembers killing in a dungeon's a no-no, and he's unsure of Daido's tricks. So, he decides to act only to stop future casualties. Maybe Daido had a glimmer of hope, but Hiroto's sword strikes without mercy, and he was left in such a way that no one could pin his death on anyone, like a ghost leaving no trace behind. After all this chaos, Oyamada takes a deep breath, but all he can say is he's in a total plot twist moment. Suddenly, the president hears his name being called, and Murakami finally shows up looking like he just ran a marathon. Not seeing anything there, the hunter asks if Hiroto handled those supercharged monsters. So, the hero nods. But Murakami's like, what's the game plan now, dude? The truth was, the protagonist had flexed some unreal strength in front of the association. So, Murakami, being a bro, warns Hiroto he can't stay in the shadows anymore. But the hero's like, yeah, that's the plan. As long as he gets the green light to dive into epic dungeons or face off with top-tier hunters. Cutting to the chase, Oyamada asks which guild Hiroto's joining, but Murakami's not giving any hints. It made sense for the president to want Hiroto, so Murakami suggests trying to recruit him. Oyamada, though, admits he always saw himself as a beast, but after seeing the hero in action, he knows Hiroto's not someone you can just boss around. Yuzuki's shook that the president, who's all about winning by force, is just chill about it. With just one epic battle, the hero not only earned the guild leader's respect, but also made them admit they can't control him. Anyway, because of his position, Oyamada warns he can't skip a new status check on Hiroto when they get back. The president says having such a powerhouse hidden from society is a major loss. Japan's gonna need Hiroto as a secret weapon, and he'll bring some serious clout to the country. Yuzuki wonders if the hero's power is really that big of a deal, but after seeing it all, questioning it seems silly. On the flip side, Oyamada trusts Murakami's judgment and doesn't sense any bad vibes from Hiroto. So, after mulling it over, he figures out what the hero wants to hear. Like a pact against the new-gen hunters and the Kujo family, the president says he'll reveal the boy's existence, but he'll do it by announcing him as the top dog among the S-rank hunters. Everyone's got their own way of dealing with this recognition. Yuzuki's sure the last battle was epic, as she can't even gauge her friend's strength, but she's curious if Hiroto's leveled up enough to earn this title. The hero himself wonders if being called #1 is over the top, but Oyamada says his power can't be contained by Japan. Based on his experience, Oyamada's confident he's right in calling him the strongest. But at least, while the red tape's not sorted, the president uses his clout to recognize and applaud the hero. So, from this day on, after a simple handshake, Hiroto's the newest Japanese S-rank hunter, and soon finds himself in a fresh battle at the Nagatacho dungeon. In a dimly lit place, the Kyoto household name comes from cultists, gathering for some kind of ritual. Things are going smoothly when a potential female sacrifice is placed at the center of a mysterious symbol. But surprise, it's Mirano there, and slowly the girl's eyes open. In a swanky hotel in the imperial capital, one of the rooms has a new tenant. Hiroto, who's just woken up there, is still trying to get used to it because the place feels way too fancy for his vibe. Anyway, after brushing his teeth, he suits up to visit the association, because today marks his first visit as an S-rank hunter. At the Hunters Association reception, a little mix-up happens, because the receptionist notices that, apparently, an F-rank member wants to meet with President Oyamada. Knowing he doesn't need to hide his true identity anymore, Hiroto mentions he's getting an update today. She hadn't heard about it, so she asks what rank the promotion would be, making the protagonist say it's to Class S, which initially shocks her, but once it sinks in, she cracks up. The receptionist tries to keep it together and asks the protagonist not to be silly, but he didn't need to argue because Murakami himself shows up, starting a chat. As the two talk, the woman starts realizing her mistake. Since the fourth-ranking hunter's there, she's really curious about who the young guy he's chatting with is, and she finally gets that she shouldn't have treated him with disrespect. Murakami and Oyamada roll up, chatting with Hiroto like they're old pals. The receptionist totally loses her cool, and maybe her job too. Yikes. They're all buddy-buddy with our main dude. Oyamada's like, why wait? And calls the receptionist, who nearly jumps out of her skin. When the prez asks for the VIP room, the girl's like, oh, you got a meeting with the police big boss. Oyamada's all, oops, forgot to mention I'm skipping that. Turns out, he and the director already rescheduled to focus on Hiroto. To keep things chill, the receptionist offers to lead them to the VIP room, and off they go. Meanwhile, the girl's trying to figure out what Hiroto's deal is. In the VIP room, Oyamada's setting up Hiroto's new status check. The Tachikawa incident was wild, and it's linked to the Kujo fam. Murakami's like, let me break it down. He asks Hiroto if he remembers their first meetup during a dungeon drama with a mega monster. Murakami thought the recent chaos was sus, so he did some sleuthing. Turns out, new-gen hunters are always lurking in the background. It's all circumstantial, but with Daido's input, they suspect involvement. Basically, they can boost and control monsters. This power could shake up Japan and the world's military scene. But they can't just bust them without solid proof. Oyamada knows they're using dungeons to power up, so he's got to shut it down. To do that, the old guard needs to flex some serious muscle, and that's where Hiroto's evaluation comes in. Turns out, they couldn't measure his skills right. The stats were sick, but not enough for S rank. Hiroto asks if Oyamada's got a plan. Oyamada explains that decisions can't be made on a whim. So, the National Committee decided to use something Hiroto's curious about. It's said that popular opinion can shake up elections. Each hunter's popularity matters, but no one's claimed the Nagatacho Guardian defeat. Plus, no one's cleared the place's interior. Oyamada says they'll share the glory, but Hiroto's getting the S-rank title. This is how the Prez thinks they'll win over the crowd. And Hiroto's cool with Oyamada's straightforward style. Things need to change so the new gen can't run wild. It's revealed that the current number 2 hunter is Takato, with an entertainment agency, and the other top 3 are new gen too. Murakami's like, not to be rude, but Oyamada's prees thanks to the gov's goodwill. Oyamada's not bothered. Hiroto should know this stuff. With so much hype for the new gen, Murakami knows the gov can't ignore the people. So, individual oversight got weaker, but their support system got stronger. Maybe it's a side effect, but dungeon crimes went up. If the old gen can win back the crowd, Murakami says the execs will back them. Then they can revamp the system, using dungeon crimes as a reason to keep tabs on the new gen. Murakami's unsure what they're planning with monster control, but it's bad news. Oyamada praises Murakami's talent-spotting skills and envies the guild Hiroto's joining. The Prez tries to recruit Hiroto, but the kid's like, a promise is a promise. Murakami's impressed with Hiroto, never seen anyone stand up to the boss like that. Suddenly, a phone rings, and Murakami gets up to answer it. He says his name all chill, but then hears some wild news and tells the main dude to flip on the TV as soon as possible. Takato pops up on national TV in a show that Oyamada was pretty much forced to air under pressure. Plus, Murakami mentioned that an email from the American squad had just dropped in. But before they even got to that show, someone barged in with some breaking news. It was all about the American government dropping a document on one of the 9 dungeons they found. They announced they got past the 5th floor and hit the intermediate level. So, the host asks what Takato thinks as the number 2 in the rankings. But, running late, the dude asks to hold off on his thoughts for a bit. Oyamada yells that there's no way the US hit the 5th floor when they were just struggling with the 3rd. Hiroto sees this as a major level up. Murakami had seen the nightmare records of that place, so even for the US, the 3rd floor was a no-go. And the 5th floor? Even more impossible. It should be way more dangerous. Another news flash hits the TV. The reporter says the hunter government and the oversight crew approved a trip to the Nagatacho dungeon, but Murakami and Oyamada had no clue. After the recent smackdown of the Nagatacho Guardian, a squad of new-gen hunters got the green light to explore it. So, since Takato asked for time to answer, the reporter asks if he knew. He says yep, since he's leading the 1st floor expedition. Takato kept quiet because the info was top secret until now. But now, he spills that he and the new-gen crew took down the dungeon guardian. Obviously, this fake news causes a huge buzz and explains the exploration go-ahead. To justify acting solo, Takato says the old crew is rotten inside. Unlike them, who are supposedly chasing glory, the old crew gave up on the dungeon. Adding to this, the US had their dungeon wins, leaving Japan feeling embarrassed. But now the new gen says they'll hit Nagatacho to not just match but beat the US. To be the first in the world to conquer a discovered dungeon. Takato makes it clear that the only thing stopping them is the old crew. But when they conquer the 1st floor, they plan to boot the outdated elders from power in the association. And if the politicians still won't play ball, Takato tells the people to show them what's up at the polls. Oyamada, sadly, realizes they got played before they even made a move and is super mad. But, even though it's annoying and shady, Murakami knew it was a smart plan. They used the exact move they were going to use. The president asks about their chances of clearing the 1st floor, and Murakami says they're high. Clearly, they wouldn't have a shot if the Nagatacho dungeon was shut down. But at the most intense moment, the main dude speaks up, saying he's got an idea. Naturally, he starts spilling everything on his mind until he finishes, explaining the plan to the 2 guild leaders. Basically, what the hero's suggesting is payback. An eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. Since they got hit first, they should hit back twice as hard. Determined to make it happen, the hero says he'll get permission to enter a super tough dungeon, joining the 2 hunters there. The hardest and most epic, one of the 8 great dungeons of the world, untouched by humans. Top-tier hunters are seen as national treasures. Because of this, in Japan, ranks S to A team up to tackle these dungeons, but they need the green light from the hunters' oversight crew set up by Parliament. This time, for the first time in Japan, Takato, with 5 other S-rank new-gen hunters, got the go-ahead to try exploring the 1st floor of the Nagatacho dungeon. Finally, facing the portal they're about to enter, they gear up, but Takato's curious why the old-timers are there too. Oyamata yells and complains, but the young dude doesn't care. Murakami says he already explained 2 days ago that they'll join Takato on the first floor. After all, they want to share the glory, but Takato thinks they're just there to snag some leftovers. Alright, so this dude's totally roasting the oldies, saying they're gonna get nada after his epic speech. He's all about recording everything for the dungeon archives, like receipts for days, to show how useless the old folks are. Murakami's just cracking up at this kid's arrogance, and the Guardians smack down, asking if the kid even knows who really took it down. Takoto's curious if the hunter's saying they just swiped the credit. I mean, if someone took out the Guardian, it's gotta be him or Kujo Tsuya, rank 1. Duh. Takoto's like, no other way. Murakami's all. Tsuya didn't claim it either, but the girl's like a ghost, and the Kujo fam backing her is just wild. After this quick chat, Takoto and Murakami share a look. Hiroto knows if he tries to claim the win now, it's just gonna be sus vibes all around. Anyway, in less than a day, everyone will know it wasn't Tsuya, but him who KO'd the Guardian. Switching gears, Murakami's like, losing an elite hunter here would be a bummer. Plus, to get to the US, now's not the time for generational beef. Takoto's like, is that your excuse to tag along? Oyamata's like, they won't butt in unless the kids are in real danger. So, Takoto's cool with the help, as long as they don't slow them down, even if his face says otherwise. They're gonna portal in first, and the second squad's coming later. Just like in the US, these dungeons have entry rules. Once inside, the cameraman sees the exit slam shut, and boom, they're surrounded by massive monsters popping up out of nowhere. Takoto's like, let's get those barriers up, squad. The monsters are flying around, spitting fire beams like they're in sync. One hunter's got a crimson barrier, another's got blue, then there's gold and emerald too. Together, they make this epic mega shield. Takoto's chill, trusting his crew, but admits it's as tough as they said. Dragons showed up, blasting magic from all sides, classic trap move. He thanks them for knowing the drill before diving in. Suddenly, purple energy's swirling. The gate's back, and it's wild that the Kujo fam in Kyoto knew this. The cameraman's like, sure, the dragons won't move again. Takoto's like, yep, as long as we don't poke him. Without the number 1 girl, no point in taking dumb risks. The oldies are gonna hit the gate and get caught too. Takoto's curious about their reaction when they see dragons. Just picturing old Oyamata's freaked out face is comedy gold. But anyway, the squad keeps pushing forward. 3 days before the Nagatacho dungeon run, the portal was already open, and A-rank hunter Morinaga was bracing for chaos. He was the first to get caught in the dragon trap. Poor guy. Now in the Nagatacho dungeon, they're debating telling the Prez the secret, but Takoto's like, not my problem. With the Kujo fam's intel, it's not a cakewalk. Morinaga was supposed to bail after entering, but he couldn't. Either he got ambushed or ran into other baddies. It's a wild scene with beasts not even seen in dungeons. Takoto remembers they're here because they think they can handle it. A mage thinks they can take on a bunch of monsters but warns a dragon's breath is deadly. Honestly, the power's not normal, and he's worried. Takoto laughs, saying at the mage's level, he'd totally get wrecked, but he's sure he can tank it. A buddy asks if they're just cannon fodder, but Takoto's like, nah, the goal's to clear the floor and have everyone bounce alive to run the show. The mage is still stressing about the Prez biting the dust. Then, Takoto spills the beans, saying there's a 99% chance of that going down. But then, with this wild, psycho grin, he asks if that's a big deal. And, caught up in their own selfish vibes, the two buddies say nah, it's cool. After all, they can wipe out the old crew in one go, giving the new gen and the Kujo fam a leg up. So, Takoto's all about focusing on their own mission and bouncing out of there as soon as possible. Outside, the Prez notices it's been 6 hours since Squad 1 went in. Oyamata chats with the hero about maybe not being able to roll with the new gen hunters. Honestly, he knows he and Murakami might just slow things down, so he checks if Hiroto's really down for this. But the hero's all in, saying he's prepped for everything. Curious, Murakami asks if the kid's leveled up more in the past week. So, he spills that he has, thanks to tackling some hardcore dungeons. And since it's the main dude talking, Oyamata's got no doubts. With the time up for Group 1, the 3 old-school reps gear up and dive through the portal, which slams shut behind them. Sadly, Murakami's the first to spot they're not alone in there. He gets ready to whip out his sword when he spots dragons, but that crazy vibe building up from their squad freaks him out. Oyamata knows a direct hit would be like signing a death warrant, but Hiroto's face doesn't even twitch. He just kicks in all the resistance skills he knows. And when they're stacked, they unite for the ultimate defense move. A barrier forms around the hunters, called the Blessing of the Four Elements Kings. As expected, those dragons unleash a fire blast at the trio, but the hero's defense is rock solid. Oyamata's mind is blown by what he's seeing, and Murakami's too, because it wasn't just a dragon's breath, but a mashup of all 4 elements. Hiroto, though, also blocked it with a 4-element barrier, proving he's a total beast. The hero tells his pals to stay put, because if he takes another hit, he's toast. But luckily for them, when the attack stops, no new one comes. Murakami's on edge for another attack, but Oyamada figures it's more like a dungeon trap. The smart move would be to not tick them off and keep moving, but instead, the hero points to a safe spot for his crew. Deep down, Murakami knew this was coming. With 4 high-level monsters nearby, Hiroto wouldn't pass up the chance to level up. Obviously, the 2 guild leaders yell out the hero's name. From the dragon's face, you could tell it was shook, so it geared up for another attack that was enough to give the hunters the chills. The hero, though, with his sword ready, charges it with energy and, in a flash, slices not just 1, but all 4 at once. Compared to before, the power gap between the hero and his foes is even bigger. So, even without a game plan, the 2 know they can count on Hiroto. And without wasting time, they dive deeper into the floor. A bit further away, an ice-type monster starts getting summoned by the dungeon. One of the new-gen hunters spots the bad news while defending himself. But staying chill, Takoto tells his crew to duck. And from his sword's tip, he calls up the swordsman's ultimate fire magic, creating a flame wall that splits the monster like a bug. Suddenly, another baddie pops up from behind, this time a fire ghost. But Takoto's got it covered, using a spirit skill to summon an ice shield and ice up his sword. So, he takes down the fire monster with the opposite element, no sweat. To wrap it up and flex for the camera. While the cameraman's shivering, Takoto explains that on this floor, there are elemental monsters, so using opposite elements makes it a breeze. The other hunter mentions his barrier worked, but he almost turned into a popsicle. But for Takoto, as long as his buddy's still kicking, it's all good. Finally, despite his crew's condition, the young dude says the enemies are just a bit tougher than expected. Even with the elemental hacks, it was tough for the others. But they still had someone like Takoto, who carried them, living up to being number 2. So, word on the street was that this young dude totally outdid both the 3rd Oyamada and the 4th Murakami. Anyway, once they got through the hallway up ahead, floor 1 would be done, and they could finally drop that epic video they recorded. Takoto was all. If he knew how tough it'd be for his crew, he would have brought the oldies along too. The mage got curious, and Takoto spilled the beans that the oldies still had some tricks up their sleeves. He kinda regretted not using them as frontline pawns, at least. But, for the dude, it's too late now, since they're probably toast anyway. Then, out of nowhere, Takoto's deep thoughts got interrupted by a wild sight. Both guild leaders and the kid they brought were right there. Like, surprise. For a sec, Takoto couldn't even believe it, and maybe because of the hype, he yelled, asking what they were doing there. The hero just reminded him it was past noon and, duh, said the young squad was running late. Number 2. Feeling all exposed, asked how they didn't get wrecked at the entrance and how they got there first. Then, like it was the most obvious thing ever, the hero said they didn't die, because they cleared the floor. In the chat, it came out that the oldies squad planned to hit the next floor. The news hit like a ton of bricks, causing a moment of silence. But then, one of the new gen guys broke it, laughing like crazy. He admitted, still cracking up, that he was dying to hear the answer. Everyone started laughing, because they only got this far thanks to Takoto, and the second floor would be a beast. Except for number 2, everyone was roasting those 3. But Takoto wasn't, because deep down he knew his crew were the real clowns. What really caught his eye was the super confident look on the president and Murakami. From what he knew, the hunter thought something was definitely up. So, he threw out another question, based on his doubts about their confidence. Murakami answered no sweat, saying they just did some prep work. And to clear things up, he said it was actually Hiroto who did the prep. Takoto still had no clue what kind of prep they were talking about, but he zeroed in on the fact they brought an unknown hunter. There was this incident where, from the whole hunter training school, one survivor was Yuzuki Kujo, but, as he remembered, Hiroto Ejima too, yet Yuzuki was barely in class S. So, mixing what he knew with the trio's weird confidence, he still didn't get it. Takoto thought, but quickly ditched the idea that the Kujo family helped them. So, the young dude argued that S-rank hunters need Parliament's okay to tackle dangerous dungeons. The point was, if they kept going without accountability, they'd be breaking the rules. Even though they made the first move in a shady way, which the new gen rep agreed with. Meanwhile, Oyamada asked if Takoto remembered who he was talking to, since the association's prez could act more freely. Plus, as a last mercy move, he let everyone there explore the second floor. Somehow, Takoto found an explanation in the phrase, act of mercy. He got that the oldies were going all out, not because they were confident, but because they needed to risk it to keep their influence. In this case, their determined look was like a samurai before doing seppuku. Out of nowhere, Group 2 whipped out a camera like magic. Murakami explained it wasn't just any camera, but one for live broadcasts to the station, which they'd already notified. Takoto called them out, saying they were recording too, but he had no signal there. But Murakami just told a kid to check his phone, which he did, and was shocked to see Wi-Fi. Murakami joked that a wind or electric dragon might be messing with it, but Takoto wasn't buying it. Despite this, the old-gen hunter remembered that, as the US Association says, dungeons are unpredictable. To Takoto, it was nuts that people who should be toast were planning a live broadcast. Once again, the idea that they were super confident popped back into his head, and once again, he started thinking maybe the Kujo family ditched them for the old guard. At the very least, Takoto figured they might have some artifact or OP weapon with them. But if there's a chance the Kujo family isn't backing them anymore, the young dude knows he's got to get ready. Takoto's all, yo, if the old folks can level up, we should totally get a pass too, right? So he's like, not only are we tagging along, we're gonna own that second floor. With that settled, the hero's like, all right, squad, let's roll to floor 2. Boom, they're teleported. But Takoto's swagger vanishes real quick. Cause, standing there, is an enemy that's definitely not your average monster. Takoto's trying to figure out why this dude looks so much like a samurai. Turns out, the dungeon's calling it a Miyamoto Musashi clone. And, surprise, the dungeon's got more tricks, popping out more clones. Not just Musashi, there's an Abe no Seimei too. And Takoto's like, what is this? A History Channel special. Instead of monsters, they're facing off against famous peeps from history. The hero's like, dungeons always throw mythical curveballs. But Takoto's all, dude, myths are one thing, but real historical figures. The hero's like, dungeons are just weird like that. And with his sword ready, he tells his buddy to chill while he flexes his skills. The camera's set, and the crew's ready to stream this epic showdown. But Takoto's like, Murakami, you sure about going live right now? Murakami's like, why not? We're here to clear this place and show off. So, no more chit-chat. Takoto's like, us newbies got this. Takoto steps up, unleashing his swordsman magic, energy crackling from his arm. But the enemy, looking all zen, uses some crazy Vajra panty move, sending Takoto flying. After crash landing, Takoto's coughing up blood, feeling like his ribs are toast. He yells for the healer, but another baddie's already on the attack with some nature magic. Takoto's feeling the heat from this insane mana level. Meanwhile, a girl at home calls her mom to watch Takoto's live stream. The mom's a big fan, thinking Takoto's both dreamy and unbeatable. But what she sees on TV is a whole different story. Takoto's getting wrecked, unable to get close to the magic users. His squad's down too, and he knows things are looking grim. Luckily, Hiroto's not one to just sit back and watch. He jumps in to help, asking if they get now that they're outmatched. The bald dude from the new gen crew's like, stay in your lane, assistant boy. Takoto's confused about Hiroto's plan, especially since he got owned too. Fear and anger mix on Takoto's face, but Hiroto's unfazed, activating all his restriction powers. Bam! All those legendary clones are trapped in the Supreme Prison. The bald guy's starting to get it, realizing Hiroto's got mad skills. He and the mage see Hiroto as the ultimate support. If he teams up with the president and Murakami, they might just win. Takoto's fuming at the thought, cause support roles aren't usually the stars. But Hiroto's ability to lock down an enemy that tossed him aside is next level. Takoto's baffled how someone this powerful flew under the radar. Suddenly, Abe no Seimei busts out some magic, breaking Hiroto's prison spell. But Hiroto just grins, ready to handle him another way. Alright, so here's the remix. After all, his main goal is to show he's not just a sidekick, he's the real deal. But before he can throw down, the president jumps in, wanting to take the lead. Even though they're up against the hero, both he and Murakami are still ready to rumble. I'm out of jokes, he wouldn't be so chill if he wasn't sure he'd win. Plus, this epic showdown is being watched by all of Japan, in real life. All this hype makes it clear they can't just ride on Hiroto's coattails forever. Getting the vibe, the hero steps up, ready to handle the squad. Murakami charges first against the clone of Abe no Seimei. He swings his sword, landing a critical hit that forces the enemy to back off or get wrecked. Abe no Seimei switches it up, using nature's beauty to attack from a distance. But the president jumps in, throwing up a massive firewall to block the advance. With nothing in his way, Murakami smashes the opponent with Godspeed Judgment. Takoto, still hurting, is even more shook, seeing the same monster that wrecked him get owned by the elders. Just by his face, the old-school hunters can tell Takoto's curious. Murakami jokes it must be a shocker, but it's simple. When it comes to magic monsters, unless there's a huge level gap, you can't win up close. And the president's fire skills are top tier, even having one that cancels out fire. So, even though the monster had big area attacks and explosive power, it was still limited by mana and elemental stuff. Basically, in the right conditions, they could not just beat them, but wipe them out. Even with their skills, Murakami says if they teamed up right, they'd win. Takoto's attack power is a beast, but they remind him not to underestimate veteran hunters' battle smarts. But he also sees it as the cost of always fighting weaker foes. Getting the picture, Takoto still wonders how the old guard knew the enemy only had fire moves. Then, the president mentions news about the protagonist prepping them, something Takoto remembers Oyamata saying before. Finally, the protagonist tells them to bounce, as this was just the warm-up for this floor. And apparently, the real challenge is behind the gate that's opening up ahead. Inside, there's a nature scene that looks endless, totally wowing the new-gen hunters. But suddenly, the fun's over as more monsters pop up out of nowhere. Over 100 show up, which in medieval Europe terms is like a small lord's army. So for Takoto and his crew, who struggled with just 6, it's game over. All the new-gen hunters feel a chill down their spines. 2 of them freak out, and the leader thinks it's totally nuts. Hiroto, though, says there's nothing crazy about it. Like before, a bunch of clones appeared from one, hinting they could be mass-produced. The more the hero talks, the more the hunter gets who he is. Those powerful monsters from before are now over 100, so he doesn't get why the protagonist's so chill. The enemies are the big names of Japanese history. With so many foes, Oyamata and Murakami know they gotta let Hiroto handle it. But obviously, for those who don't know, this seems like a death wish. Once again, the protagonist activates his new move, the beauty of nature. What shocks everyone is it's the same as the last enemies. A firebird, like a phoenix, flies over the army. And when it hits, it blows up a big chunk of the opponents. Takoto sees it's the exact same move Abe no Seimei used before. But the protagonist doesn't stop there. He also copies the sacred lightning of the Buddhist. And then, he wraps himself in divine fire, hitting more opponents, which shows he also snagged the nine-tailed fox's foxfire ability. For the next trick, the hero switches to ice powers at absolute 0. Takoto starts to see the protagonist's moves are from the monsters on the last floor, and Hiroto's proud of it. Obviously, the hunter figures his power is copying others, but the protagonist reveals it's actually stealing when he beats the same monster 100 times. Takoto's still trying to unmask him, yelling that the numbers don't add up, cause these enemies are rare AF. That's exactly what our main dude was saying from the start when he said he was ready to roll. Basically, Hiroto not only soloed the first 3 floors of this dungeon, but also snagged their abilities before even starting the quest. Thinking this is total cap, Takoto reminds the hero he shouldn't be exploring solo. But the main dude claps back, saying for a newbie rank S, going solo, rules don't apply. After seeing the boy's epic strength firsthand, Takoto's gotta believe it. Sure, he admits the main dude's strong, but after that massive power move, Takoto's sure Hiroto's mana tank is running on empty. Back at the crib, the daughter asks Mom what's going down. Mom's shaking, but one thing's clear. The boy on screen just wrecked the enemy and is way stronger than Takoto. About the hunter's question, the hero's like, yeah, seems so. Then, Takoto spots a glimmer of hope, thinking the main dude's style is all about quick, intense battles. So he shouts, claiming he's cracked the boy's plan. To him, the floor-clearing claim and mana talk scream bluff. Oyamata can't get why Takoto still doubts the hero. Even after seeing it, Murakami knows some things are just wild. Though it's frustrating, Takoto admits in his head the main dude's skills are off the charts. So, he decides to downplay his own rep and take action. If the main dude really cleared up to the 3rd floor, Takoto asks what he'll do with the enemies there. With all his shots supposedly used up, only running's left. So, Takoto's ready to cover the retreat, keeping the morale up. Even if Hiroto's got a plan to bounce, he refuses to sit out, because he came to be the star. The story to spin was that without them, Hiroto wouldn't have made it out alive. And twisting public opinion later, easy peasy. Finally, the main dude admits his big power moves kinda drained, but he's got an even stronger one for the 3rd floor. That's why he said he had countermeasures and knew how to clear the floor. Takoto's mind's racing, wondering who this guy even is. Again, he can't believe the boy wants to do it all solo. But the main dude charges with his sword, and while more clones pop up, he's already going for the biggest one, almost taking it down. Hiroto activates a draconic effect, using the War Dragon's power to finish them all, leaving Takoto stunned that Hiroto's hand-to-hand game is strong too. While another clone gears up, the hero says no need to beat them one by one. Only half have real essence, the rest are weak illusions from the original. Basically, they're like weaker copies of copies. Obviously, if you don't know the trick, it's tough to handle. And Hiroto says if he hadn't caught on the first time, he'd be worried too. That day on Earth, even with the sudden Nagatacho dungeon coverage, it hit all of Japan, and homes worldwide tuned in. From TV to streaming, the audience rate hit a wild 90%, making it the day the world met the beast hunter Hiroto Ijima. After another power show, Takoto's left jaw dropped, wondering who Hiroto is. Switching gears, Oyamata asks how the hero deals with ghostly enemies. Hiroto explains bandit-class hunters have a danger sense, which he's got too. He thinks it's cause of their agility status. Once he knows there are illusions in real bodies, he can spot them by looking. Murakami already got the memo, but Oyamata still thinks it's nuts. After all, he's not bandit class and doesn't claim to get Hiroto, which, in Murakami's eyes, is the realest way to describe him. Hiroto's got mad skills, not just in hand-to-hand combat, but also in ranged attacks and support moves that are totally next level. So, Murakami's feeling pretty smug about trusting him with their survival. Takedo remembers Hiroto as the dude who survived the Wild Artemis Academy incident. But then there's Enko Kujo, the top hunter before she ended up in the Kujo family orphanage. Her original name was Ejima. Last he heard, the Kujo family said her little bro got kidnapped, so Takedo's got zero doubts. Hiroto survived the Hunter Academy disaster and beat the Death Pursuer crisis, which, in turn, gave him powers that are just mind-blowing. Unlike the others, who are now just wannabe copies. A while back, Takedo heard about this thing called the Yin-Yang Book, which, fun fact, is with the Kujo family. It's also known as the Demon King app, a power that embodies humanity's will to live. With time ticking down, the hero tells everyone to stay sharp. Oyamada wonders if things will go down like the kids said. Takedo, though, gets all worked up and yells, asking what's going to happen now. Lucky or not, his question's answered when a beam of energy crashes down, causing epic destruction. Smoke's everywhere, but you can still see what's up. It's the third-floor boss, the Demon Dragon King, Vritra. Takedo's confused about how the third-floor boss is here when they're on the second. Even Oyamada is trying to keep it together, but it's clear Hiroto was right all along. Basically, once all the second-floor baddies are toast, the third-floor boss crashes the party. Hiroto admits he was shook the first time. Even with all the systems prep, he had to use a not-so-cool method to win. Plus, being a Demon King species sheds light on the Demon King app name. As a third-floor boss, Oyamada knows the dragon's no joke. And Murakami too, since even the USA hasn't beaten a third floor in years. The monsters they've faced so far are at least on par with America's old-school ones. In other words, things are about to get insanely tough. Hiroto charges at the enemy like a rocket. Remembering his first run-in with Vritra, he would have been toast if he kept going. Now, the dragon's neck puffs up and it blasts a massive fireball at the hero, who dodges like a pro. With a quick move, he activates all his resistance skills, ending with the blessing of the 4 Great Spirit Kings. With this ultimate move, he creates a shield that tanks the fire. Then, without missing a beat, he charges through the flames and, determined to win, swings his sword, whipping up a huge hurricane, which not only beats the fire but also hits the dragon hard, almost taking it down. The damage to the dragon's neck is clear, so the hero gears up for the next strike. Back then, he couldn't do squat against this beast. But now, with his boosted stats and new skills, Hiroto's sure he can take on even Demon King species. Once more, he swings his sword, and the monster takes to the skies to fight back. Then, the hero activates his ice-coated sword and, using all his might, unleashes the Morning Star attack. The strike hits the monster's core and pierces it brutally, freezing not just the wound but its whole body until it crashes down, defeated. On Earth, the broadcast cuts to breaking news about the mysterious hunter. A journalist spills that Hiro grew up in a hunter's orphanage and survived the Artemis School disaster. Plus, he's just been named an S-class hunter. Naturally, folks in Japan are buzzing, some curious, others totally shocked. A kid says he's never seen anyone like this, but another remembers Hiroto's F-rank aptitude. Still, in a world where your birth talent decides your fate, he made it to Class S. For them, it doesn't add up that someone with low talent could outshine the president and Takedo. But one starts to think Hiroto's even more epic because of his recent wins, since it was hard work that got him to the top. With barely any backstory, Hiroto was picked for the Nagatacho exploration, and from the footage, his power's obvious. The journalist also asks commentator Miyamura for his take on this. Alright, buckle up, cause here's the remix. So this dude's all, even with all my skills. I'm totally blanking on what to say. But hey, he can at least shout out that they just saw a real-deal hero being born. Meanwhile, somewhere in the city, Yuzuki's strolling past this massive screen, and everyone's glued to it. She's feeling kinda bummed, thinking she can't even keep up with them. Cause now, Yuzuki's realizing Hiroto's way out of her league. Over in the Japanese Prime Minister's office, Eiichiro Tokunaga is grinning about the Hunters Association's secret weapon. With this move, Japan's gonna be neck and neck with America in the dungeon domination game. All those dungeon goodies and tech are like gold for leveling up. So, for a country that used to be a big shot, they could totally reclaim the top spot. The new gens got the Kujo fam backing them, and the old guards got Hiroto. One official's all, so what's the game plan, Prime Minister? And everyone's like, good question. In the USA, in some swanky Washington building, a bunch of hunters are glued to the TV. 2 kids are all, whoa, there's a Demon King app user in Japan too. They're super curious about who's the strongest of the trio. Another dude's like, even with the God of Destruction's power punch, winning ain't a sure thing, and he's hyped cause that's rare. He's itching for a showdown with Hiroto, but his buddy's like, dude, Hiroto's a swordsman, and he remembers when some clown tried to take on Shakyamuni. So, the fighter admits he's got a tough time against mages and tricksters, but that's why the twins are around. From the silver-haired dude's view, Hiroto's a solo act, kinda like Mikhail. So the kids all, who's stronger, the main guy or this dude here? The American hunter's crew went all out to bring Enko Kujo from Japan, but the girl just grins and keeps her lips zipped for now. In other news, a reporter's buzzing about an announcement from the association about Hiroto. They've decided he's the top hunter, and for matching America's feats, he's getting a fancy ceremony. Miyamura's like, I've been here forever, but nothing compares to this guy. From tonight, Japan's gonna be leading the dungeon charge thanks to the hero. Word is, the Prime Minister himself's gonna hand over the award. And of course, big companies are lining up to sponsor Hiroto with a deal way bigger than Takoto's. The numbers are sky high, and it's looking like sponsors might ditch Takoto, who's currently the big deal. Hearing he might get benched in ads makes the hunters super salty. But then, two ladies spot him on the street, even with his mask on, giving his ego a little boost. Takoto's thinking of giving them autographs as a thank you for their good taste. And since he's chilling, he figures he should tell them not to make a scene. But just as he's ready, the two breeze past him, heading for someone behind him. Turns out, they weren't even interested in him. They were all about Hiroto, who was also there. Not just them, but a whole crowd swarming around the guy. Hiroto knew he was getting popular, but not to the point where he can't even walk down the street. So, he flips on his optical camo, and everyone's jaws drop as he vanishes. But more than that, they're blown away by his epic skill. Even after he bails, the crowd's still fangirling, and Takoto's feeling even more salty about Hiroto. In Kyoto, at the Kujo family mansion, Mirano's out cold on a symbol on the floor, and someone's checking on her. The folks there are thanking the Lord for the revival ritual, but are worried she's not fully back. The head honcho says the only way is to boost her soul's rank using Yuzuki, because Mirano's crucial as a guardian. But he warns that something wild like in Fuchu could go down. So if Yuzuki doesn't accidentally kick the bucket, they gotta keep her safe. A girl mentions Enko's not in Japan to be super cautious, but another's like, shouldn't be too much trouble. Yo, so the Lord's all curious about this Enko character. Word is, she teamed up with the American squad, and they're gearing up for some epic dungeon raids. Everything's going smooth on their end, and the Island King's got his act together too. But the chief's like, if Hinamoto goes bonkers, it's game over. In the background, someone gets that talking about Enko like this means the Lord's gotta be super powerful. Meet Overlich, a human with a crazy hard-to-beat level, known as the Guardian of Humans. Everyone there, including this dude, should totally see the epic status window. This guy's just a tiny pawn, so he's clueless about the big picture. But being human makes him stand out. Plus, he's got a tough level and the name Overlich. With his beastly look, the Guardian of Humanity title just adds to the confusion. Far from the human world, two moons chill in the sky. Down a dark path, there's this massive castle just hanging out. Inside, Hinamoto's like, isn't it unfair that chaos is only speeding up here? But the real kicker is who she's chatting with, the Demon King himself. The Demon King's keeping quiet, because now Hinamoto's the boss in this world. But hearing this from the OG King, who's a multiverse god, sounds super sarcastic to her. Anyway, she says this world's already a total mess. On the flip side, they're beefing up with Divine King power artifacts. Hinamoto's like, isn't this kind of harassment? The real king says there's no magic on the other side, so they need this stuff. At least, that's what the game admins decided. Hinamoto's like, true, they're up against primitive folks with zero magic skills. So, the king's like, no complaints then. Still, from her view, after beating the king and jumping into this world, the showdown's wrapping up. The king says if she wants to whine, talk to someone else. Then, she's cool with it, saying she doesn't care if they win. Trusting her buddy, the critical land's coming up, and the gate's about to open in the OG dungeon. Then, they can attack from there and shove all this chaos back to the other side. But the king warns it won't be a walk in the park, though he's got a gift for her. Obviously, she's hyped. Even though she's hit divinity, she can't do it all solo. But Hiroto might avenge her and get back at the traitors. Right now, he's just a spirit, unable to do anything. Finally, she asks if pretending to be a god is fun. Even if it is, the king's like, he's just one of many. Though he admits power lovers might dig it. Back on Earth, Takoto's cruising through the city in disguise. He's the most handsome, top hunter, and knows how to act in public. Both a hunter and a celeb, he's even got ties with the Kujo fam. If he sticks with the association, he could aim for the presidency and prime minister gig. Finally, in an elevator, he hits all the buttons, because the building's got a garage floor listed. But rumors say there's a secret second garage floor way underground. When he gets there, it's like a party, nightclub vibes. When Takoto hits a table, his name's called Cause. When a famous dude shows up, it's serious. He says he doesn't want to meet old pals who turned to crime. His buddy asks what he's doing there, and Takoto's like, it's personal revenge. He'll pay any price, because they're the only ones plotting to take down top hunters, like hiding poison in their food or setting hotel fires. Alright, buckle up, because this is gonna be a wild ride. So here's the deal. No matter who you are, if the air's oxygen level gets messed up, you're toast. Doesn't matter if Hiroto's a beast, there's always a way to take him down. Fast forward to the Hunter's HQ. Oyamada's buzzing about Hiroto's big debut tomorrow. But, plot twist, Hiroto's kinda zoned out. He snaps back, apologizes, and bounces, knowing he just needs to be back by 9. The Prez thinks Hiroto's spacing out is weird, but Murakami's like, chill, it's normal with all this pressure. Since the last drama, the new hunters are MIA, the oldies are back, and Hiroto's phone's blowing up. He's stressing because the American crew's already hit the 5th floor. Even for Japan's soon-to-be top dog, Vritra's no joke. Hiroto knows the 4th floor is a beast, and the US crushing it makes him doubt his own strength. Enko lost his spot because of the old V's, new beef, not because he was weak. Hiroto's feeling like there's this epic mountain he can't conquer. Out of nowhere, someone shows up, snapping him out of his thoughts. This person hands him a note, all smiles, saying it's an honor to meet Hiroto. The shocker, the note's from the US Hunters Association's VP. And get this, he's got ties to the Pentagon too. Hiroto's like, what's a big shot like you want with me? The VP's all, dude, you gotta see how important you are globally. Plus, he needs to get how epic his skills are. Cutting to the chase, the VP's there to recruit him for the American Hunters. And the bonus, surviving a 3rd floor and being a top-tier hunter. The Americans ready to drop cash like it's hot, offering 2 trillion yen or $13 billion. Hiroto cracks up, saying Americans sure love their jokes. But the VP's dead serious, saying it's how much they value him. The blonde dude asks Hiroto to chill for 5 minutes, promising to prove he's legit. Hiroto's curious, so he waits, making the VP super grateful. The blonde spills that the 20 trillion bonus is just 5% of their future shares. Big internet companies are worth over 100 trillion, with founders owning at least $1 trillion each. Why? Because they're flipping the world upside down. Their systems and ads have crowned them internet kings, and they're ready to be the next world changers. He's talking about the primordial dungeon, where his team scored materials worth a fortune. After owning the 4th floor, MIT's team analyzed the loot. They found a cancer-busting med, a nuke-proof metal, and even a homunculus, a smart life form. But the real kicker, a miracle cure that could make you immortal. These materials are game changers, pushing humanity to a new level. And there's more groundbreaking stuff to discover. But there are so few hunters who can explore these places, you could count them on one hand. So, after all this, the VP asks if Hiroto gets that their offer's no joke. Miss Enko, the former #1, jumped on board right away. Since she didn't show up in Nagatacho, Hiroto figured out where she went, but he's clueless if she ditched the Kujo family. In the end, Hiroto mulls over the offer but leaves his answer hanging. He's already promised to Murakami's guild, and that's a done deal. The vice president's all like, no other place can pay you this much, and if it's about the contract, we can talk. But the hero's like, nah, that's not it. Murakami and Oyamada treat me like a king, and that's enough to keep me loyal. Plus, he's not even into the cash, because he's already rolling in it. These reasons are why the hero's taking his sweet time to answer. The vice president's heard about how Japanese folks are all about keeping their word. He's like, in a place where logic rules, this is hard to get. But instead of getting mad, the vice president's actually impressed by the kid. Hiroto's attitude just makes him more popular and in demand. Switching gears, the hero's choice makes Japan and the US rivals. Everywhere else, no one could beat their guardian, so the big dungeon rights are up for grabs between the two. The vice president's like, not taking Hiroto is my biggest oops. And the hero starts thinking back to when he was treated like garbage. Even now, being #1, he's still figuring out what it all means. Just a note, the vice president's from the UK and wants a fair fight, which Hiroto's cool with. So, even though he says no, the hero's grateful for the recognition. Meanwhile, contact with a bigger force is confirmed, and Hiroto's Demon King app is almost at its final level. A final mission pops up, with tasks like finishing Nagatacho and beating the living god Overlick. Later, in his hotel, the hero's thinking about the American hunters. He turned down Charles's offer because of his promise to Murakami and respect for Oyamada. But as the ex-#1 with ties to the Kujo family, Enko's still a big deal, and cutting ties isn't easy without a reason. Hiroto doesn't think Charles meant any harm, but Oyamada should still check it out. Suddenly, a message pops up for the hero, and surprise, it's all about a main mission scenario unlocking. The last condition is hearing the truth about the Demon King app. If he nails this mission, he might finally reach Murano. Later, in an old building, Hiroto's first public appearance is the talk. As part of the association, someone tells Takoto he'll be at the stadium tomorrow. But then, Megumi's message grabs attention. For some reason, his girlfriend dumps him via text for the 10th time. Takoto's torn between being mad at her nerve or the rejection, so he vents by smashing a glass. Someone walks in and sees the mess, and Takoto explains he's been dumped for the 10th time. The guy's like, dude, you could have 30 or 40 girls if you wanted. But it bugs Takoto to be treated like that, cause without being the top dog, he's not a celeb. Companies are dropping him from their ads, and he thinks Hiroto's the reason for his fall in the biz. Switching topics, the buddy asks what Takoto will do after taking down the hero, since he won't bounce back right away. Takoto's like, I'm defecting to the Southern Kingdom, which shocks everyone. He remembers making bank as a hunter, so he's got savings. But cash alone can't make the ladies scream for him again, even though he's always been the star. Besides being born good-looking, he became a hunter with S-rank skills, which made him think he had a God-given mission to be number one. So, Takoto wants to go beyond being a hunter and be a legend. Using showbiz as a launch pad, he aims for prime minister or to start a global company. Eventually, Takoto plans to become the defense minister of the country he defects to, all for the fame. But first, his main goal is to end Hiroto's reign. While the hero sleeps, it's explained that monster hunters have a shield that protects them, which only their own core can pierce. Alright, so here's the revamped version, keeping the same line breaks and all. So, ever wonder why hunters don't just start epic revolutions or take over the world? Well, one reason is they're living the dream, so why mess with a good thing? But, plot twist, when they snooze, their super shields go on a coffee break. Even a regular Joe could take down a mega hunter then. So, if the crowd's after them, even the toughest get a bit jumpy during nap time. And right now, Hiroto's got a C-rank hunter on his tail, way tougher than your average Joe. The assassin chucks his blades at our hero, and they all hit above the sheet. Seeing the red stains, the hunter's doing a mental victory dance. He strolls over to grab some proof, feeling all smug. But surprise, surprise, there's a log behind the sheet, not Hiroto. In the background, Hiroto's all, hey, I know that stealth suit, not for C-rankers. If he was gonna get whacked, he jokes the enemies should have done their homework. Since going solo, he's always ready for sneak attacks thanks to his mad skills. Hiroto casually mentions if the hunter knew him, he wouldn't have to bite the dust. Seeing the mess, the hunter bolts. But it's too late. Hiroto's already sealed his fate. Running's pointless now, and Hiroto's not in the mood for mercy. Seconds after dealing with the nighttime intruder, a magic circle wraps the building. Boom, fire and smoke everywhere. Inside, the mastermind's grinning at their fiery handiwork. The assassin's plan? Seal the floor with an air barrier, then torch it with magic, sucking out the oxygen, which is already down to 21%. At 16% oxygen, headaches kick in, 10% and you're out cold, 6% and it's game over. But below 17%, flames struggle, and hunters aren't fazed by carbon monoxide. So, they try a new trick, zapping the air to make ozone, cutting down the O2. Afterwards, the assassins wait for results, but Yuzuki's ready to nab them. Even worse for them, Hiroto's like, nah, I got this, wanting to handle it himself. He argues they torched the place and are too wild to leave alone, so Yuzuki's cool with it. Switching gears, Hiroto's impressed by Yuzuki's skills, but Yuzuki's more wowed by Hiroto's spot-on predictions. Hiroto spills that dungeon crimes tied to the new hunter gen. Knowing this, he suspected ties with rogue hunters. Still, using the association to track Takoto's cash flow was genius. Turns out, Takoto's accounts got drained to a foreign stash. 8% to shady banks, like Swiss ones, the rest in suitcases, ready to roll. So, Hiroto's definitely making moves, but Yuzuki trusts his survival instincts. Switching topics, Hiroto says no need for official association power, he can track cash easy. Yuzuki, part of the dungeon police, feels a bit sidelined. Anyway, Hiroto tells them to keep pushing forward. The assassination attempt's gonna hit the news, and the Kujo family's gonna take a hit. Hiroto asks if Yuzuki's cool with this. She says she's good. With two more baddies nearby, they decide to take them down together. Later, in the same old building, Takoto's yelling on the phone, saying he's flying solo now. His buddy asks if he called the Kujo family and if he's sure about it. But Takoto, planning to vanish, doesn't care anymore. To top it off, he gets another message. This time, it's a shocker. The whole assassin squad's been wiped out. Takoto's starting to sweat, realizing he's not as hidden as he thought. The buddy, all chill, says everything's cool since they're always switching spots. And everywhere they went, there were whispers about people living there. As long as they didn't figure out who was behind the plot, they wouldn't find them. And with all the sneaky moves, Takoto managed to chill. At least for a hot second, because suddenly, a purple glow popped up at the window. And this glow kept growing until it was as big as the building itself. To the dude's bad luck, this was Hiroto's power, known as Divine Annihilation at full blast. A bit earlier, Hiroto and Yuzuki were closing in on the right spot. Following Takoto's quick moves, it seemed like he was lurking around there. And, no surprise, the place was crawling with top-tier hunters. Most were from the Oyamada or Murakami guilds, rocking rank A and S. so the plan was to trap the enemy in the building. But the main guy whipped out his sword, showing he had a different trap in mind. From his god-slaying mortal series, he unleashed divine annihilation at max power towards the abandoned building, causing a mind-blowing explosion. After all, when it comes to pest control, Hiroto thinks there's nothing better than a big old fireball. Inside the abandoned building, despite the chaos, Takoto's just frozen. Obviously, someone pops up saying the association's behind this. Given the destruction, they figure they're using missiles. Even their hunters were struggling, so Takoto knew it wasn't modern weapons, but something like magic. Takoto thought he'd never seen anything like this before, except for Enko, who's in America now. But then, he remembered someone else who showed the same power days ago. The panic to escape kicks in, but it's clear the place is surrounded by tons of hunters. With no escape plan, Takoto's brain's in overdrive. At this rate, they shouldn't run because they'd be seen as criminals. The guy who warned them before was trying hard, but his plan fell apart when his mind went blank. Slowly, Takoto's worst nightmare was creeping closer. Then Hiroto showed up, asking if they knew why he was there. With no objections, the hero draws his sword, asking them to at least go out with some pride. Obviously, survival instincts kick in, and Takoto jumps through the window into the forest. Even if he didn't know about the others, as the second place, Takoto knew his strength, and so he dashed towards the hunters circling the area, using his edge to zoom past them. The dude was definitely not ready to kick the bucket. At some point, Takoto was already far down the road. He was just a few steps from leaving the city and escaping by sea to the south, but suddenly, the remains of his planning buddy appeared in front of him, leaving him stunned. And naturally, the one responsible showed up right after, making Takoto hit the ground, as Hiroto, his tormentor, was right there. The swords pointed at the hunter, and the look on the main guy's face doesn't flinch. Takoto naturally gets up and tries to run until he finds a sword on the ground, but when he sees who his enemy is, his will to fight just poofs, leaving only the regret of how things turned out this way. He, who had everything to be a legend and blessed by God, was now desperately running from someone blessed by the demon. Just as God blessed him, the Demon King started taking everything from him with a backstab. Takoto yells for the dude to wait. Using the cash he still has, he tries to bargain for his life. When that flops, he talks about leaving and tries to tempt Takoto with girls. But since the hero's not interested, he raises his sword high. Hiroto says he doesn't want to repeat himself. Then sadly, Takoto starts to see that the person in front of him isn't someone he can bargain with. Maybe by some miracle, as they were on the street, a girl running by appeared, recognizing the two. She asked what was going on, and since this was his only shot, Takoto didn't hesitate to grab her as a hostage. No matter how heartless the hero was, the hunter knew he couldn't ignore the girl. So, Hiroto just says a word, does a cool hand move, and poof, the girl vanishes. This was a slick swap trick, switching two things in a flash. While the girl hits the ground on the other side, guess who's in front of Takoto's blade? Yep, Hiroto, who disarms him like a boss. The more Takoto watches, the more he's like, who even is this Hiroto dude? Facing certain doom, Takoto totally freaks out and, well, let's just say his pants didn't stay clean. But Hiroto's all feelings, nah, and finishes him off. Zero regrets. And just like that, the new-gen pests are history. Next day, Takoto's epic fail in a short fight has Oyamada shook again. Murakami's like, dude's always distracted, showing off for the crowd, farming, aura, or whatever. Yesterday's action? Murakami thinks it was a total waste. The hero's realizing how bad the new gen is, but Yuzuki's like, nah, it's way worse. Usually, they wouldn't gather so many hunters because of the commission rates. But this time, almost every hunter's in, even for free, because it's their dream gig. Yuzuki spills the tea on what being the strongest hunter means. Having mad skills and being called extraordinary, now every hunter's got eyes on him. Hiroto's already the big deal among hunters in the country. Plus, the president and Murakami are tight with him. Oh, and the president's like, so, unlike last night, are you in, hero? But as numero uno, Hiroto's gotta make a press announcement. He's not cool with letting the public in, but tickets are already gone. Hiroto's so popular, everyone's buzzing about him, as Murakami shows on his phone. Anyway, the hero's like, I'll be there tonight, gotta handle some hotel stuff first. When he arrives, first thing he does is chill on the couch and check his phone. Hiroto admits he's not into killing for kicks. Honestly, he wasn't sure how he'd nail the final mission of taking down 3 S-rank hunters. But now that's done, next stop, the final floor in Nagatacho. Next morning, at the stadium for the announcement, it's packed with people. In the VIP room, Yuzuki's like, the hero's different. All the big guild leaders and top hunters are here. She's like, this didn't even happen when Enko got an award. It's like the boy's gone far away, leaving her feeling lonely, but saying it sounds kinda selfish. Hiroto tries to chill her out, also surprised by his own growth. But that's not what she meant. Her face says she just wants to be close to him. Finally, Oyamada jumps in, asking for a sec, so Hiroto puts the convo on pause. The president announces that someone big just made a decision, even though they were going to skip due to beef with the Kujo family. The prime minister, Ichiro Tokunaga, steps in. He stood up to the Kujo family's pressure to join the ceremony, which is huge. Considering the crazy offer from Charles to recruit him, Hiroto thought he got it, but didn't see this coming. Finally, since they've got common enemies, the prime minister shakes hands, saying Japan's got his back. In fact, he says everyone in the room's supporting the hero. Anyway, Ichiro apologizes, saying he's less formal with younger folks as he gets older. Ichiro spills that the country's in crisis, barely hanging on with dungeon stuff and Kujo's influence. Then, in a bold move to break free, the prime minister bows to our hero. With all the humility he's got, he asks Hunter Hiroto Ujima to lend his strength for the country's sake.